Now, after looking into this, after looking at spatial statistics program and other, now let's look into another topic which has been typically emphasized, and in fact more than emphasized, I would say, within this economic survey, and that is the topic of employment. So within this topic, we'll see what are the various employment ratios within a country and how we are performing, whether we are performing well or not in the employment sector. Now, before delving into this topic, let's have a basic clear. Now, suppose this is a population. Now, within this population, we have many people who are either not willing to work or not seeking work because of many reasons. So, for example, there may be students, there may be housewives, or sometimes house husbands. There may be old age people, or people because of disability, they can't do any sort of work. Or they can be people who are otherwise educated, but they have a comfortable life and they do not find any need to work. So, not seeking or willing to work. So, all those kinds of categories, apart from many other categories, we can categorize them into something called non-workers. So, they are not working and neither they are seeking any sort of work. Now, there are some people who are either willing to work or seeking work. And if these two categories combined, if they are also willing to work and actively seeking work, then we can say they are something which are called or fall into labor force. So, all those people who are willing to work and actively seeking work will be called labor force of that particular population. So, this is total population. In that population, this is labor force and this is non-workers. Now, out of this labor force, those people who are willing to work and actively seeking work, some people may have got some work, so they are workers or workforce. So, out of the total labor force, the proportion of people who have actually got work will be called workforce, whereas the pool of people who are willing to work and actively seeking work means that is the labor force willing to work and actively seeking work but have not got any kind of work, are still waiting. They will be called pool of unemployed people. So, they are unemployed people. So, these people who are not willing or seeking to work, they are not within the category of unemployed. When you have to find out unemployed people, unemployment rate, you will keep labor force as a base. So, if you have to calculate unemployment rate will be unemployed people as a percentage of labor force and not as a percentage of total population. Okay, so we have got the concept of labor force, we have got the concept of workforce, and we have got the concept of unemployment rate. Now, there are various kinds of unemployment rate that we are not going to discuss here. Now, apart from this, if we have to calculate unemployment rate or get a picture of employment of a particular country, we know we have to see labor market. And labor market, we can see from two dimensions of labor demand, and then from labor supply. So, for coming to the conclusion in economics, we always look at the demand and supply. For any market, we look at the demand and supply. Because we are looking at the labor market, we have to look at the labor demand and labor supply. Now, labor supply will come from household people like me and you. We will go and do work and present us that okay, we can provide our labor, and in lieu of labor, we will take some wages or income. Whereas labor demand is from factories or companies. Now, for getting a picture of labor demand and labor supply, in India, government is doing various kinds of surveys. So, there is a whole history of these kinds of surveys, but we will discuss only what is happening right now. So, for example, labor supply. Labor supply is seen from surveys called periodic labor force survey. These periodic labor force surveys are done on quarterly and yearly basis. Yearly, they are done for rural areas, and quarterly, they are done for urban areas. For urban areas, annual figures are calculated by averaging these quarterly figures. Whereas labor demand picture, we get from various surveys which are done by Labor Bureau and Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. So, this periodic labor force survey is also done by Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation, whereas Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation also presents us with labor demand picture by surveying various kinds of firms and establishment, means how much demand they will ask these firms and establishment, how much demand of labor you have for this particular year. And that survey, which is done by the most people looking at the demand picture of labor, is called annual survey of industries. Whereas another survey is done by Labor Bureau, which is called AKEES, All India Quarterly Establishment Based Employment Survey. This All India Quarterly Establishment Based Employment Survey, you can easily get that it is done quarterly, frequency is quarterly, and this is done in two ways. Firstly, quarterly employment survey, and second is called area frame establishment survey. Quarterly employment survey is done for formal sector, where job picture or employment picture of 9 non-farm sectors is seen. 9 non-farm sectors. Now, I'm telling all these things with a purpose, because all of this information you'll find helpful when you see and read different data that is being presented within this economic survey, within these slides. Whereas area frame establishment survey is done for unorganized or informal sector, unorganized and informal sector. Okay, so we have got something called labor force. We have seen how labor force is different from non-workers. We have seen how we calculate workforce from the labor force, unemployment rate from the labor force. We have seen that if you have to get a proper picture of the labor market, we have to look at the labor demand, we have to look at the labor supply, and how government of India gets a proper picture and disseminates this kind of information regarding proper picture of the labor market through various kinds of surveys. From the labor supply side, which are household surveys, they will go for periodic labor force survey. Periodic labor force survey is done both for rural areas and urban areas, annually in rural areas and quarterly in urban areas. Whereas labor demand picture, basically, we have two major surveys. One is done by Labor Bureau, which is called as All India Quarterly Establishment Based Employment Survey, AKEES in short, which is further divided into quarterly employment survey for non-farm 9 major sectors. So, organized, non-farm 9 major sectors, they will look at the labor demand there. And area frame establishment survey, which is for unorganized or informal sector. AKEES in short, which is further divided into quarterly employment survey for non-farm 9 major sectors. So, organized, non-farm 9 major sectors, they will look at the labor demand there. And area frame establishment survey, which is for unorganized or informal sectors. Okay, this picture is clear. Now, if they are going for surveys, especially from the labor supply side and surveys like periodic labor force survey, then definitely they will ask some question. They will ask whether you are employed or unemployed, and they will also take some reference period. So, if you are employed or unemployed, then for how much time you are employed or unemployed. So, these kind of questions are being asked. So, how these questions are designed and what kind of methodology should be used in these surveys. This was something which was given by Dantawala committee. And they said that these kind of information should be presented broadly in 3 forms. Firstly, UPS, second is CWS, and third is CDS. UPS is usual principal status, CWS is current weekly status, and CDS is current daily status. So, we were saying that we have to calculate workforce or unemployed people from the labor force. But how these decisions are practically implemented or taken in the ground means whether a person should be categorized as in the labor force or out of the labor force, or if he's within the labor force, then whether he or she is employed or unemployed. So, how these decisions are being implemented at the ground level, this is done through these kind of approaches. So, in UPS approach, the reference period is 365 days. Surveyor will ask the respondent that in the last 365 days, or we can say in the last 1 year, for how many months you were willing and actively seeking for work. And if the respondent reply that for the last 1 year, or in the last 1 year, I was actively seeking and willing to work for 8 months, which is actually more than 6 months, which is more than half of the year. So, if for more than half of the year, that particular respondent was willing and actively seeking for work, and actually if he says 8 months, then he will be categorized as in labor force. So, you can say that person is in labor force, because for more than half of the year, which is more than half of the year. So, if for more than half of the year, that particular respondent was willing and actively seeking for work, and actually if he says 8 months, then he will be categorized as in labor force. So, you can say that person is in labor force, because because for more than half of the year, he was willing and actively seeking work. Then they ask the next question, that in the last 1 year, for how many months you actually got the work? And if he says that in the last 1 year, for 7 months actually I got the work. So for 8 months I was actually willing and seeking to work, whereas for 7 months I got the work. So for more than half of a year, more than 6 months, he was working. So he will be categorized in workforce now. Okay, so according to usual principal status approach, if for more than 6 months you are actually willing and actively seeking work, you will be categorized as a part of the workforce. And if you are willing and actively seeking for work for more than half of the year, and you also get work for more than half of the year, you will be categorized as a part of workforce. Whereas within usual principal status, we also make other category which is called usual status, principal status plus subsidiary status. So we have seen UPS, usual status, principal status. But we can also divide it into usual status, principal status plus subsidiary status. So principal status is for more than 6 months, you are actually willing and seeking to work and actually got work for more than 6 months. Whereas if you are willing and actively seeking work for more than 6 months, either you are part of the labor force, but you got work just for 2 months, for less than 6 months, then you will be categorized as worker and employed as per subsidiary status and not as per principal status. Okay, as principal status you have to be employed for more than 6 months, but as per subsidiary status you have to be employed for less than 6 months. So let's take example of 2 months. So he says for the last more than 6 months I was willing and actively seeking work, but I got the job only for 2 months. Then you are employed, but not as per principal status, but as per subsidiary status. So many times when government release data regarding employment picture, they will release data on the basis of the combination of principal status and subsidiary status. So they will write as usual status, principal status plus subsidiary status. Okay, and in this the reference period is 65 days. You already seen in both usual status, principal status, subsidiary status we have 65 days as reference period. The difference is that if you are getting job for less than 6 months, you will be categorized as employed under subsidiary status. If you are getting job for more than 6 months, you will be categorized as employed under principal status. If you combine both of these, you will get information regarding usual status, both principal status and subsidiary status. Most of the time, information is like this: usual status, principal status plus subsidiary status. In this kind of combination, US, PS plus SS. Okay, now there is something called current weekly status, CWS. In current weekly status, the question is like, for the last 1 week, were you employed for at least 1 hour in any day? If you say yes, he is considered as employed. Whereas in current daily status, they will take information of each day of the last week and he is considered as employed. Whereas in current daily status, they will take information of each day of the last week and then will come to the conclusion whether the person is employed or not, part of the labor force or not. Okay, so these are 3 broad approaches, and within usual status we have principal status and subsidiary status also. These are 3 broad approaches which are used by surveyors to identify whether a particular person is a part of labor force, and if he is part of labor force, then whether he is part of workforce also or not. Now with this background in mind, now let's look into the kind of observations survey has made with respect to the employment sector. Firstly, they say broad-based employment has improved in India and can be observed in data covering both the supply side and demand side of the labor market. So they will present us and we will also present you with the data of both the supply and demand side of the labor market. But what they are saying, on the basis of the data from both the supply and demand side, employment situation in India has improved. Unemployment rates have fallen from 5.8% in 2019 to 4.2% in 2020 and 2021 as per usual status, principal status, and subsidiary status. So this data is as per this status. Then they are saying there is a rise in rural female labor force participation rate from 19.7% in 2019 to 27.7% in 2021. This is something which is showing us that gender dimension within labor market has improved. Now what is this female labor force participation rate? Now you can recall in the last slide I told you something like there are non-workers, and there are this labor force. Now this labor force as a percentage of within labor market has improved. Now what is this female labor force participation rate? Now you can recall in the last slide I told you something like there are non-workers, and there are this labor force. Now this labor force as a percentage of population, total population. This labor force as a percentage of total population will give us something called labor force participation rate. And if we calculate labor force participation rate for only males, we get MLFPR, male labor force participation rate, and for female we get female labor force participation rate, FLFPR. Okay, and we can also divide them on the basis of rural or urban, either male or female. Okay, so that is the labor force participation rate. So what they are saying, there is a rise in the rural female labor force participation rate from 19.7% in 2019 to 27.7% in 2021. Also they are saying we have recovered from the COVID impacts in the labor market. So recovery of the labor market beyond pre-COVID levels both in rural and urban areas, both of them have recovered from the impact of COVID. Okay, now let's look into some data. Now if you look at the data, look at the employment trends as per the usual status, and within usual in the labor market. So recovery of the labor market beyond pre-COVID levels both in rural and urban areas, both of them have recovered from the impact of COVID. Okay, now let's look into some data. Now if you look at the data, look at the employment trends as per the usual status, and within usual status we are looking at principal status plus subsidiary status for person of all ages. I hope now you can make sense of this notation. Usual status, principal status plus subsidiary status. They have given us data for rural, urban, and rural plus urban, and it is based on annual pure labor force survey. So for rural we have annual survey, for urban for annual figure we'll just average out the quarterly figures. Okay, and this is information from 2018 to 2021, and pure labor force survey is by Mr. Statistics Control. I mean, mentioned that is what the source is. Fine. So let's look at the rural, urban, and rural and urban. Male, female, and total person. We'll look into the labor force participation rate, worker population ratio, and unemployment rate. We got the concept of labor force participation rate and unemployment rate. What is worker population ratio? Worker population ratio is nothing but workers divided by population. So that is the worker population ratio. Now see how the trends are. Now in 2020-21, in rural area, labor force participation rate was 57.1. Now in 2020-21, in rural area, labor force participation rate was 57.1. In 2019-20 it was 56.3. In 2018-19 it was 55.1. So in rural area, labor force participation rate has consistently increased in the last 3 years. The data we have for the last 3 years, so in the last 3 years, it has consistently increased. Work participation rate or worker population ratio in 2018-19, 2019-20 and 2021 was also increased. Unemployment rate has consistently decreased in the last 3 years. Now this data is referring to male. Similarly, if you see female, so labor force participation rate has consistently increased in rural areas. Worker population ratio has consistently increased in rural areas. Unemployment rate has consistently decreased. So definitely for both male and female, these indicators have improved. So overall also they will improve only. And unemployment rate you see has consistently fallen in rural area in the last 3 years. Now for urban, you can go for similar kind of trend analysis. But most important for us is to look into this rural and urban, that is all India picture. Now if you look at from the all India perspective, that too, the total person means how overall in India unemployment rate is behaving, how overall India labor force participation rate is behaving, how overall India work population ratio is behaving. So if you look at overall all India picture, so labor force participation rate has increased consistently in the last 3 years. Means whatever data we have for the last 3 years, so definitely we can make conclusion of last 3 years only. For 2018, 19, 20, and 2021. Worker population ratio has consistently increased and unemployment rate has consistently decreased. That's why they are making observation that we have improved situation in the labor market in the last 3 survey data. Okay, now let's look into the other thing with respect to the employment situation only, and that is telling us about the broad status of employment. So there are 3 broad status of employment, and that is self-employed category, regular wage salary, and casual labor. So these are the 3 broad status. And what they are saying, the share of self-employed increase and that of regular wage salary worker decline in 2021 vis-a-vis 2019-20. And this is driven by trend in both rural and urban. In both rural and urban, it is seen that people who are involved are actively categorizing them when we are surveyor is coming to their doorsteps. So they're telling that we are self-employed. Atmanirbharta is increasing in India. Whereas people who are involved in wage or salary workers are decreasing, self-employed is increasing. Net additions to EPFO payroll is steadily moving up. So one way of viewing EPFO is Employment Provident Fund Organization. This organization is responsible for collecting the provident fund of various employees, especially non-government employees. Now, if you see, there are two ways to read this particular point. One way is that because EPFO payroll is steadily moving up, that means employment is increasing, employment picture is improving in case of India. Now, another and more, I would say, negative way of reading it is that employment is not increasing, but only people who were working in informal sector previously, are now getting formalized because of various kind of benefits that have been provided by the government for the formal sector. So it's just a transition of people who were earlier involved in informal sector, working in informal sector, to the formal sector. Okay, so employment as a whole is not improving, it's just formalization is taking place, and that's why there's more registration in EPFO office, and that's why we can say that EPFO payroll is moving up, and thereby we are bringing this kind of misleading conclusion that employment is increasing. Employment is not increasing, rather we are just transitioning from informal economy to formal economy. This can be another kind of conclusion. So one kind of conclusion is simply looking from their perspective, employment is increasing. Second is it's a transition from informal sector to formal sector. But even if this is a transition from informal sector to formal sector, then also it is a win-win situation. It's a win-win situation. How? Because these people who will be now registered under EPFO will be the beneficiary of social security. They'll be registered. Government has the data, and also they will also get some sort of social security after retirement. So definitely they are coming under social security net. So in this way also, this is a win-win situation. So whether you agree that employment is increasing or not, or whether you just say that it's just a transition from the informal to formal economy, both of these, or either of these, can be a big achievement for the country. Now in first point, they were referring to something called broad status in employment. Now I told you broad status in employment in India is either for self-employed or regular or casual labor. Let's look at the data. What the data shows. Now they have given us the data of trends in broad employment status. Persons means both male and female, both rural and urban. So all in the picture is presented here. Now on this all in the picture, as per the broad employment status, you'll see that most of the people in India categorize themselves as self-employed, followed by the people who are categorizing themselves as casual labor, and then followed by the people who are saying that we are regular or day salary workers. We are getting some kind of wage or some kind of salary or as our income. Now you'll see that self-employed people in India are increasing. People who are casual labor is decreasing. Whereas people who are regular wage or salary workers have decreased as compared to last year, but there is no consistent trend. But you can argue that because casual labor is decreasing consistently since last 4 years, so you can say that casualization of labor force is decreasing in India, whereas people in self-employed category is increasing in case of India. These two conclusions can be safely made from this figure. Now let's look into the measurement issues in female labor force participation. Now this is very interesting and has been covered in one of the boxes of the economic survey. Now the point they are making here is that female labor force participation rate in India is underestimated. And what are the reasons they are presenting? They are saying that whenever any surveyor goes for survey, especially in rural areas, and ask people whether you're self-employed or regular salary workers or casual labor, they ask only one question. And most of the time, females reply by telling that firstly they are housewife, they are involved in domestic work, and then they reply that they are also involved in collecting of firewood or fuel wood, involved in agriculture, and other such sorts of activity which can be categorized under self-employed. But the economic survey tells us that these surveyors do not ask second question. They just ask first question, that what kind of work you are involved, and if females say that they are involved in domestic work, they don't categorize them as self-employed, which actually they are. Rather, they categorize them as out of labor force. So in a way, we are underestimating labor force participation rate, especially female labor force participation rate in India. The economic survey notes that because females in India are having double burden, they are involved in activities which can also be categorized under self-employed, but they are also involved in domestic work, but they report domestic work first, and that's why they do not fall within the labor force officially. So what the economic survey tells us that if we correct this anomaly, if we correct this kind of discrepancy, then we can have a higher female labor force participation rate in India, and a higher female labor force participation rate in India is something called, economic survey is giving that name to that labor force participation rate as AFLFPR. That is augmented female labor force participation rate. Okay, so this is something we'll see here. So what they are saying that the common narrative of Indian women's low female labor force participation rate misses the reality of working females integral to the economy of the household and the country. So working females have double work. They have to work in household and they also have to work outside, especially in rural areas. Most of the activities which females work can be categorized as self-employed, but they are not categorized so because of the kind and the nature of survey and the way these surveys are being done, the way the surveyor asks question from the female respondent. Then three main measurement issues have been highlighted in the economic survey. First is overly broad categories. Now we have very broad categories of self-employed, casual laborers, or working on wages or salaries. This can be desegregated a bit. Second, reliance on a single question to categorize labor force status. So they only ask single question and they will not ask the second question. Thirdly, they are saying this narrow approach of limiting productive work labor force participation rate is something which should be done away with. But they are saying that equating labor force or labor force participation rate only from the kind of work which you have done, which has some productive value, or which is something which can be marketable, or having market value, or monetary value, is something which should be done away because there are many kind of contribution, multiple kind of contribution which females, especially housewives, are making to the economy. If not directly, then indirectly. Males are able to participate in the labor force only because females are taking care of the household. So their contribution should also be somewhere reflected in the labor force participation rate or labor force. Now let's look at the augmented female labor force participation rate on the basis of these kind of arguments whatever we have made. So what is the level of augmented female labor force participation rate we will get for various years? So from 1999 till 2021, they have presented us with some kind of data for some of the years, and they say that in 2021, female labor force participation rate in India was 32.5, both rural and urban. See, both rural and urban. It was 32.5. Whereas if we involve the both domestic work and self-employed category of female workers also in the labor force, females who are doing both domestic work plus involved in some kind of self-employed category. Now in surveys, these people who are doing both kind of work are not being included in the labor force. But if we include them in the labor force, then we get something called female labor force participation rate, and our labor force participation, female labor force participation rate for 2020-2021 year will increase from 32.5 to 46.2%. So that's why I was saying that what they are actually trying to convey is that this female labor force participation rate is underestimated, and we can augment it through by including this kind of category, this kind of females in a labor force. Then we'll get something called augmented female labor force participation rate. So for all these years, I have presented us with the figure. So what will be the actual female labor force participation rate, and what can be the augmented female labor force participation rate? Okay, so that's the concept with respect. By including this kind of category, this kind of females in a labor force, these people who are doing both will be someday reflected in the labor force participation rate or labor force. Now let's look at the augmented female labor force participation rate on the basis of these kind of arguments whatever we have made. So what is the level of augmented female labor force participation rate we will get for various years? So from 1999 till 2021, they have presented us with some kind of data for some of the years, and they say that in 2021, female labor force participation rate in India was 32.5, both rural and urban. See, both rural and urban. It was 32.5. Whereas if we involve the both domestic work and self-employed category of female workers also in the labor force, females who are doing both domestic work plus involved in some kind of self-employed category. Now in surveys, these people who are doing both kind of work are not being included in the labor force. But if we include them in the labor force, then we get something called female labor force participation rate, and our labor force participation, female labor force participation rate for 2020-2021 year will increase 46.5 to 46.2%. So that's what I was saying, that what they are actually trying to convey is that this female labor force participation rate is underestimated, and we can augment it through by including this kind of category, this kind of females in a labor force, then we'll get something called augmented female labor force participation rate. So for all these years, I have presented us with the figure. So what will be the actual female labor force participation rate and what can be the augmented female labor force participation rate. Okay, so that is the concept with respect to the augmented female labor force participation. Now, if you see, this whole discussion which we are having till now was from the supply side of the labor market. Now, the kind of discussion which we have now will from the demand side of the labor market. We will look into the status of the factories or firms which are generating jobs and how the surveys are being done there. Okay, so we already seen demand side employment, which is something which is being captured by the quarterly employment survey. This was something which was already made clear when we were discussing the basis of the labor market. And I told you there is something called all India quarterly establishment based employment survey, which has two parts: quarterly employment survey and area frame establishment survey. This is for non-organized sector, and this is for formal sector, especially 9 major non-farm sectors, which are of course organized sector. Okay, formal sector or organized sector, but non-farm. So agriculture is not included here. Okay, agriculture is not included here. So quarterly employment survey we already discussed, that is conducted by Labor Bureau. It covers establishment 10 or more workers, that is organized sector, in 9 major sectors: manufacturing, construction, trade, transport, education, health, accommodation, restaurant, IT, BPO, and financial services. Now, if you look at this figure, the left side tells us about the estimated number of workers according to QES, quarterly employment survey, in the financial year 2022. So for various quarters, they have given us estimated number of workers, and you see that for various quarters the number of workers is increasing consistently. Quarterly figures are not that important from examination perspective. Now, then they in the right side give us sectoral share of total employment, and that according to QES. Again, they are giving us the data of quarter 4 of financial year 2022. Now, this quarter 4 data will be something which will be very similar to the annual data also. So sectoral shares of total employment do not change statistically. So they remain almost same at least for a year, even if the data is from quarter. So for example, they are telling us that it is manufacturing in which most of the people are involved in quarter 4. So in quarter 4, 318 lakhs of workers were involved in these 9 major sectors, and out of 318 lakhs, most of them are involved in manufacturing. Now that is the only key takeaway from this. You don't have to go into many details. Just make a note that in the 9 major non-farm sector which are assessed according to quarterly employment survey, manufacturing generates the largest number of jobs. Okay, that is important. Now let's look into another survey which again giving us a picture of demand side of employment, and that is the annual survey of industries. It is also conducted by MOSPI and covers organized manufacturing data for the factories registered in the factories at 1948. So all those enterprises which are registered in the factories at 1948 will be surveyed by the annual survey of industries. Now this survey tells us a very important observation. In fact, this observation was presented in many surveys, many previous surveys or any previous annual survey of industries, and it tells us that a skewed distribution of a large number of factories with low employment size and a few factories with higher employment size. Now let's read this statement again. It tells us there is a skewed distribution of a large number of factories with low employment sizes and a few factories with higher employment sizes. What it essentially means is that there are a large number of factories in India. So if there are total 100 factories in India, then out of 100, there are a large number of factories, or most of the factories in India, are employing very few people. Very few people. So there are a large number of factories out of the total factories which are employing very few people. And then there are a small number of factories, or very few factories, small number of factories, which are employing large number of people. Number of people or workers. The idea is that there are a large number of factories which are not generating much jobs. Most of the jobs in India are generated in very few factories. We are talking about organized sector. So they are telling us most of the jobs in India are generated in very few factories. Whereas there are many factories in India which are not generating many jobs, but they are there. So one of the key takeaway can be that because there are large number of factories in India which are not able to generate many jobs, so one of the reasons can be because they are not able to grow. Small factories which are generating very less amount of job, very less number of jobs, are not able to grow. They are not able to increase their scale or size. And second one can be they are not willing to grow. They want to remain small. Okay. So factory sizes or the number of workers that are involved in that factory, in that particular factory which is generating very small number of jobs, is either not able to grow itself or they are willingly not growing. Both of these are true. They are not able to increase their scale or size because of many reasons. They don't have very large number of regulations, and they are not willing to grow because they have perverse incentives to remain small. So in India, most of the benefits, most of the incentives are given to micro, small, and medium enterprises, MSME sector. And if they reach this limit of MSME, then they will not be the beneficiary of those kind of incentives. So that's why most of the MSMEs in India, because of these perverse incentives, because of the incentives of remaining small rather than growing large, they remain small. They remain micro, small, and medium enterprises only. And that's what it is being observed here in this annual survey of industries, that there is a skewed distribution of large number of factories with low employment sizes and a few factories with high employment sizes. We'll get a clear picture of this statement when we look at the data. So the data shows that out of 1,98,628 factories in operation, 1,34,577 factories, or you can say around 75% of that, are employing less than 50 employees each. So secondly, they are saying that more than 70% or 77.3% of the total persons engaged are factories engaging more than 100%. So factories which are engaging more than 100% are generating more than 77% of jobs. The realization of the same point which we discussed. In terms of the total person engaged, employment has been rising in larger factories than in smaller ones. So employment in India is not being generated by smaller factories. Whereas most of them is being generated by larger factories. Again, that is a corollary of whatever we have discussed. Now let's look into the data. If you look at the data, this figure tells us about trends in employment in factories as per annual survey of industries. It tells us about the distribution of factories and the person engaged by employment range. So on the basis of employment range, these factories have been arranged in the x-axis, and the percent of the factories or the percent of the total person engaged is given in the y-axis. So factories which are in the range of generating jobs between 0 to 14 employees, then 50 to 19 employees, 20 to 29 employees, and in the same way 2,000 to 4,999 employees, and then which are generating jobs which are more than 5,000 employees. Okay. Now you see that there are large number of factories. There are large number of factories closing 40%, which are generating jobs in the range of 0 to 40. So very large number of small factories are there in India. And there is very small number of factories in India. This one. You can't even observe this data. So very small number of factories in India which are generating large number of jobs. Okay. So through this data we can complete our discussion whatever we discussed, that large number of factories generating very few jobs and very few factories generating large number of jobs in India. Then if you look at total person engaged, then total person engaged again is very small in these large number of factories. So factories generating 0 to 14 jobs. Total also they are generating very small number of jobs. Whereas large number of jobs is being generated in this range. Factories which are in the size of 100 to 199, 200 to 499 employees, 500 to 999 employees. So all those factories which are towards this side from this figure, which are generating more than 100 jobs. So all those factories which are generating more than 100 jobs are actually the factories which are generating large number of jobs in India. Okay. So this is the presence of very large number of small factories in India and very few numbers of large factories in India. And there is a problem with India's industrial structure which is getting reflected from the employment data. Because if you don't have the size and the scale, definitely you cannot compete with the others, especially in the competitive market which is having the presence of China also. Now let's number of persons which are engaged in that particular factory. Okay, so factory size more than 100. Whenever factory size is more than 100, then they are generating more jobs and have more persons engaged in that particular factory as compared to when factory size is less than 100. So this one and this one, they are saying nothing other than whatever we have discussed. They are just complementing whatever we have discussed with hard data presented through annual survey of industries. Now we look into another topic which is related to the employment sector only, and that is the topic which is called Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. Now this scheme came to an act, NREGA Act, National Rural Employment Guarantee Act of 2005. Later on, the name of Mahatma Gandhi was added to this act, and then it became Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. Now what they are trying to tell us in this economic survey, that the work that is being generated through this scheme, Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, has come back to the pre-pandemic level. Now there are various kinds of unemployment that are there in the economy, and one of the kind of unemployment that is there, especially in the rural area, is seasonal unemployment. Now what is this seasonal unemployment? Especially if you look in the rural areas, during the sowing season and harvesting season, people in rural areas are busy. They have much work to do. But in the lean season especially non-sowing and non-harvesting season, they require some work. And to fill that gap, government came with something called Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act. And during pandemic, we saw increased demand for NREGA work. Because it's a demand-based scheme. If you demand the work, government has the obligation, because it's statutory right, government has the obligation to provide you with the work for at least 100 days. 100 days of unskilled work is provided. Unskilled work is provided to household in rural area. So there is no income limit or any other kind of eligibility which debar you from demanding work. If you demand work and if you are in rural area, government has the obligation to provide you work of at least 100 days. And if the government is not able to provide you with work in a stipulated time period, then the government will have to pay you something called unemployment allowance. So the demand for work under NREGA increased during COVID times because many people moved from urban areas to rural areas and they had nothing to do because not all of them can be co-opted within the agriculture sector, and within the agriculture sector also there are something called lean seasons. So the demand for work increased during COVID time. But the economic survey now tells us that because the impact of COVID is over, people have started moving from rural area back to their working places in urban areas, and also economy has recovered. So that's why the demand for work under NREGA has now come back to the pre-pandemic level. There's a normalization that is seen. Now that is the crux of whatever they are explaining in the economic survey. So let's look into the points. So the points tell us demand for work under NREGA is seen to be trending around pre-pandemic level. It's coming back and trending to pre-pandemic level due to normalization of the rural economy, strong agricultural growth, and swift recovery from COVID-induced slowdown. So rural economy has recovered, and the economy has recovered, agricultural growth is picking up, and we have also recovered from COVID-induced slowdown. The number of works under NREGA has steadily increased over the years. Otherwise, number of work has steadily increased in India over the years, and the share of works done on individual land has increased from 16% of total completed work in financial year 15 to 73% financial year 2022. Now what's the meaning of this point? If you look at this point, it says that the share of work done on individual land. Now there are various categories of work under Schedule 1. Under Schedule 1 of NREGA Act, there are various categories of work. More than 200 categories have been identified. And these categories keep on increasing over time. Okay, means on what all areas you can deploy the NREGA scheme or workers under the NREGA scheme. So these are the categories. More than 200 categories. Now if you what all areas you can deploy the NREGA scheme or workers under the NREGA scheme. So these are the categories. More than 100 categories. Now if you combine these categories in some broad sections, so what they are saying that work done on individual land has seen a tremendous increase. On individual, what's the kind of nature of work done on individual land? The kind of nature of work on individual land is, for example, for farm or animal sheds or digging well in individual land. So all these are the work on individual land. So they are saying this work done on this kind of category on individual land has increased from 16% in financial year 15 to 73% financial year 22. So firstly, let's look at the number of projects under NREGA. So do one is telling us about completed work, and the original telling us about the ongoing work. So if you look at the completed work from 2014 to 2023, you'll see there is no consistent trend. So this is not important for us. There is no consistent trend. It is not important for us. Whereas you'll see that ongoing work peaked during 2020-21. In fact, during 2021, 21-22, and 2019-20, you'll see we had large numbers of ongoing works because these were the time period of COVID, and demand for work increased during pandemic period. That's why we see a huge increase as compared to other years, a huge increase in the ongoing works during this time period when there was influence of COVID or COVID-induced impact on rural economy. Okay, so we can get a sense of why these works, ongoing works have increased during these 3 particular years because these were COVID years, and as COVID receded or impact of the COVID receded, we'll see the ongoing works also reduced because people now have moved back to their original working areas, urban areas, and the demand for the NREGA work has gone down. Now, the another figure tells us about the last point, that was share of completed work under NREGA. And here you can see share of completed work under NREGA, especially in this category, work on individual land, is something which is very noticeable. See, in 2014, just this much, and in 2022-23, it has increased to more than 70%. This is a point they were telling us there, that out of the total category, all major categories, the share of work on individual land has increased from 16% to 73%. Okay, so this was the discussion with respect to the employment. Now we'll move to the discussion on another sector which is also having a huge impact on the human development, and that is the sector of education. Sector which is also having a huge impact on the human development, and that is the sector of education. Now let's start our discussion with the education sector. Means how in the education sector we have performed the last 1 year. But before delving into the discussion on the education sector, let's get a brief outlook of the education sector in India. Let's get a brief overview of how education system in India is architectured. So let's see that. Now, if you look at the education sector in India, education sector, it can be broadly divided into 2 parts. One is the school education, and another is higher education. Within school education, we have like pre-primary, primary, and secondary education. Within higher education, we have colleges, universities, whether state or central or deemed universities. We have institutes like IITs, IIMs, AIMS for medical sciences, or Indian Institute of Information Technologies, triple ITs. Now all of these come under higher education. Now whenever we are assessing the performance of school education or higher education, we have some important metrics, and these metrics are gross enrollment ratio, dropout rates, or gender parity index. Now, what is gross enrollment ratio? Gross enrollment ratio is nothing but the number of enrollment. Gross enrollment ratio, dropout rates, or gender parity index. Now, what is gross enrollment ratio? Gross enrollment ratio is nothing but the number of enrollment, of course, of students, number of enrollment divided by number of students or children in that age group. So, for example, if you have to calculate the gross enrollment ratio for primary level, simply divide the number of children who are enrolled in these primary classes divided by the number of students or children in that age group, which will fall into the primary education. Similarly, for secondary or pre-primary or colleges or universities. So, in that way, we can calculate gross enrollment ratio, and we can also calculate gross enrollment ratio not only for overall children or overall students, but also on gender basis. For example, gross enrollment ratio for males or gross enrollment ratio for female child. And when we divide gross enrollment ratio for female child by gross enrollment ratio for male child or male student, we get something called gender parity index. And this is also one of the important metric, one of the important parameter which we use to assess the performance of school education or higher education or education system as such in case of India or in any other country. Another thing is dropout rates. So, what's the percentage of the student who are not moving from one level of education to another level of education? That gives us something called dropout rate. So, all those students, the percentage of students which are missing from one level to another. So, for example, if 90% is the gross enrollment ratio for primary education, whereas 80% is for secondary education, that is, while moving from primary education to secondary education, 10% loss is there, and that is nothing but dropout rate because of various reasons. Either because parents were not able to afford education, or because there were some apprehensions, and usually these kind of apprehensions are there in rural areas, even today, especially with respect to girl child. So, all those reasons can be there, which are leading to dropout rate. So, when we study the education system in India, within this economic survey also, we assess the performance of education system on the basis of gross enrollment ratio, dropout rates, and gender parity index. Apart from this, these kind of things can also be applied to higher education. In higher education, though, we also stress on the kind of quality education which you are increasing by having large number of IITs, high end scientific IITs. So, all those things are also a part of discussion whenever we discuss or have any kind of discussion with respect to education. Now, they can also be third sector, and that is of vocational education. Vocational education. Though we will cover this in the skill part because there is some observation that is also made with respect to skill sector in the economic survey, and they also cover that. So, we will cover the skill sector separately. But for comprehensiveness, let me tell you something about this vocational education here. Now, vocational education basically with respect to skill or vocational training. Now, government intention is to increase the integration of vocational education with this conventional education. And government is very serious in integrating this, in having horizontal and vertical mobility from vocational to the conventional education and from conventional education to vocational education, so that all those students who have somehow were not able to get the conventional education, they can come back to the conventional education. Also, from conventional education, they can go to vocational education. So, these kinds of things government have been experimenting. Now, if you see the kind of debates that are going with respect to the education sector in India, so one is national education policy, which is a new education policy. New education policy is released. That was released in 2020. Then, national curriculum framework (NCF) that is being revised. Now, it becomes a bounden duty, a moral duty, if you are preparing for this prelims or mains, that you at least go through these two documents or the basics about them, new education policy and national curriculum framework that is being revised, and debate around them. That can be possible, especially in mains, but not in prelims. Now, after getting this broad architecture of education sector in India, now let's look into the content in the slides. So, what these slides say, what the economic survey says about the education best starting school education. So, for school education, the enrollments increased across all the levels of schooling. So, they are saying that enrollments have increased across the levels. Gross enrollment ratio has increased. Secondly, they are saying gender parity has also been on rise. Third, school dropout rates at all levels are going down. So, dropout rates have been going down. So, what they are saying in sense that across the board, all three metrics have been improving in case of India. And there is no better thing than this, that gross enrollment ratio is increasing, dropout rate is increasing, and gender parity index is also increasing in the school sector, in the school education, in each stage, primary, upper primary, secondary, and higher secondary. Now, they're also saying that infrastructure in the form of amenities and digitalization has been steadily promoted along with pedagogy. So, infrastructure, especially basic infrastructure at the school level, especially in rural area, is being promoted. And you'll see one of the chart we have, in which we'll see various kinds of infrastructure that has been provided, and this is also leading to the increase of gross enrollment ratio, increase of GPI, or decrease in the dropout rates in the school system in India. We'll see all those kinds of examples. In fact, if you look at this kind of data, gross enrollment ratio, or GPI, or dropout rate in India, especially in the school sector, this data is coming from a survey called UDICE, Unified District Information System for Education. Now it's UDICE Plus, because now it is completely online and real time. What happens is that all the organized schools, whether public or private, they have to provide the data regarding the schools and data regarding these metrics to the Ministry of Education. Whether public or private, they have to provide the data regarding the schools and data regarding these metrics to the Ministry of Education. And from that, Ministry of Education is collecting all these sorts of data, and then they are getting this data in the economic survey and all the places. Similarly, for higher education, we are getting these kind of data from all India survey for higher education. Just like UIS Plus is for school education, all India survey for higher education is for higher education. My name is Sabir Mega. Okay, now let's look into the data. Just to support those points which we described that gross enrollment ratio is increasing, GPI is increasing, dropout rate is decreasing. So UIS survey, if you look at 2014, 107.2, 2021, 22, 103.4. Now, in the primary stage, we usually are having more than 100% gross enrollment ratio. This is because more students or children are enrolled in these primary stage than or corresponding to their age group. So, if corresponding to the age group, there are suppose 80 students, age group of primary education, but 90 are enrolled, and that's why we are having more than 100% gross enrollment ratio. And why 90 are enrolled? Because many are getting early realization, means even before reaching at this primary age group, their parents are sending them to the primary stage schools, or many are getting late realization. Even after passing their primary age group, they are coming back and getting themselves enrolled in the primary age related schools. Okay, so that's why there is more than 100% enrollment in the primary stage. Then in upper primary, we'll see that gross enrollment ratio from 86.7, it has increased to 94.7. Secondary, from 73.8 in 2021-22, it has increased to 79.6. So gross enrollment ratio has increased in case of India. In primary, it was almost always 100, more than 100%. So there's no point in increasing it more. But in upper primary and secondary, we have seen there has been a rise in gross enrollment ratio. The school dropout rate from 2013-14 in primary sector from 4.7%, it has reduced to 1.5% in 21-22. In upper primary, from 3.1% to 3%. In secondary, from 14.5, it has reduced to 12.6%, though there was increase in 2019-20. But as of today, as compared to 2013-14 data, it is low. So school dropout rates have gone down. Again, source is US Plus survey. Then this was the school infrastructure I was talking about, basic school infrastructure, which is leading to increase in gross enrollment ratio and increase in GDI. If you see girls' toilet, there's no point in arguing that if there is infrastructure which is leading to increase in gross enrollment ratio and increase in GDI. If you see girls' toilet, there's no point in arguing that if there is girls' toilet, functional girls' toilet, then definitely girls' participation in the schools will increase, and if it is not there, then definitely their dropout rate will increase. Okay, so if you see girls' toilet in 2012, 88.1% of the schools were having functional girls' toilet. Now it is 97.5. Boys' toilet 67.2 to 96.2. Hand washing facilities increased to 93.6 in 2022. Library room 87.3 again increased. Electricity again 89.3 again increased. Medical checkups it has reduced, and they have given a reason also due to COVID schools are closed physically, so that's why medical checkups have reduced. Then computer 47.5 doubled from 22.2 which was in 2013, but of course it still is very low. There's no point in arguing that's very high. It's still very low. 47.5 and internet 6.2 to 33.9 almost 5 times but still very low. Now these are two infrastructure facility computer internet that government has to work on so as to improve these metrics more and to improve the quality of education more, especially in rural areas. Now let's start with this kinds of scheme which have actually resulted in the improvement of these various metrics related to school education. So these are like PM School for Rising India, PM Shri scheme, which are nothing but some set of schools, around 14,500 schools, have been identified for implementation of new education policy. So they will be acting as a template for other schools by first going through all the provisions of new education policy, especially with respect to the school sector. Then Bal Bachcha schools, which are play home for children, especially for preparatory classes. Then Prashast, which is disability screening checklist for schools. The STARS, strengthening teaching, learning and result policy states, which is in a way World Bank assisted program. We have six states have been identified, 6 particular states have been identified for improvement in the governance of school. Improvement in the governance of school. Of schools. The National Children's Fund, National Credit Framework under New Education Policy for schools, and similar credit framework is for higher education sector, higher education, which is called ABC, Academic Bank of Credits. Academic Bank of Credits. The Vidyanjali scheme, which is actually encouraging public and private sector people, corporates or NGOs to participate and improve facilities in nearby public schools. And they can do this by aiding these public schools in various ways. Then Samagra Shiksha scheme, which is a kind of integrated scheme for school education in India. Earlier there was Sarv Shiksha Abhiyan, SSA for primary education. Then there was RMSA, Rashtriya Madhyamik Shiksha Abhiyan for secondary education, and then there was a complementary teacher education. All these were integrated into Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan because there should be some kind of comprehensiveness and continuity in various kind of intervention at various levels of school education. That was the philosophy of integrating all these components at primary, secondary, teacher education into one scheme called Samagra Shiksha Abhiyan. So all of these schemes have over time have resulted in the improvement in the school education and various kind of metrics that we have discussed. Now let's go into the higher education. Higher education acts as a laboratory for change in India because these are the institutions where research and development actually takes place. Total enrollment in higher education has also increased. Enrollment in distance education is also on the rise. For example, within higher education only, they can be physical mode, plus they can be distance mode. Then within distance only, they can be online mode also. Online mode of education also. So they are seeing enrollment in distance education is also on the rise. That means people are more willing to study, especially at a higher level. Even if they are not able to afford because of time and money, the regular education, the physical mode of education, they are ready to enroll for distance education. Higher education infrastructure has also seen an increase in the last 1 year. So if you look at the total students enrolled in higher education, you can see they have presented us with the data total enrollment in absolute figures they have given. So we can't take absolute figures very seriously because of course absolute figures will increase. So had it been percentage term, that would have been more widely debated. Let's go into absolute figure only. And it is coming from all the survey for higher education report, Ministry of Education, from 2016-17, 3.6 crore, then 3.7 crore next year, then 2019, 3.7 crore, again, then 2019-20, 3.9 crore, and 2021, 4.1 crore. So the absolute number is increasing, but in 2019, 3.7 crore, again, then 2019-20, 3.9 crore, and 2021, 4.1 crore. So the absolute number is increasing, but of course I would say that more quality will have in the percentage. Then again, students enrollment in higher education, they have given this data to us in crore, means again absolute figures with respect to male and female. So you can see in 2020-21, 2.1 crore male and 2 crore female total, 4.1 crore is gross enrollment. So there is not that much difference with male and female as compared to what it was, 1.9 and 1.7 crore in 2016-17. So gender parity index in higher education is increasing. In that sense, we can say that. Now let's look into the initiatives for higher education. So research and development cell in higher education institution to foster research in these institutions. Guidelines for pursuing two academic programs simultaneously. So UGC has recently published the guidelines that we can do two courses simultaneously. The interest subsidies which is being provided on education loans, and that too, these loans are provided without guarantee. Then Akhil Bharatiya Shiksha Samagam, this is nothing but a meeting of all the educationers, vice chancellors, practitioners from various universities, whether public or private universities, and they were just discussing that how new education policy will be implemented at higher education level. So just it was a kind of meeting. So Akhil Bharatiya Shiksha Samagam. So all of these have been initiated for higher education. Now after looking into education, let's look into the sector of skill development. Now this was something which I was alluding to you in the last discussion when we were discussing about the architecture of education system in India. Now skill development is something which is very close to heart of this government, and they are promoting it like anything. And skill development, if you see, let's first look into the basics of skill development in India. Now if you look at the basic, it was in 2009 the first skill development policy came in. Development policy in India came in. Later on, in 2015, we got a complete program, the Skill India Mission. Which is an umbrella scheme for all skill development initiatives. Apart from this, during the same time, we also got a skill development and entrepreneurship policy of India. So earlier, we were having just skill development policy. Now we were integrating skill development with entrepreneurship. Then at the same time, in around same time, 2014, we had something called Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. So we had a separate ministry for Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Now within Skill India Mission, we had National Skill Development Mission. Within National Skill Development Mission, we had something called National Skill Development Corporation, National Skill Development Agency, which is now National Vocational Council of Education Training, and we had also called Director General of Training, which is now within Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. Now this Director General of Training in India is responsible for training and apprenticeship. National Skill Development Agency is responsible for standardization of skill. So for example, National Qualification Framework is there, which is just arranging all these skills in different levels. 10 levels are there. So what they have done, National Skill Qualification Framework, they have arranged all these skills in 10 levels so that there is proper integration from vocational education to the conventional education. The same point I was stressing earlier. So we need some kind of framework, just like we have National Curriculum Framework for schools. Similarly, we have National Skill Qualification Framework for skill sector, and responsibilities with National Vocational Council for Education Training. Earlier it was National Skill Development Agency. Then we have National Skill Development Corporation. The National Skill Development Corporation is nothing but a PPP arrangement, public-private partnership arrangement, where both the public sector and the private sector have a role, and thereby they are running something called a skill sector councils in which they are providing training to people. So it's a public-private partnership arrangement. So NSTC or National Vocational Council for Education Training, Director General of Training. Now these are the kind of institutions that are involved in skill training in India. And these are the kind of policy and missions that are running. Now within skill dimension, there are schemes like Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. Now Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana itself has multiple schemes. So for example, short-term training component is there, short-term training component. Then there is something called recognition of prior learning, which is nothing but recognizing the pre-existing skills in traditional artisans. So all those traditional artisans who already have some kind of skill, they will be recognized by the government. So that is the recognition of prior learning. Then Rozgar Melas or job fairs are arranged within Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. Then national skill qualification framework also find a place within Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. And within Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana only, those people who will be getting training under this scheme will be getting some kind of monetary incentives. So Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana itself is a scheme of scheme and is a part of the skill dimension, which itself is an umbrella scheme. So government is taking many steps for the skill development in India. Apart from this, if you look at the sister Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana, which is running in rural areas, that is Deen Dayal Upadhyaya Gram Kaushal Yojana. But the difference is that this is mainly targeting sections which are vulnerable. It also has placement component. And in fact, international placement. So this scheme will target firstly vulnerable sections of the rural area, not all. Second, it has placement component and has international placement component. Okay, so you will be placed in other countries, or mainly those kind of agencies will be promoted under these schemes, which has some kind of licensing with international agencies, so that these rural people with the skills can be placed in other countries. Okay, so we are also acting as an export hub of skill capital. So there's much going on in the skill sector space in India. So with this kind of basic groundwork, let's see what are the observations that have been made in the economic survey with respect to the skill sector. Now what they are saying, formal vocational or technical training among youths aged 15 to 29 years and the working population aged 15 to 29 years, means youth they are taking age group of 15 to 29 and working population aged 15 to 29, have improved in financial year 21 over the last 2 years. In financial year 21 over the last 2 years, formal vocational technical training has improved. About 1.1 crore persons have been trained under the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. This is an absolute number, we are not much concerned with that. 21.4 lakh apprentices have been engaged by industry since the launch of National Apprentice Promotion Scheme, NAPS scheme. They are saying more than 20 lakh have been trained. Now, if you look at the distribution of persons who receive formal vocational technical training as a percentage, so it becomes important. Within 15 to 29, this is the age group, rural area, urban area, all India. Let's look at the all India figures. So 15 to 29 age group, 2.8% and 2.4% in 2018-19. In 2019-20, 4.1 increased to 4.1, 2.4 increased to 3.2. Then it remains same, but it increased 0.1%. So in a way, annual KLS report, what it is saying and telling that India is performing well in the skill sector and skill space, and the age group of 15 to 29 and 15 to 59 has seen an increase in terms of percentage in formal vocational or technical training. Now let's look into this skilling dimension, skilling, reskilling, upskilling. So this is nothing but an umbrella scheme, and which is engaged in skilling, reskilling, upskilling, both through short-term and long-term training program. Then these are the various kinds of schemes which are running under skill injection, and which is engaged in skilling, reskilling, upskilling, both through short-term and long-term training program. Then these are the various kinds of schemes which are running under skill injection, and some of the schemes we have already covered, like Deen Dayal Upadhyaya Gram Kaushal Yojana, like Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana. Then there is Deen Dayal Upadhyaya Yojana, National Urban Livelihood Mission. We also have rural component of that, National Rural Livelihood Mission. So National Apprenticeship Promotion Scheme, and then there is something called Craftsman Training Scheme. This is the oldest one. Started somewhere in 1950s. So these are the kind of schemes that have been running in the skill sector space in India and leading to the promotion and development of skills amongst the population of India. Now let's look into the health sector. Now there are various kinds of observations that have been made even in case of health sector, and health sector is also something which impacts the quality of life of people. And we know that in social infrastructure we are discussing all those kinds of sector which is impacting the quality of life of people. Now before discussing all these kinds of discussion, let's also get a brief outlook of how health sector is arranged in case of India. Now if you look at the health sector in India, it can be divided in terms of public sector, public health sector. Public health sector means the sector which is being promoted by the government out of the government expenditure, and the private one, private health sector. In private health sector we can have various kinds of nursing homes, hospitals, clinics, super specialty hospitals, all those kinds of things we usually see in private health sector. In public health sector, we further divide into two: rural health sector infrastructure and urban. Rural, if you start from the bottom, we have ASHA workers, accredited social health activists, ASHA workers, which are there in rural areas. Then we get something called sub-center, then primary health center, then community health center, CSC. So ASHA workers, sub-centers, these sub-centers will refer the patient to the primary health center, primary health center will refer the patient to community health center, state hospital. So this is the way in which rural health sector is arranged in case of India. In urban, we have Taluk hospital, district hospital, state hospitals, and so on. Okay, so broadly, in this way, health sector is arranged in case of India. Now, government concern is to reduce the expenditure on health sector, which is done by people. So the net outgo from the pocket of the people in the health sector is called nothing but OOPE, out of pocket expenditure. So any government which is even having an iota of welfare dimension in its mind will aim for reducing out of pocket expenditure in health sector. And this the government do by various kinds of schemes, by various kinds of intervention. So all of these things we'll study. We'll also see that how out of pocket expenditure of people in India is going down and how government health expenditure in India is increasing. So reduction of out of pocket expenditure and increase of government health expenditure both are positive phase or positive kind of interventions that are being done by the government in the health sector. Now why we are concerned with out of pocket expenditure so much? So if you look at the situation of India, social economic profile of India, and if you see this is the poverty line in India. Suppose this is the poverty line of around 100 rupees per day. So any person who is earning more than 100 rupees per day will be non-poor. Anyone earning less than will be poor. So all the people which are below this line, below this 100 rupees per day line, are poor and above are non-poor. Now I have given you the concept that out of pocket expenditure is the net outgo from people's pocket in the health sector. Means whenever suppose they are spending 1,000 rupees in health expenses in a year, then the percentage of the expenditure which is going from their pocket, that will be out of pocket expenditure, and the percentage which is being reimbursed to them by the government or somewhere being subsidized by the government will be government health expenditure. So suppose if 1,000 rupees is being spent and suppose 600 is from their pocket and 400 from the government, so this is out of pocket expenditure. Now if further it reduces, suppose it becomes 200 and government is paying 800, then this is something which is seen as a positive for the health sector. Now this is something which is government aiming so as to reduce the out of pocket expenditure of the people through various kinds of intervention, various kinds of schemes, study, and to increase the government health expenditure. Now I was telling you that this is the poverty line. Suppose this is the poverty line. In India, many people are very near to this poverty line. They are not poor. Technically they are not poor, but they are very near. Means almost hovering on this poverty line. Any shock, health shock or income shock, will directly push them below this poverty line and will make them poor. So suppose there is some kind of health emergency And if all the money, all the expenditure in this health emergency is by their pocket or out of pocket expenditure as a percentage of total expenditure on that particular health emergency is very high, then they will be directly pushed below this poverty line and they will be categorized as poor. So that's why government want to intervene in this particular sector, in this particular health sector, and reduce out-of-pocket expenditure at least for people who are very near to poverty line. That's why government is bringing many schemes for vulnerable sections of the population. For example, Ayushman Bharat, and there are various components of Ayushman Bharat scheme. For example, there is a component of secondary tertiary sector, there is a component of primary healthcare, then there is a component which is for making of digital records, Ayushman Bharat digital mission. Okay, so this is the concept why government is aiming to reduce out-of-pocket expenditure. Now, with this brief background in mind, now let's look into the kind of observation that economic survey gives us. So they say Indian health network is among the largest in the world. Note up here, the largest population of the world. So definitely at least in terms of network, in physical terms, if not in quality terms, will be the largest in the world. Note up here, the largest population of the world. So definitely at least in terms of network, in physical terms, if not in quality terms, will be the largest one. Now, multidimensional initiatives have been launched and carried forward for the better overall health of the citizens. We'll discuss what all multidimensional initiatives are about. And these initiatives, for economic survey notes, have improved most of the health indicators in India in National Family Health Survey 5 vis-a-vis National Family Health Survey 4. So what they are saying, as compared to National Family Health Survey 4, these many initiatives, which I mentioned here, these many initiatives have improved the health indicators of India. Now let's first look at the initiative. So these are the major initiatives from 2014 to 2022 for the better overall health. 2014, we know, is the time period of New India, first chapter. So 2014, 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022, in all of these years, there have been very crucial interventions in the health sector that have been made by the government of India. So 2014, Mission Indradhanush for universal immunization for many vaccine preventive diseases. Then Rashtriya Kishore Swasthya कार्यakram, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan, which itself means by improving sanitation facility and sanitation behavior in India, we can in long term impact the health outcomes. Then 2015-16, free drugs and diagnostic services, maternity benefit act, Ujjwala Yojana, national dialysis program. Then in 2017, we have something called national health policy, mental health care act. In 2018, Ayushman Bharat. In fact, if you look at Ayushman Bharat, it has three major verticals. Ayushman Bharat Jan Arogya Yojana for secondary and tertiary care. So the identified vulnerable families will be given 5 lakh of insurance per household per year. In some of the states, it's open to all, whether you are poor or not poor. All will have a minimum basic state support of 5 lakh per household per year of secondary and tertiary care support. Then Ayushman Bharat Health and Wellness Center, 1.5 lakh health and wellness centers have been opened across India so as to focus more on primary health care. Then there is Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission for digitalization of records. Digitalization of health records. So Ayushman Bharat in a way is very comprehensive. It schemes then Potion Abhiyan for nutrition, anemia Bharat strategy, because we know in India women are mostly anemic, they have iron deficiency, so there is kind of intervention to address that kind of iron deficiency. Suman program, E-Sanjeevani, which is nothing but telemedicine program. Social awareness and action to utilize women successfully, SARS program. Then in 21, health sector grants were given to local bodies. Ayushman Bharat Digital Mission, Ayushman Bharat Health Infrastructure Mission, Medical Termination of Pregnancy Act, then in TV sector, then in Telemanas, National Tele Mental Health Program. All of these interventions are leading to the improvement in the health sector in India. Now you can see improvement in health related indicators. Now all those schemes from 2014 to 2022 have resulted in the improvement in most of these health related indicators. So there are many health related indicators they have listed, and you can see with few exceptions, all of them are showing green line, means they have improved in National Family Health Survey 5 as compared to National Family Health Survey 4, which was the baseline 2016. So as compared to National Family Health Survey 4, National Family Health Survey 5 shows improvement in the data in health sector indicators. Now if you look at the share of GHE, that is government health expenditure, in total health expenditure. So share of GHE, the share of THE, government health expenditure, the share of total health expenditure, and the difference will be OOP, out of pocket expenditure. So if you look at the share of GHE, government health expenditure, in total health expenditure, it has also increased over time. They say 40.6% in financial year 19, which is higher than 28.6% in financial year 14, which has in fact led to a reduction in out of pocket expenditure in health. Out of pocket expenditure therefore has declined from 64.2% in financial 14 to 48.2% in financial 19, which is a huge improvement in the health sector in India. The recent reform focus on extending health infrastructure as well as human resources in public system, and we are seeing how many schemes government has been running in health sector. So like this says, they are saying there is a rising number of sub-center primary health care centers and community health centers in rural areas, along with the rise in doctors, nurses, and other medical personnel over time. So both human resources and infrastructure is improving. These are human resources, HR, in the health sector, and this is infrastructure. Both of them have been improving in case of rural India. Ayushman Bharat beneficiaries have reached nearly 22 crore with 1.54 lakh health and wellness centers operationalized across the country. So Ayushman Bharat Health and Wellness Center component is completely operationalized now. Now this will act as a huge improvement in the primary healthcare. And if you are able to have proper effective intervention in the primary healthcare, then the need for secondary or tertiary care can be at least arrested. If not completely, then by some percentage it can be arrested because you are diagnosing and treating problems at the primary level only. So strengthening primary healthcare is a huge achievement of the Ayushman Bharat scheme. Now they have shown in this figure GHE, OP as a percentage of total health expenditure. So what's the percentage of government health expenditure? What's the percentage of out of pocket expenditure as compared to total health expenditure? So you will see from 2014 till 2019, a kind of trend is seen. So from 2014, if you look at government health expenditure as a percentage of total health expenditure, GHE is government health expenditure, GHE is total health expenditure. So as a percentage of total health expenditure, government health expenditure has been increasing. It has slightly decreased only in 2018-19. Whereas OP, out of pocket expenditure, which people are giving out of their pocket as a percentage of total health expenditure, is consistently decreasing. Consistently decreasing. So it's an important thing to the fact that OOPE in India is consistently going down from 2014 till 2018-19. So as per the latest data, we have a consistent decline in out-of-pocket expenditure in India in health sector. Now looking at the various health sector initiatives. So apart from those initiatives, these initiatives have been again presented. So like immunization, again universal immunization program, Mission Indradhanush. Indradhanush was there for vaccine preventable diseases like tetanus, pertussis, all those kinds of things, preventable diseases. Then E-Sanjeevani, which is nothing but national telemedicine system, national telemedicine system. Ayushman Bharat, we have already seen. COVID-19 vaccination program, we know that it was a huge success in case of India. The national deworming day, something which requires a kind of discussion. If you look at the other thing which the government is especially focusing on is to deworm, especially the children of age group of 0 to 19, because in this age group, India has maximum load of people infected with parasitic intestinal worm infection. Parasitic intestinal worm infection, and the kind of worm is STH, soil transmitted helminthes. Now there's a box that is given in the answer only. This is all of these things. That is something called STH, soil transmitted helminthes, and it impacts and infects the intestine of children in this age group, and because of that, they are suffering from anemia, malnutrition, stunting, which is leading to absenteeism in schools, and thereby impacting their lifelong productivity, thereby impacting quality of life. Quality of life. So because of infection, they are impacted by anemia, malnutrition, and because of that, they are not going to school or either dropping out of the school. Because of that, their lifetime long-term productivity is being impacted, and because of that, their quality of life is being impacted. So as to deal with this issue, government is conducting something called National Deworming Day, where it is providing a drug called albendazole, so as to prevent this kind of worm infection in children. So these are the various health sector initiatives we have seen. these are observation of the economic survey, and the metrics they are using, they're saying that government health expenditure as a percentage of total health expenditure is improving because government is spending on all these kinds of measures, and also the out-of-pocket expenditure as a percentage of total health expenditure is consistently decreasing in India, and that is something which is very positive in health space. Then there's something called social protection for the needed. So what are the social sector schemes or social protection schemes are there for the vulnerable people, which are being supported by the government. So we have already seen some of them. Pradhan Mantri Vaya Bandhana Yojana, which is promoted by LIC, is a kind of pension scheme. Pradhan Mantri Jeevan Jyoti Bima Yojana, then Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana, which is an accidental insurance scheme. Accidental insurance scheme. We've already seen some of these schemes in our last chapter's discussion. Then Pradhan Mantri Street Vendor Atmanirbhar Niधि scheme, PM-Swaniಧಿ scheme, in which they observed that around 45 lakh loan applications have been sanctioned, and out of which around 39 lakh loans have been disbursed. So this is a scheme which came in to provide rupees 10,000 loans to street vendors. Street vendors. And this was a central sector scheme. But only the beneficiaries were belonging to only those states which have already published the rules and regulations under the Street Vendors Act, just Act of 2013. Because there are many states which are still not notified this act. Okay, the Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana for providing MSME loan scheme, which is further been divided into Shishu, Kishore, and Tarun, till 50,000, loan of till 50,000 rupees, till 50,000 to 5 lakhs, and then 5 lakhs to 10 lakhs. So micro small medium enterprises are being provided loan under Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana, and here they observe that more than 38.4 crore loans have been sanctioned through this scheme. So these are various kinds of social protection that have been provided by the government. Now let's look at the last subtopic within this social infrastructure. And this subtopic is interesting in the sense it discusses the quality of life in rural areas. And why they say why we are focusing more on rural areas, because as of today, 65% of the population in India is residing in rural areas. So definitely, if you have to improve the quality of life of India or people living in India, then you cannot ignore the rural areas. You have to first target the rural areas, the quality of life of people living in rural areas. And if it's data for 2021, there's a significant improvement results 2015 an arrow indicator concerning the quality of life of people living in rural area, and you'll see the kind of data they are being presenting as well. The many other initiatives like the Indian Antyodaya Yojana, National Rural Livelihood Mission, Rashtriya Gram Swaraj Abhiyan, this we have already seen. Rashtriya Gram Swaraj Abhiyan is nothing but for improving the governance of the Panchayati Raj institution in rural area. Swami scheme for land reforms and land mapping, in rural area. In rural area. These all are aiding the development and progress of rural India. Okay, now let's look at the multifaceted initiative to improve the ecosystem of the quality of life of rural people. So what kind of initiative government has taken? Let's see. This depicts as a comprehensive picture of the kind of initiative government has taken, and you can directly replicate this picture in your main answer if the question is there. Somewhere related to the kind of intervention government has taken in rural areas and improvement in the quality of life of people in rural areas. So you can directly replicate this picture there. So let's start with all the rows. Pradhan Mantri Gram Swaraj Yojana, equal school expenditure, PM-Shri, social security, Pradhan Mantri Suraksha Bima Yojana, livelihood security, energy Narega, clean cooking fuel, Pradhan Mantri Ujjwala Yojana, skill development, Deen Dayal Upadhyay Gram Kaushal Yojana, Jal Jeevan Mission and Swachh Bharat Abhiyan for sanitation, drinking water, electricity, Sauhagya scheme, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin for housing and affordable quality healthcare, Ayushman Bharat Jan Arogya Yojana. So in all these sectors, all these dimensions, government has various kind of initiatives, various kind of schemes, and you can see they have given us absolute numbers here also that how many people have benefited out of these various kinds of interventions. And these various kinds of interventions have only improved the quality of life of people in rural areas. And if you see that there are various kinds of improvements that have been witnessed, and they have given us this table, quality of rural lives, finding from the National Family Health Survey. And here also, we will witness that for most of the indicators in the National Family Health Survey 2019-21 as compared to 2016, we have seen a huge improvement. So whether you will see sex ratio birth, total fertility rate, population living household with electricity, all of them have improved. So for example, household using clean fuel for cooking, 24% to 43.2. Population living household using improved sanitation facility, 36.7 to 64.9. Then in health sector, you can see infant mortality rate have come down, means improved. Mothers who had antenatal checkup, improved. Institutional birth, improved. Green light. Children aged 12 to 23 months who receive most of the vaccination public health facility, improved. Children under 5 years who are wasted, improved. They have gone down. Underweight, gone down. Stunted, gone down. So there has been an overall comprehensive positive picture that is coming from the quality of life of rural areas because of various kind of intervention and schemes government has been implementing and running in all of these sectors. So you can see that except these three, we are getting a comprehensive overall positive picture of the rural health sector status in India. So for example, children who are anemic, or women who are anemic, and men who are anemic, they have increased as a percentage of population. Okay, so not only children and not only women are anemic in India, especially in rural India, but even men are turning anemic. Turning anemic means if you see from 2016 to 2021, there's an increase in percentage of men who are anemic. So from 25.3% to 27.4%. So this is a problem which we have to tackle head on. Now, if you see again in case of women problem, there are various kind of indicators they have used in the rural sector, in the rural India, and all of them have been showing green line. Means in all of them they have been improving our performance. So whether women who have ever used the internet, the data was not relevant, but still 24.6. It's something which we can say is very moderate number. It's not something which we should be proud of. But women having a bank of savings account, it was 48.5 to 77.4%. Then currently married women who usually participate in 3 household decisions, 83 to 87.7%. So all of them are showing invariably green light except those three of anemic, children anemic, women anemic, and men turning anemic. Okay, so this was the discussion with respect to the social infrastructure and employment. We have discussed everything. We have discussed development dimension, we have discussed employment dimension, we have discussed skill development, education sector, we have discussed health sector, we have discussed various kind of schemes that the government is taking. We have seen how we are witnessing the kind of improvement in both of these, education and health sector, which are nothing but the crucial pillars of human development. We have seen the quality of life in rural areas. We have also seen various kind of social protection scheme that the government is running for vulnerable section. So in a way, the picture that emerges is we are doing better in the social infrastructure sector. Okay, so that was the discussion with respect to social infrastructure and employment, chapter 6. Now we'll start the discussion with chapter number 7. Thank you. Hello, welcome to Biology Exam Prep IAS. Welcome back to our discussion on Economic Survey 2022-23. Let's start our discussion with chapter number 7, which is titled as Climate Change and Environment. Now, by the name of this chapter itself, you must have got the idea about the kind of topics we are going to discuss in this particular chapter. So here we are going to discuss the issue of climate change, the kind of efforts government is taking to tackle this problem of climate change. We are going to discuss the progress on those efforts. We are going to discuss some of the INDCs and also the updated INDCs. INDCs are intended nationally determined contribution that are submitted by the governments across the world who are party to the Paris Treaty, to the United Nations Convention on Climate Change. And we are also going to discuss the tree and forest of India, means how India is performing on that particular front. We are going to see the topic of hydrogen energy. Hydrogen energy. We are going to see the topic of critical minerals and how critical minerals are somewhere related to climate change. We are going to see something called LEDS, long-term low emission development strategy of India. And finally, we are going to end the discussion with the topic of sustainable finance. So this is how we are going to deal with this particular chapter of climate change and environment. So let's start the discussion. Let's look into the first slide. And the first slide itself is entitled as climate change and India. So let's first dissect this word climate change only. Now, climate change in itself, though we usually say that climate change is a problem, but climate change in itself per se say is not a problem. Climate change is something which is natural. Climate change is something which usually happens in the atmosphere. So, for example, over a period of time, Earth is getting heated up and there is increase in the temperature of the Earth. So, definitely the wind, pressure, and all those systems of the atmosphere are going to get impacted. So, there will be some kind of changes in the atmosphere. Now, as long as these changes are minor, they are natural. And that's why I'm saying that climate change itself is not a problem. So, as long as these changes are minor, they are natural and they are not a problem. But what we are seeing and witnessing over a period of time, especially after the Industrial Revolution, that the climate change is increasing in its pace and its intensity and its effects, the kind of destructive effects it has in the life of people. So, for example, you must have read something about extreme weather events. Now, extreme weather events are nothing but the same events. So, for example, droughts, floods, cyclones, forest fires. Now, these are also same kind of natural events. Means they can happen in the earth, they can happen over a period of time. But what is happening is that they're increasing, their intensity, their severity, their destructive potential, all is increasing. And the time gap with which they are happening is decreasing over a period of time. And this is all being the destructive effect of the climate change. This is nothing but the manifestation of the destructive effect of the increased pace and intensity of the climate change. So, climate change itself is not a problem, but the increasing pace and intensity of climate change is a problem. This increased pace and intensity of climate change is getting manifested in terms of extreme weather events. Now, if climate change, especially of increased pace and intensity, is a problem, then who has contributed to this problem of climate change, or who has made climate change a sinister evil? So, the answer is human beings, me and you, human beings. And that's why we say that we are living in something called Anthropocene era, where human beings have deep and broad footprints on the atmosphere, on the earth, and are contributing to the problem of climate change and thereby leading to extreme weather events. And if you look at the fundamental level, the reason is increased CO2 and greenhouse gas emission. Human beings, especially after Industrial Revolution, are contributing to more CO2 emission, more greenhouse gas emission, which is making the problem of climate change from a minor issue to a destructive problem and leading to these kind of extreme weather events. So, even if you look at all kinds of efforts, whether nationally or internationally, all of these efforts will somewhere boil down to contain the CO2 and GHG level, because these are somewhere being fundamental to all the issues and the destructive effects of the climate change. So, if we have to control or contain the destructive effects of climate change, we have to reduce the concentration of CO2 and greenhouse gas in the atmosphere. So, with this basically in mind, let's start a discussion. So, first point, they're saying that climate change is a global problem. Now, this is very obvious. Climate change is a global problem. Almost all the countries are contributing to the problem of climate change, and therefore, almost all the countries are facing the problem or the brunt of the climate change. And because it's a global problem contributed by all and being faced by almost all, that's why it also requires global solution. And that's why you'll see that most of the countries which are members of UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, they will in every year, in the month of November and December, they will come together under something called Conference of Party, and then they will try discussing to find out the consensus-based solution to tackle the problem of climate change, because it's a global problem. It requires a global solution, and that too based on consensus. The second point, India is one of the most vulnerable regions despite having contributed only about 4% in the cumulative global emission. So what they are saying that though India has not contributed much to this problem of climate change, they are not denying that India has not contributed to the problem of climate change. India has contributed, but as compared to the population, more than 17% of the world population, we have not contributed much. It's just 4% of total stock of global emissions from 1850 to 2019. But still, India is also vulnerable to the effects of the climate change. India therefore is taking steps to augment its non-fossil fuel based capacity. And augmenting non-fossil fuel based capacity is nothing but directly related to this fundamental issue of reducing CO2 and greenhouse gas emission. Because if non-fossil fuel based capacity is increased in a total energy mix, then definitely CO2 and GHG levels will go down, and therefore we'll be able to tackle the problem of climate change. And this can be substantiated by this particular figure. Now, here you see that there is increase in installed electricity generation capacity with a rising share of non-fossil fuel based capacity. Now, they are telling us that our total energy capacity is increasing and our non-fossil fuel based capacity is also increasing in a total energy mix. So, for example, you'll see percent of non-fossil fuel based capacity. Now, non-fossil fuel based capacity, if you see it represented by this red line, is increasing in India from 2014 to 2021, 22. Renewable energy resource, you'll see, is increasing, represented by this green one. You'll see in the total energy capacity is increasing, but within that, the non-fossil fuel based capacity is also increasing. Means the energy which is included by renewable energy resource is also increasing. So that's why they're saying India is taking steps to augment its non-fossil fuel based capacity. Now, let's look at the progress on India's climate action. Now, India's climate vision is integrally linked with goals of poverty eradication and basic well-being of all. Now, if you look at this point is very much related to our economics. Means how Indian economy is structured. If you see, more than 40% of people are involved in agriculture. And if you are able to recall sustainable development goal, so the first sustainable development goal is no poverty. Now, from India's perspective, if we have to eradicate poverty, then definitely we have to take care of these 40% of the population who are involved in agriculture, which is very less productive. So if we have to reduce the total load of poverty in India, we have to reduce the percentage of population which are involved in agriculture, and whatever amount of population is involved in agriculture, we have to increase their income. Now, but climate change, what it is doing is impacting the income of people involved in agriculture, impacting negatively, of course, negatively impacting the income of people involved in agriculture. And this is not something which I am saying, this is something which is being documented by one of the economic survey in 2019. And they said that on average, climate change is impacting and reducing the income of people involved in agriculture by 15 to 20%, and by 25% of the people who are involved in agriculture and are dependent on unirrigated land. So this is what is being documented in the economic survey. So that's why they're saying that India's climate vision or India's climate change and success of India's climate change strategy is very much related to or integrally linked with the goals of poverty eradication and basic well-being of all, because it is impacting the income of people involved in agriculture. We have the largest number of people involved in agriculture, and if we have to successfully achieve the first sustainable development goal, then we have to see this connection and improve the income of people involved in agriculture by reducing the impact of climate change on that particular sector. Then, secondly, India launched National Action Plan on Climate Change (NAPCC) with 8 missions in 2008. So, National Action Plan on Climate Change was launched in 2008, and there are 8 missions within that. Missions ranging from solar mission, water mission, for energy efficiency, for knowledge on climate change. So, many missions are there, and you can see these missions here. So, 8 missions are there: solar mission for energy efficiency, for sustainable habitat, for example, increasing efficiency of buildings. So, these kind of steps will be there: efficiency of buildings, new buildings which are being constructed, efficiency, mainly energy efficiency, energy efficiency. National Mission for Green India mission to increase forest cover, National Water Mission to increase water use efficiency, to recycle the water, especially grey water management, National Mission on strategic knowledge for climate change, so as to make centers which are able to research on this problem of climate change, National Mission for sustaining Himalayan ecosystem, to deal with the problem of climate change and the kind of issues it is posing to the Himalayan ecosystem, which is quite fragile. Then National Mission for sustainable agriculture, so as to increase sustainability in agriculture by taking steps like organic farming, natural farming, or integrated farming, a kind of thing we read in newspaper daily like ZBNF, zero budget natural farming. So all of these are somewhere boiling down to this mission only, National Mission on Sustainable Agriculture, and here they have given us the progress which we are achieving in terms of these missions. Okay, now let's look at the next point. In 2016, National Adaptation Fund for Climate Change was launched. This was another step that was taken by the government. And National Adaptation Fund for Climate Change is nothing but a central sector scheme, where central government is supporting state government for climate state government and its projects for adaptation of climate change. India became an active party to the Paris Treaty in 2015. This is another kind of step government took, that we became an active party to the Paris Treaty in 2015. We submitted the kind of measures we will be taking to tackle the problem of climate change at national level, and these measures are called INDCs, intended nationally determined contribution. And if you look at the kind of measures that we have taken, or that we at least committed to take, were mainly three. First, based on emission intensity. Secondly, based on forest cover, so as to reduce or sequester, absorb carbon from atmosphere, because if you are able to increase forest cover, we will be able to absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And third one was with respect to our energy mix. So in 2015, we submitted our INDC, intended nationally determined contribution. They are called intended nationally determined contribution. Means this is what the governments are intending, that they will take these kind of steps to contribute to reduce the problem of climate change. That's why INDC, kind of difficult name, intended nationally determined contribution. Later on, they changed it to INDCs, RCs. So intended nationally determined contribution with respect to the respective capabilities of that particular country. Okay, so they in a way provided flexibility to the countries by making it contingent on the respective capabilities of that particular country. So right now they are called INDCs, RCs, intended nationally determined contribution, respective capabilities. So these are the three kinds of steps government has submitted that they will be taking to tackle the problem of climate change at the national level. One is with respect to emission intensity, and government in 2050 said that it will reduce our emission intensity by 33 to 35% by 2030 as compared to the 2005 level. So whatever emission intensity was there of our GDP in 2005, we'll reduce it by 33 to 35% by 2030. Now what is emission intensity? Emission intensity is nothing but the greenhouse gas emissions, total greenhouse gas emission as a country, whatever you are emitting divided by your GDP. That is the emission intensity of GDP. So this government has promised in 2015 that it will reduce by 33 to 35%. Then forest cover, government has said at that particular point in time that 2.5 to 3 billion tons of carbon dioxide will be sequestered or absorbed by increasing the forest cover. Third, they give commitment with respect to the energy mix. So the commitment with respect to the energy mix was that we will increase our renewable energy capacity, install renewable energy capacity to 40% in our total energy mix. So out of the total energy capacity we have, we will make our renewable energy capacity as 40% of total by 2030. So these were the three INDCs that were submitted under Paris Treaty in 2015 by the government of India. And similarly, many other countries have submitted to all those parties which are under the United Nations Framework on Climate Change, UNFCCC. All of them have submitted their commitment, INDCs, RCs or INDCs, whatever you can call them. So India has been taking steps with respect to the climate change, and this is telling us about the progress of those steps. So National Action Plan on Climate Change, National Adaptation Fund on Climate Change, India began an active treaty to the Paris Treaty in 2015. And in fact, if you see, this National Action Plan on Climate Change was way before Paris Treaty in 2015, and we started taking integrated steps to tackle the problem of climate change, the problem posed by the climate change from 2008 itself. Now, let's look into the other progress on India's climate action. In COP26, Glasgow, India visited Panchamit and submitted its updated nationally determined contribution. Now, we submitted three INDCs that we have seen in 2015. Later on, in COP26 Glasgow, we submitted two more and enhanced these three. So I told you that INDCs, one was with respect to emission intensity, another was with respect to that we will increase the forest cover 5 to 3 nationally, that they will take these kind of absorb based on forest cover so as to reduce or sequester, absorb carbon from atmosphere, because if you are able to increase forest cover, we will be able to absorb carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. And third one was with respect to our energy mix. So in 2015, we submitted our INDC, intended nationally determined contribution. They are called intended nationally determined contribution. Means this is what the governments are intending, that they will take these kind of steps to contribute to reduce the problem of climate change. That's why INDC, kind of difficult name, intended nationally determined contribution. Later on, they changed it to INDCs, RCs. So intended nationally determined contribution with respect to the respective capabilities of that particular country. Okay, so they in a way provided flexibility to the countries by making it contingent on the respective capabilities of that particular country. So right now they are called INDCs, RCs, intended nationally determined contribution, respective capabilities. So these are three kinds of steps government has submitted that they will be taking to tackle the problem of climate change at the national level. One is with respect to emission intensity, and government in 2050 said that we will reduce our emission intensity by 33 to 35% by 2030 as compared to the 2005 level. So whatever emission intensity was there of our GDP in 2005, we'll reduce it by 33 to 35% by 2030. Now what is emission intensity? Emission intensity is nothing but the greenhouse gas emissions, total greenhouse gas emission as a country, whatever you are emitting divided by your GDP. That is the emission intensity of GDP. So this government has promised in 2015 that we will reduce by 33 to 35%. Then forest cover, government has said at that particular point in time that 2.5 to 3 billion tons of carbon dioxide will be sequestered or absorbed by increasing the forest cover. Third, they give commitment with respect to the energy mix. So the commitment with respect to the energy mix was that we will increase our renewable energy capacity, install renewable energy capacity to 40% in our total energy mix. So out of the total energy capacity we have, we will make our renewable energy capacity as 40% of total by 2030. So these were the three INDCs that were submitted under Paris Treaty in 2015 by the government of India. And similarly, many other countries have submitted to all those parties which are under the United Nations Framework on Climate Change, UNFCCC. All of them have submitted their commitment, INDCs, RCs or INDCs, whatever you can call them. So India has been taking steps with respect to the climate change, and this is telling us about the progress of those steps. So National Action Plan on Climate Change, National Adaptation Fund on Climate Change, India began an active treaty to the Paris Treaty in 2015. And in fact, if you see, this National Action Plan on Climate Change was way before Paris Treaty in 2015. And we started taking integrated steps to tackle the problem of climate change, the problem posed by the climate change from 2008 itself. Now, let's look into the other progress on India's climate action. In COP26 Glasgow, India visited Panchamit and submitted its updated nationally determined contribution. Now, we submitted three INDCs that we have seen in 2015. Later on, in COP26 Glasgow, we submitted two more and enhanced these three. So I told you that INDCs, one was with respect to emission intensity, another was with respect to the forest cover, so as to reduce carbon dioxide, and third one was with respect to the energy mix. Now in emission intensity, we said that we will reduce our emission intensity of GDP by 33 to 35% by 2030 as compared to 2005 level. Now in updated version, we are saying we will reduce our emission intensity of GDP by 45%. Our base year will be same, 2005. In our target year will be same, 2030. And that's why we are saying it is much more ambitious. So from 33 to 35%, now we are increasing to 45%. We will reduce our emission intensity of GDP by 45% in the same base year and the same target year. Second is forest cover. So now we are saying that target of 2.5 to 3 billion tons of carbon dioxide, which we were supposed to absorb, we are already done with that. So now we are increasing our target by more than 1 billion. More than 1 billion. So 1 billion more carbon dioxide equivalent. We write it like the CO2 carbon dioxide equivalent. So we will absorb 1 billion more carbon dioxide equivalent within the same time frame of 2030. The energy mix, we were saying that 40% will come from renewable energy out of our total installed capacity. Now in the advanced version, the updated version, we are saying it will be 50% within the same time frame, within 2030. That's why we are saying updated INDCs are much more ambitious. And on top of all that, we are saying I'm giving a particular target, 500 gigawatt for renewable energy. 500 gigawatt for renewable energy by 2030. by 2070. That means our net emission in the atmosphere will be 0 by 2070, by the year 2070. So these three were updated in advance. This was added, and on top of all, we added this one also. So that's why we are saying there are 5 components of the updated INDC, and these 5 components are called Panchamrit, means 5 nectars. 5 nectars. Now, what is the concept of net zero? Net zero means if suppose a country A is adding 1 billion carbon dioxide equivalent CO2e in the atmosphere, but it has made some arrangements, suppose like this one, that it is also adding forest cover, and thereby is able to absorb this 1 billion carbon dioxide equivalent. Then on net basis, it is not adding any carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. So it becomes net zero. That's what the government is promising, that whatever kind of emission will be there out of all our economic activities, industries, we will be able to absorb all of them by 2070. Now, looking to some of the quantifiable NDC, updated NDC. So we are saying to reduce the emission intensity of GDP by 45% from 2030 from 2005 level, updated INDCs. We are saying to achieve 50% cumulative installed electricity capacity from non-fossil fuel-based energy sources by 2030. We are saying from 40% to 50%. India will reduce the total projected carbon emission by 1 billion ton from now onwards till 2030. So we have taken an additional burden of 1 billion ton on ourselves. Now, after looking into these INDCs and updated INDCs, let's look at the status of forest and tree cover in India. Now, with respect to the status of forest and tree cover, we are saying it has shown a gradual and steady increase in the last 15 years. Means forest and tree covers has been growing in the last 15 years. India ranks third globally with respect to the net gain in average annual forest area between 2010 and 2020 is quite clear. Means self-explanatory, does not require any kind of explanation. As per the India State Forest Report (ISFR), which is actually a report which is coming biannually, means releasing every 2 years, carbon stock of forest increased from 2017 to 2019, from 2017 report to 2019, and from 2019 report to 2022, and that's why we are increasing our commitment, and that's why we are increasing our commitments by 1 billion ton, 1 billion ton under updated INDC. The mangrove cover has also increased in India in the last 2 surveys, and mangrove, we know that they are shield from cyclones and kind of impact we can have which are ocean based. So increasing mangrove cover is not only good for forest, is not only good for overall environment, but also they are good for managing disasters. Now, other things they are saying, these gains, is whatever the kind of gains, whatever the kind of consistent increase in forest and tree cover we are getting, are due to the robust framework and policies of the government. And what are those kind of policies? First, green initiative, which is nothing but the part of National Plan of Climate Change initiative in 2008. So that's to increase forest cover. Now, the second one is compensatory afforestation fund management and planning authority, that is CAMPA. Now, within that, there is a concept called compensatory afforestation. Now, the concept of compensatory afforestation is that there is something called Forest Conservation Act, Conservation Act 1980 in India. And as per one of the provisions of the Forest Conservation Act 1980, if you convert any forest area for non-forest use, then the agency or the entity which is converting the forest area for non-forest use will have to compensate an amount of money, and that amount of money will be equal to the amount of money that is required to afforest the equal amount of land that is converted from forest to non-forest area. So whatever the amount of money that will be spent for afforestation of equal amount of land, that much amount of money you will have to pay, and that money will go into something called compensatory afforestation fund, CAF. And to manage this compensatory afforestation fund, we have CAMPA, Compensatory Afforestation Fund Management Planning Authority, under Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change. And initially we were running this as an ad hoc body. Later on we converted it to an act in 2016. And this body, in its very constitution, it has been written that 90% of money that will be coming to this body will be going to the states for afforestation purposes. And that's why it has the major influence and major impact on greening our country, because it's a huge amount of money that is going to the state to promote forest and tree cover for greening of our country. Then there is something called National Afforestation Program. There is something called Green Highway Policy, under which we are going for tree cover of various types like ornamental trees around national highway or along the sidelines of the national highways. And for that, what the government has said within this Green Highway Policy, that 1% of the total project cost of constructing that particular national highway, whatever the stretch will be, so 1% of the total project cost of the national highway will be going for increasing tree covers in and around the national highway or along the sidelines of the national highway. There is something called National Agroforestry Policy, which integrates agricultural land with forestry, that is by increasing tree covers in and around the agricultural land. That is a major emphasis within the National Agroforestry Policy. And these all efforts, Green Emission, CAMPA, National Afforestation Program, Green Highway Policy, National Agroforestry Policy, these all have resulted in the improvement in the situation of forest and tree cover in India. Now let's look into the transition to renewable energy sources. Now the same kind of figure which I have used in our first slide, because this is telling us about how we are transitioning to renewable energy sources, renewable energy in our energy mix. In our energy mix means tells us nothing but what the amount of energy is coming from the various sources. For example, thermal source, renewable energy source, nuclear, large hydro. So when we arrange them in suppose in percentage term, that how much amount of energy is coming from these sources, we call that energy mix. Means it tells us about the proportion of energy that is coming from the various energy sources. So in our energy mix, we are increasing our non-fossil fuel based capacity, and that is helping us to transition to renewable energy resources. So our transition to renewable energy sources is very much in line with India's updated NDC, because we have said that 500 gigawatt we will add by 2030 in renewable energy space, and we are also saying that 50% of our total installed capacity by 2030 will be from renewable energy sources. Now during the 2014 to 2020 period, total investment in renewables is to $78 billion in India, and that is a huge amount. And this is an investment which is going for renewable energy. The potential capacity of electricity generation 800 gigawatt by 2030, of which we are saying 500 gigawatt will be non-fossil fuel based. And within that we are saying that more than 60% of total 500 gigawatt, more than 60% will come from solar sources or will be solar energy. Now within that, so if 500 gigawatt we are saying out of 500 gigawatt 60% or more than 60% will come from solar energy, then the next big bet we are making on is hydrogen. And for that, government has said and approved the National Green Hydrogen Mission in January 2023 so as to promote the hydrogen economy and hydrogen sector and hydrogen based energy in India. The mission will facilitate demand creation, production, utilization and export of green hydrogen. Now we say that government is promoting the hydrogen energy in India, but let's first also look into the concept of hydrogen. Now if you look at the hydrogen, hydrogen is an element which is one of the most abundant in the earth, but because it is also the lightest one, so it rises up in the atmosphere. So we know that hydrogen can be used as a very efficient energy resource, but because it rises in the atmosphere, so capturing hydrogen in pure form is very difficult. So to use it is much more difficult, and moreover hydrogen is very inflammable also. So whenever we are planning to use it, we have to be very much careful of the safety concern, because it is highly inflammable. If you know that hydrogen is an efficient fuel, hydrogen can be used as an energy source. So let's also discuss the kind of hydrogen that are available. So there are mainly 3 kinds: grey hydrogen, blue hydrogen, and green hydrogen. Now to understand the concept of grey hydrogen, blue hydrogen, and green hydrogen, we have to understand one more thing, and that is related to how hydrogen can be produced or extracted. Now in normal atmosphere, hydrogen we know is in hydrocarbons. So we can extract hydrogen from hydrocarbons like fossil fuels, like petrol or diesel. They are nothing but hydrocarbons, because they are nothing but long chain of hydrocarbons. Chemically, if you see, there is a very long chain of hydrocarbons. So if you split and extract hydrogen by some kind of chemical process, then we will be able to extract hydrogen and then use it. Secondly, we can also extract hydrogen from water. Now we know water chemically is H2O, means it has a combination of hydrogen and oxygen. So if we are able to devise a kind of process which is able to split this molecule of H2O, which is able to split hydrogen and oxygen separately, then we'll be able to use hydrogen, because in the atmosphere we will not be able to get hydrogen, because hydrogen, as I said, is the lightest element. It will rise up in the atmosphere. So where we can get hydrogen from? Either from hydrocarbons or from water, because they are two most important repositories of hydrogen. Either from hydrocarbon we are able to extract it through some kind of chemical process, or through water we are able to extract it through some kind of chemical process. Now when we extract hydrogen from hydrocarbon, then we say it is either grey hydrogen or blue hydrogen, depending on the kind of byproduct. So for example, if you are extracting hydrogen from hydrocarbon, hydrocarbon is nothing but hydrogen plus carbon. So hydrogen we are using, so some byproduct will be nothing other than carbon. So if we are using hydrocarbon to extract hydrogen, and carbon dioxide is released as a byproduct, or carbon is released as a byproduct, we say it is grey hydrogen. If we are using hydrocarbon to extract, and whatever carbon dioxide is being released as a byproduct, or carbon being released as a byproduct, we are able to someday store that. We say it is blue hydrogen. So carbon dioxide is released, we are able to store it somewhere through some kind of methodology. We are able to store it, then it will be blue hydrogen. So grey hydrogen, if you say all kind of hydrogens, grey hydrogen is the worst kind. Blue hydrogen better than grey hydrogen, because the CO2 that is being released, we are able to store it. Then the third kind of hydrogen is green hydrogen. Now in green hydrogen, what we do is we split the water molecule. We are not using hydrocarbons here to extract hydrogen. We are splitting the water molecules, and water molecule we are splitting in hydrogen and oxygen. So the only byproduct will be oxygen, and we'll be able to use hydrogen as a fuel. But using hydrogen as a fuel is not that easy proposition, because hydrogen, as I told you, is flammable, highly inflammable. So we have to be very careful of the safety concern. Apart from that, the device that will be used in splitting the water molecule into hydrogen and oxygen is very costly, and that device is called electrolyzer. Electrolyzer will be used to split H2O, that is water molecule. H2O is nothing but a chemical name of water. So it shows us the water molecule H2O, H2 plus O2. Okay, so to split the water molecule into hydrogen and oxygen, we'll use electrolyzer. Electrolyzers are very costly, so that is one of the constraints in using this kind of methods to produce green hydrogen. And green hydrogen is the purest form of hydrogen. And one of the reasons for the green hydrogen, for the purest form of hydrogen, not only because it is releasing only oxygen as a byproduct, non-greenhouse gas, and also non-carbon dioxide, but because whenever you are using the electricity to run this electrolyzer, we are using green energy here, or the energy which is coming from green sources. So for example, the electricity which we'll be using to run this device of electrolyzer, when we are producing green hydrogen, that will be either solar or wind energy or other kind of renewable energy or green energy. That's why it's the purest form of hydrogen and also the purest form of energy, because it is using green energy as an input and also releasing only oxygen, which has no positive impact on the atmosphere or environment. So firstly, I have told you, electrolyzer, that is the device that will be used for splitting the water molecule into hydrogen and oxygen. That is costly. Secondly, hydrogen is corrosive also. So the container in which it will be stored may over time may become or may be corroded. Then it's not like that you have stored hydrogen by splitting water molecule into hydrogen and oxygen, and you have stored hydrogen in some container, then you can directly use it. You will need some kind of fuel cells to convert that stored hydrogen into usable hydrogen, so that it can be used in energy. You need some kind of fuel cells. The technology again is costly, and then there will be some kind of infrastructure challenge. General infrastructure challenge with respect to the hydrogen economy or hydrogen energy. So this is a challenge of electrolyzer, this is a challenge of being corrosive, there is a challenge of fuel cells, there is a challenge of infrastructure. So hydrogen, especially green hydrogen, is a good fuel, is the purest form of fuel, because here we are not generating any kind of byproduct which is polluting to the atmosphere, but they are the kind of challenges. And what the government is doing through National Hydrogen Energy Mission and through the National Hydrogen Energy Policy is tackling these kind of challenges. So you'll see the salient feature of National Hydrogen Energy Mission, the likely outcome we will see, intervention and the policy framework. So see it one by one. Government is targeting green hydrogen production capacity of at least 5 million metric ton. Earlier it was just 1 million metric ton. In National Green Hydrogen Energy Mission, we have increased it to 5 times. Cumulative reduction in fossil fuel imports of over 1 lakh crore will be achieved, and creation of over 1.6 lakh jobs will be there, because we are targeting something called hydrogen economy. We are planning to give hydrogen a major share in our economy. Renewable energy capacity addition of about 125 gigawatt, and this will help in the abatement of nearly 50 million metric ton of annual greenhouse gas emission. Now let's look into the intervention. So government is intervening by providing financial incentive. It is targeting domestic manufacturing of electrolyzer. We have seen electrolyzer are a major and a crucial input in the production of green hydrogen, and regions capable of supporting large scale production and utilization of hydrogen will be developed as green hydrogen hub. In fact, government is also planning to export green hydrogen. So we will be, as a country, will be acting as a hub of green hydrogen. So policy framework is development of an enabling policy framework to support establishment of green hydrogen ecosystem that will be supported by the government. Standard and regulations will be set up, public-private partnership will be promoted, and skill development program will be initiated in this hydrogen economy. So that is how government is trying to promote hydrogen economy or the sector of green hydrogen. Now let's look into critical minerals. The critical minerals, they are saying, are key to green transition. Now let's first look into the concept of critical minerals. So by the name itself, you can say that these are the minerals which are critical. But critical to what? Critical to national interest. National interest. So if they are critical to national interest, and we have multiple nations in the world, so definitely different nations will have different national interests, and different nations therefore will have different lists of critical minerals. So that is true. Different nations have different lists of critical minerals depending on what national interest they have. But there are some national interests, especially in this day and age, which are common across the nation, especially large nations, which are the nation of substance. And these are defense interest, aerospace industry, semiconductor industry. Now these industry or these interests are critical to almost all the nations of substance. Then we have mobile phones, electric vehicle, especially with respect to India, and the kind of efforts we are putting in greening our vehicle system by promoting electric vehicle. So these are some of the list of critical industry, and these industry use minerals like cobalt, lithium, nickel, etc., which are critical to this industry and therefore critical to national interest, and thereby defined as critical minerals. So many minerals, including these, are a set of critical minerals. And what is happening is that generally these minerals are being produced or processed by few countries, and not only produced and processed by few countries. Now generally what is happening is that these kind of minerals, which are a set of critical minerals, are found, explored, and processed in few countries. Therefore, the concentration is very high to few countries. And not only that, the supply chain is much more concentrated. And the problem with the supply chain is that they are heavily concentrated towards China. So China has critical role in these critical minerals because it is sitting at the center of the supply chain of these critical minerals, and that is the major problem being faced across the world by Western countries and also by India. So let's look into the slide. Let's look into the points that I've mentioned here. So critical minerals are helpful for shift to clean energy. Minerals like cobalt, copper, lithium, nickel, and other rare earth elements. So there are 17 rare earth elements which are mentioned in the periodic table. Again, some chemistry is coming up. So which are mentioned in the periodic table, there are 17 of them, and these are critical for producing EVs, batteries, and harnessing solar and wind power. So whether it's solar panel or in the production of wind power or in the production of batteries. So for example, we have cobalt nickel battery or lithium ion battery. All of them use these kind of critical minerals only. Then electric vehicles, photovoltaic farms, wind plants, all of them require these critical minerals, and that's why they are very critical or important to these sectors. But the problem is that the supply chain of these minerals is highly concentrated and unevenly distributed, posing a high risk, and that risk is coming from China. In fact, if you would have read the news that there was something called Mineral Security Partnership that is being pioneered by US and many other countries like Canada, Sweden, Finland, South Korea, Australia, UK, France, Germany, all of these, and European Commission, all of them are the members of this Mineral Security Partnership. And what they are trying is to protect their interest in these critical minerals by ensuring the protection of supply chain of critical minerals. But the point to be noted here is that they are not considering India important to become part of Mineral Security Partnership, and that's why India was a bit kind of angry from these nations that they have not given space to India in this Mineral Security Partnership. Because in critical minerals, even India is very much interested, and when they are like-minded countries, then definitely they should have given space and share to India also in this particular Mineral Security Partnership. Now, Indian government has launched Khanij Videsh India Limited. Now, this is a PSU that has been launched by government, and in fact, 3 PSUs are promoting this particular PSU, Khanij Videsh India Limited, and these PSUs are Hindustan Copper Limited (SCL), National Aluminium Company Limited (NALCO), and Mineral Energy Company Limited. So all these 3 PSUs of the government of India have promoted this Khanij Videsh India Limited, and this will be acting in international stage, ensuring mineral security and helping us in getting self-reliance in critical and strategic minerals by bidding in various countries on the resources, on these critical mineral resources or mines. So just like China has these kind of international PSUs which bid in various countries with respect to these critical minerals, Indian government has also promoted this Khanij Videsh India Limited. Government of India recently has signed an MOU with Australia for cooperation in the field of mining and processing of critical strategic minerals, and that is being mentioned in the economic survey. So we have seen that how critical minerals are critical to the nation's interests. What are the critical minerals? What government is doing to ensure a self-reliance on critical minerals by promoting these kind of Khanij Videsh India Limited. Now, how critical minerals are related to environment or climate change? Because Indian government is promoting something called electric vehicle. Electric vehicle will need batteries. Batteries will be either nickel, cobalt, or lithium ion, and all of them will be contingent on the availability of these critical minerals, and we are dependent on these critical minerals from our imports. So what we are doing right now is revolutionizing our EV sector by being dependent on imports of batteries because we don't have these critical minerals to develop our batteries. So in a way, we are importing batteries from China, and that's how these critical minerals are not only important from strategic concerns, because if we have access to these critical minerals, we'll be able to reduce our dependence on China, but are also important for environmental issues or climate change issues, because if you are able to get hold on these critical minerals, we'll be able to indigenously produce batteries, and we'll be able to revolutionize our EV sector at a cheaper cost. Okay, so that's how these critical minerals are connected to environmental issues and climate change, because EV are doing nothing but reducing CO2 and GHG emission, and thereby containing the climate change and the means of climate change. Now, let's look into the long-term low emission development strategy. Now, what is this long-term low emission development strategy? What is the concept here? The concept is simple. That is something called INDCs, and then updated INDCs. Now, what United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change is asking countries that it is fine that you have submitted INDCs and updated INDCs, but these are something which are addressing the short-term issues. Means for short-term till 2030, you are saying you will be doing these things. But what is your long-term strategy to tackle climate change? So, what is the strategy to become net zero? So, for example, they're saying that we are going to become net zero by 2070. Some countries are saying they are going to become net zero by 2050. So, they are saying submit your strategy to achieve this net zero. So, this is what is being done by the countries across the world, and this is what is being submitted by India also, and this is what is called long-term low emission development strategy, which will be helping us to become net zero by 2070, because we have a net zero target of 2030. So, India submitted long-term low emission development strategy in COP27, Sharm el-Sheikh in November 2022, last year in November 2022 in Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. This COP27 was conducted. So, same feature of LDLES, that is long-term low emission development strategy, is nothing but a strategy to become net zero by 2070. Focus on rational utilization of natural resources. So, we'll go for rational utilization of natural resources, and by that we'll be ensuring our energy security. We'll go for national hydrogen policy. So, hydrogen is given an important and critical role within LDLES. Then increase use of biofuels. Biofuels, especially ethanol, blending in petrol, is also given a critical role to attain net zero by 2070 or in our LDLES strategy. Then climate resilient urban development. Urban planning will begin properly to reduce greenhouse gas emission by smart city initiative, better planning, better building codes, solid and liquid waste management. For example, Swachh Bharat Abhiyan. This will also reduce greenhouse gas emission. Then Atmanirbhar Bharat Making India Industrial Sector will also help us in reducing our GHG or CO2 emission, and thereby make us net zero by 2070. So, strategy to become net zero by 2070 is practically what is called long-term low emission development strategy. Now, let's look at the last topic, that is the topic of sustainable development financing. Now, sustainable development financing can be understood by first understanding the meaning of word of sustainable development. Now, we know what is sustainable development. Sustainable development is nothing but ensuring the need of present generation without compromising the need of future generation. And one way of doing that is that being environmentally clean. That is, we should reduce our footprint or negative impact on the environment and atmosphere. If you are able to do that, then that can be one of the way for ensuring sustainable development, for not compromising the need of the future generation. So, any kind of financing which is going for sustainable development, we can say that can be sustainable development financing. Various kind of measures have been taken for sustainable development financing. One is sovereign green bond, which was announced in the budget 2023, and there's something called bond, which is nothing but debt security. Green bond is bond which is being issued exclusively for promoting investment in the green sector, like solar and wind energy. So, green bonds were already there. Means firstly, these were released by World Bank. Later on, many private sector parties have also released green bond for various green projects. But when they are released by the sovereign, by the government, they are called sovereign green bond. So, there's something called bond, there's something called green bond, and then there's something called sovereign green bond. Means those kind of green bonds which are released by the government. And government said in 2023 budget that we will be releasing sovereign green bond. And we know when the government said that we will be releasing sovereign green bond on behalf of government, it will be done by RBI, and that was then recently by the RBI. They released the first tranche of sovereign green bond. Then there's something called National Greening of Financial System by RBI. So RBI joined this network of National Greening of Financial System. This is nothing but a network of central bank governors, and many financial supervisors in various countries, so as to promote green financing. So what they are doing is that they are sharing their knowledge and best practices in various countries, and in a way promoting green financing. So RBI has also joined this network, NGFS, National Greening of Financial System. The SEBI introduced the regulatory framework for issuance of green debt security as a mode of sustainable finance. That was another step that was taken for sustainable development financing. And then BRSR, that is Business Responsibility and Sustainability Report. Earlier it was BRR, Business Responsibility Report. So this business responsibility responsibility and sustainability report has now been made mandatory for the top 1,000 listed entities by market capitalization from 2022-23 by SEBI. So SEBI, which is the capital market regulator in India, has mandated that all the companies which are the top companies, top 1,000 companies, by their market capitalization, will have to mandatorily release business responsibility sustainability report. So now they are not only responsible for financial compliance, means what they are doing in their companies, which is somewhere related to finances. They are not only responsible for the financial compliance, but they are also responsible for sustainability of their activities, economic or non-economic activities. In essence, what this business responsibility and sustainability report does, it asks and now mandatorily asks these companies to report on all the kinds of environmental, social, and governance impact of their activities. That is, it is asking them to report on ESG, that is environmental, social, and governance aspect of their activities. Okay. So when we want National Renewable Financial System by RBI, then SEBI introduced a regulatory framework for green tech securities, and then business responsibility and sustainability report by SEBI only. So these are the kind of measures that have been mentioned for sustainable development financing within the economic survey of the year 2022-23. So this was the discussion with respect to the climate change and environment from the economic survey, chapter number 7. So we are in the chapter number 7. Now we'll start with chapter number 8. Thank you. Hello, welcome to Byju's Exam Prep IAS. Welcome back to our discussion on Economic Survey 2022-23. Let's start our discussion with chapter number 8, which is titled as Agriculture and Food Management. Now, before starting our discussion with respect to agriculture and food management, let's get a broad contour, means how we are going to proceed with our discussion. First, we'll be discussing some basics about agriculture. We'll be looking at the interlinkages within the agriculture sector. Then we'll be discussing some kind of interventions within the agriculture sector that have been done by the government through various kind of schemes. We'll discuss the issue of cooperatives. We'll discuss the issue of millets. We'll discuss the issue of allied sectors and the kind of intervention government is making within those allied sectors. We'll also discuss the issue of food security. And the issue of food security is important, especially in the current context or the recent context, because the recent context was somewhere of COVID pandemic. So economies were affected by the COVID pandemic, people were affected by COVID pandemic, and people food security was at danger due to COVID pandemic. And what kind of intervention government has made to ensure that food security that we are going to discuss within this particular chapter. So let's start a discussion. By first looking at the basic, let's get a helicopter framework of how to study agriculture. In fact, if you look at the next chapter, that will be of industry, and then we'll be discussing services. So agriculture, industry, and services, we'll be discussing chapter number 8 agriculture, chapter number 9 industry, and chapter number 10 service sector. So they have aligned them one by one. If you look at the economy of any country, any of India, broadly we can say it can be categorized into these chapters only, means agriculture, industry, and services. And the kind of transformation or the transition that happened in any economy means on the basis of empirical evidence of the development, it has been found that people firstly are mainly agriculture sector, then they start shifting to industry, and then finally they start shifting to service sector. But what is happening in this India is that people in India are directly shifting from agriculture to services. At least from the kind of value that is generated from service sector, we can make this kind of conclusion. But if you look at in agriculture sector, still more than 40% of people are involved. So from livelihood perspective, from the kind of dependence people have in agriculture sector is very important because more than 40%, in fact around 45% of people are involved in agriculture sector. But from the value perspective, from the perspective of the kind of money that is generated in this particular sector, where more than 40% of people are involved. So just around 20% of the GDP is generated in agriculture sector. So just around 20% of the GDP is shared by 40% of the population of this country. So from that perspective, we can say that agriculture is something which is not performing very well. Because 40% of the people are involved and they are sharing just 20% of the GDP of the country. And stark contrast, we can see in the service sector, a very handful of people are involved. Handful in the sense of percentage of population. And it is generating more than 50% of GDP of the country. So this is the situation of agriculture sector in India, that from the basic, we get a picture that agriculture is not performing very well. Now, hold on to this and let's first discuss the kind of agriculture activity. So for example, if any person is planning to go into any kind of agriculture activity, so for example, if you or me, we are deciding that let's raise a crop, that is the basic agriculture activity, so let's raise a crop. So we need various kind of inputs. We need various kind of inputs for that, and these inputs we can just start, just look into the life cycle of that project which we are planning to raise a crop. So for example, we'll need firstly land. We'll need land, then only we'll raise a crop. Then we'll also look into the soil, because soil quality is very important. Second input can be soil. We'll need some kind of seeds. Then we'll need some kind of fertilizers. We will need pesticides. We will need irrigation facilities. All these kinds of inputs will be required if you have to raise crop. Then we will need farm labor. And on top of all, we will need credit, or you can say finance, or you can say money. That is very crucial. So we need some sort of these inputs if you have to decide about raising a crop, or if you have to raise a crop. So we need land, soil, seeds, fertilizer, pesticide, irrigation facility, farm labor. Even we need machinery, farm machinery, you can say farm machinery. And on top of that, all we need credit or finance or money. Because if you have this thing, we can easily access all of these inputs. Okay. Now these are all pre-harvest inputs. Now then, once you have harvested a crop, we need another set of inputs. Once you have harvested a crop, we need another set of inputs which are related to storage capacity. Either at individual level, for example, we have taken an example of individual, or at country level, storage capacity or warehousing facility, we can say. Then we need transportation facility to transport our crop from the farmland to the market or to the mandi. Then we need marketing support or marketing facilities. These kinds of facilities are post-harvest input. So inputs in general means I'm not saying in any way they are comprehensive. There can be many inputs also. But in general, to just get a broad idea of the kind of input, we can say these are pre-harvest input, post-harvest input, and these are the example of pre-harvest inputs, and these are the example of post-harvest inputs. So these kinds of inputs will be required for any general agriculture activity. Now, if you look at any kind of intervention which we'll be discussing in this chapter of economic survey, or which has been discussed in our main module of economics within the agriculture sector, so you'll see that all the kind of intervention are somewhere connected to these inputs only. Either government is going for reducing the cost of these inputs for farmers, or they are going for increasing incomes of farmers, increasing income for farmers or of farmers by subsidizing these inputs. Or sometimes government is also directly transferring money to the bank account of farmers. Or sometimes government is giving price support to farmers, so to increase their income, so to increase income of farmers. And all of these government is doing means government is either reducing the cost of these inputs, or government in one way or another, either by giving directly money to them or by supporting them in terms of prices of their output, is trying to double their farm income. So doubling farming income, that is the main purpose of government in doing all of this, in going for all kinds of intervention, whether from input side or from the output side, by giving them some kind of price support or by directly transferring money into the bank account. So government is having a strategy of doubling farming income. That's why government is doing all those sorts of things. So if you look at from input side, whenever government is going for reducing the price of input or the cost of input for the farmers, so they will be intervening in these other sectors. Then we are seeing not only from the input side government is reducing cost, but also giving them the direct benefit. So for example, PM Kisan. So some of the small and marginal farmers who are eligible, they will get 6,000 rupees per year in 3 installments under PM Kisan. So government is doing these things so as to augment their income, so that they can again go and buy these inputs from the market, especially this kind of pre-harvest inputs from the market, and carry on their activities, especially agriculture activities. Now all of these government is doing because government know that this is a situation that is prevailing in India. Firstly, people are not going from agriculture to industry, and when they are stuck in agriculture, then more than the required number of people are stuck in that. So for example, more than 40% of the population of the country is stuck in the agriculture sector, and that's why average income of the farmer is very low, because just 20% is shared by 40% of the population of agriculture. So people are going for agriculture sector is not something which is bad, but there are too many people that are going for agriculture. That is something which is a cause for concern in India. So we have seen the kind of situation we have. We have low income. These are the inputs that are required, and what government is going and doing is that bringing all these kinds of schemes either sectorally in these inputs or by transferring money to the farmers so as to reduce the cost of input or increase the farmers so as to have a kind of redressal to this kind of situation. One other thing government is doing is to increase the income of farmers, because government is also cognizant of the reality that this kind of transformation of people moving from agriculture to industry is not something which is going to be done overnight. So definitely, if people are involved there, we have to take some kind of measures to increase the income of the people who are already involved in agriculture. So what the government is doing is that government is bringing another kind of strategy. So for example, government is focusing more on allied sectors. So for example, pottery, dairy, fishing, these kind of sectors government is promoting so that their income can increase. So if you look at one of the reasons why the income of the farmers is not increasing is that the input side, especially pre-harvest input, the most crucial input and the biggest constraint in the farmer's income is land. Land is the biggest constraint. And I'm saying it's the biggest constraint because if you look at the land is limited in size, you cannot increase the size of land. And a huge amount of land is going for non-agricultural uses. So firstly, land is moving to non-agricultural uses. So land is reducing, land available for agriculture activities is reducing. Also, this is fragmentation of land. So you cannot have more agricultural production from the same amount, or rather reducing amount of land. So you can grow more crops in the same land, but that also has some kind of limitation. So government is promoting allied sector like poultry, dairy, and fishing, which are not that much dependent on land. They are also, for example, poultry and dairy is also something which is dependent somewhere indirectly on land, but they are not that much dependent on land. So that's why government is promoting allied sector. Apart from that, there is more scope for value addition in the allied sector. That's also one of the reasons why government is promoting allied sector. Then government is going for cooperation policy. Because we know there are many small and marginal farmers, and these small and marginal farmers can be cheated in the market, either from the input side, whenever they have to buy various kinds of inputs, or from the output side, whenever they have to sell their output, their crop output. So government is going for cooperation policy, arranging them in small groups or large groups sometimes, so that they have better bargaining power. So that is another thing government is doing. Another thing government is doing to increase the income of the farmers is going for food processing sector. Food processing sector. If you look at the food processing sector, it is very much linked to the transformation that usually happens in the economy. So people should move from agriculture to industry, but people in India are not moving that fast from agriculture to industry. So if this is agriculture, this is industry, there should be movement of people from agriculture to industry, but this is not something which is happening in India. So what has government done is that taken some of the elements of industry, have taken some of the inputs of agriculture, and created a category called food processing industry. And this food processing industry is what government is promoting. So that this is sort of industrialization, and this sort of industrialization is dependent on agriculture. So that not only industrialization is taking place, but also because of that industrialization, agriculture sector is getting benefited. Because in food processing industry, all the raw material will come from agriculture sector only. So directly and indirectly, it will increase the income of these 40% of the farmers. Okay, so food processing industry has great interlinkages, both forward and backward linkages, especially backward linkages with agriculture sector. So this is the whole picture, and these are the things only we are going to discuss within this chapter. We'll see various kind of innovation from input side, how government is providing various kind of innovation, government is providing various kind of schemes and benefits to the farmer, either direct benefits or indirect benefits. Government is promoting the right sector, government is going for cooperation policy, and government is also looking to promote food processing sector. Apart from these kind of issues, we'll discuss two other issues, which will be millet, which is getting too much of importance these days, and we'll see how and why. And second one is of food security. I've already told, because the context is pandemic. Still, economics for the last 3 years are being written with the context of pandemic. So the context of pandemic is that people's food security has suffered. So definitely we will have to have some kind of discussion on food security also within the economics survey, and that's why we'll also be discussing that. So let's start a discussion with this background in mind. Let's start a discussion. So let's go into the first slide. In agriculture, what they are saying, economic survey says that this sector, agriculture sector in India, has been growing at an average annual growth rate of 4.6% in the last 6 years. And this is quite an impressive growth rate, because if you look at it in agriculture, 4% plus growth rate is considered as respectable. Just like 8% growth rate or 8% plus for Indian economy is considered good. Similarly, 4% plus growth rate in the agriculture sector is considered as respectable. And economic survey says for the last 6 years we have been growing at an average annual growth rate of 4.6%. And various initiatives have been there to boost agriculture sector in India. They are saying like income support to farmers through PM Kisan. I've given details. What is PM Kisan? Pradhan Mantri Kisan Samman Nidhi, 6,000 rupees to identify small and marginal farmers, SMF, identify small and marginal farmers per year in 3 installments of rupees 2,000 each. That is PM Kisan scheme to augment the farmers' income so that they can buy inputs from the market and can do various other things from this increased income. Farm mechanization is something which is being promoted by the government through mission like submission of agriculture mechanization or custom hiring centers. These are also there. Custom hiring centers, nothing but apps so as to share the farm machinery. Many small and marginal farmers cannot afford farm machinery, tractors and other such things, so they will be working on sharing basis. So there are apps like custom hiring centers. Then if you look at this figure is telling us nothing but the kind of increase in agriculture production we are having. And if you see, there doesn't just with the account policies, doesn't just with the account policies and total food grains. So you can see total food grains how from 252 million tons in 2014-15 it has increased to 315 million tons in 21-22. And you can see that 252 to 51 it went down in 2015-16, and since 2015-16 it has been consistently increasing. Since 2015-16 it has been consistently increasing. Food production is right now more than 300 million tons in India. And in fact, if you look at another interesting fact is horticulture production. Horticulture production in India is more than food as of today. So horticulture production is beating food grain production in India as of today. Now, if you see, they have also given us the data regarding oilseeds, and oilseeds have no consistent trend, but still from 2015 to 2022, you can see this is a significant spike in the production of oilseeds in India. Then production of pulses, it is also not having any consistent trend. Firstly, it was more than 15 million ton, then it decreased, then again increased, then increased, then again decreased in 2019, then it decreased, then increased, and then further increased. But as compared to 2014-15, it is high. Okay, so as compared to 2014-15, pulses production has increased, oilseed production has increased, and food grain production has tremendously increased by more than 50 million ton, from 252 to 315 million ton in 21-22. So in terms of quantities, food grain production is increasing in case of India, and no doubt we are experiencing a growth rate of more than 4% for the last 6 years. Government is going for MSP to ensure returns over the cost of production. Now we know that we have a regime called MSP, minimum support price, in India. So for example, every year before the sowing season, both in Rabi and Kharif, government comes with some kind of minimum price that government will give for some kind of 20 plus identified crops. That from farmers will be buying these crops, are procuring these crops at these kind of prices, and that's kind of stability. Means it's a kind of assurance by the government to give them a stable income, and no matter what happens, they will buy the crop at that particular price only, and that price is called minimum support price. It is being determined by Commission on Agricultural Prices, which takes into account many kind of factors, both domestic and international, and then finally decided by Cabinet Committee on Economic Affairs. So CACP determined MSP, and finally decided by CCEA, and it is nothing but a price policy of the government. Means government is giving a short price to the farm, and this has acted as a critical pillar of increased agricultural production in India. So for example, 1960s, you must know that we were facing almost farm famines. We were facing famines in India. We were having food shortages. And from 1964-65 only, we started having a kind of organized regime so as to increase agricultural production in India. And from that period of food shortage, now we are in the period of food surplus. So in that period, we set a distribution like food production of India. So food production of India will go to the surplus states, and MSP will buy crops or procure crops, those identified crops, from the farmers in surplus states through various government mandis, and then they will transport them to deficient states. In these deficient states, the state government will have the responsibility to transport them to districts, villages, cities, and all those. So this is how food security system is working in India, and at the core is MSP, that is minimum support price, because farmers are now assured of the prices, minimum prices, so they will be incentivized to produce these crops, and that's how we ensure food security in the country. So MSP, government is following the policy to ensure returns over the cost of production. In fact, government is having a stated policy of giving 1.5 times the cost of production to farmers. So MSP government is saying that will get at least minimum of more than 50% of your cost of production. So this is something which the government is striving for. If you look at their minimum support prices are given for selected Kharif and Rabi crop, this kind of variability we are not going to enter, but you can get a sense of how prices are moving from 2014 to 2022-23. You can get a sense of how prices are moving in different crops like paddy, maize, tur, moong, urad, and all other kind of identified Rabi and Kharif crop. This is not something which is very important for students, but at least you can get a sense of how these things are given here. Then government is also going for agriculture infrastructure fund so as to fund long term and medium term post-harvest infrastructure. See, post-harvest infrastructure. We have discussed what are the kind of post-harvest inputs or post-harvest activities. So for example, cold chain, storage facility, transportation infrastructure. These kind of infrastructure will be funded through agriculture infrastructure fund. It's a fund of around 1 lakh crore. Then there is Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Crop may get damaged before harvesting, so we have a crop insurance scheme started by the government. So here you will have maximum premium which can be paid by farmer is fixed. So for example, for Kharif, it is 2% of the sum insured. 2% of the sum insured. Rabi, 1.5. For annual horticulture crops, it's maximum 5%, and the rest will be shared between center and states. So that's Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. In fact, there were many crop insurance schemes running even before Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, like National Agriculture Insurance Scheme or Modified National Agriculture Insurance Scheme, but they were having some kind of defects. So that's why we modified and brought something called Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. Then again, there was some kind of problems with Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana, so we have brought Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana 2.0 version also. Okay, so government is promoting agriculture insurance by subsidizing agriculture insurance. Then chemical free India, organic and natural farming schemes like Paramparagat Krishi Vikas Yojana, zero budget natural farming, integrated farming, permaculture, all these kinds of activities are being promoted by the government again to reduce resource intensiveness in farmers agriculture activity. Because if you have to increase the income of farmer, means what is income? Income is revenue, means the money farmer got by selling the crop minus cost. Okay, this is simple equation which tells us about income. Income is whatever money you got by selling your crop, that you can count as revenue, means price of the crop multiplied by quantity of the crop minus the cost you incurred. So you can increase income by either increasing revenue, that is by increasing the price, which the government is doing by increasing MSP over time, and you can see the trends here, or by reducing cost. So government is doing this kind of activity by either subsidizing various kind of inputs, or by promoting those kind of activities which are by default structurally are less costly, like chemical free India. Okay, it's like promoting organic farming, zero natural farming. So this is the kind of strategy government is following. Then government is also going for enhanced access to agriculture credit, and we have witnessed that in this figure you'll see that how agriculture credit is increasing over time, and it has consistently increased over the last 8 years. That's important in fact that agriculture credit has consistently increased over the last 8 years. If you look at this continued increase in the institutional credit to agriculture, we are looking to institutional credit. So agriculture credit, we know, can come from two sides, formal or informal. So for example, money lenders, family, friends, all those are within informal. We are not looking to this. We are looking to formal credit, that is institutional credit. So institutional credit has consistently increased over the last 8 years from 2014-15 when it was 8.5 lakh crore to 2021-22 it is 18.6 lakh crore, more than double. So that's why they are saying there has been enhanced access to agriculture credit, and we know credit or finance. I told you when I was explaining in the framework of agriculture sector, credit and finance are very crucial because if you have credit for finance, you can buy all other inputs. And in fact, in 1998, we also started something called Kisan Credit Scheme, and this Kisan Credit Scheme was giving short-term loans to farmers. Earlier, it was only for productive activities. Now it is also for consumption activities. The beauty of this KCC is that for a particular amount of loan, for example, as of today it is 1.6 lakh, you will not have to provide collateral. So without collateral, you will be getting this loan. And if you pay timely, already these loans are subsidized. There is some kind of subvention, interest subvention by the government. But if you pay timely, if you pay promptly within the time period, then you will get additional subvention on prompt payment. And this institutional credit is also being promoted because of Kisan Credit Scheme, because the government these days is promoting Kisan Credit Scheme very heavily, not only in the core agriculture sector, but also making other allied sector eligible to get benefits out of Kisan Credit Scheme. So the success of enhanced credit has much first to go to this Kisan Credit Scheme. Then ENAM, Electronic National Agriculture Market. I go to marketing. Is a post-harvest kind of input. So government is also promoting ENAM heavily. Now, if you look at the other topic, the other topic is of millet. Now, this is also quite interesting because there is a kind of realization that is going on domestically in India and also internationally that millet is something which is a great crop which should be produced at a very high rate and should also be consumed at very high pace. In fact, our diet should be adjusted in such a way that we should have more of the millet as compared to the conventional diets we were having. So this is a kind of realization that is coming across the world that there should be some kind of production and consumption changes. Production changes means we should produce more millet. Consumption changes means we should consume more millet. Production and consumption changes driven by millets. So we can say a kind of millet revolution is happening across the world and even in the case of India. And no wonder that United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization has declared 2023 as International Year of Millets. Now, what are these millets? So we have something called fine grains or fine cereals. So, for example, rice or wheat. These are fine grains or conventional grains, you can say. Then we have something called coarse grain. Now, millets are coarse grain. So, for example, sorghum, pearl millet, finger millet. Sorghum is jowar, pearl millet is bajra, finger millet is ragi. Then we have kodo millet. So, these are all examples of millets. Porso millet, barnyard millet, fox millet. So there are various kinds of millets. In fact, if you look at millets, can be divided into major millets and minor millets. Now, these are major and these are minor millets. So there is something called fine grains and there is something called coarse grains. These coarse grains are coming in the category of millets. Now, why we are promoting millets? So I was telling you that there is kind of realization that is coming across the world and in India that we should promote millet from production and from consumption side. Now, why we are promoting millet? Now let's look into the production side. Why we are promoting millet from production side? And there are many benefits. One is resource resilience. Another is climate resilience. One more is short duration. So, for example, resource resilience. We have various kinds of inputs that are required for the conventional agriculture activity if you have to grow any crop. So if you have to grow any crop, for example, if you have to grow rice, green rice require a minimum amount of irrigation. And some crops require intensive irrigation like sugarcane. Okay, so what is the speciality of millet is that it requires a very little to no irrigation. So even in rain-fed area, they can be easily grown. So from input side, they have little cost. Then climate resilience, even in drought-prone areas which are impacted by climate change, we can say. We discussed in the last chapter the impact of climate change and climate change, how it is impacting agriculture production productivity, or has the potential to impact excessively the agriculture production productivity. So the millets can be easily grown in drought-prone area, and in fact, they can be one of the part of the strategy of how we have to adjust, how we should adjust our agriculture pattern in the face of climate change or in the event of the climate change that is happening across the world. Then short duration, conventional crop, if you see, they require 100 to 140 days from sowing to harvesting. Whereas millets, just 60 to 90 days. So within a short period of time, we can grow millet. So these are the production side benefits of going for millets. Then there are consumption side benefits. Means what are the benefits for consumers who are consuming millets? There are many. One is dietary benefits. Now dietary benefits, for example, millets are very high on nutritive value. So and this nutritive value can be protein. They are high as compared to other fine grains, antioxidants. They are having low gluten component or having low glycemic index. For example, many people are intolerant to high gluten. So millets are one of the solution because they have low glycemic index. And wheat is having high glycemic index as compared to millet. Antioxidant, protein, means we are directly getting protein and antioxidant from consuming millets. And people are taking supplements for protein and antioxidants. So instead of taking supplements, instead of taking artificial supplements, let's go for natural thing. That is millet. Then they are having high fiber component. So there are many kind of dietary benefits that are there by consuming millets. So there are benefits from the production side. There are benefits from the consumption side of consuming millet. That's why government across the world is promoting millets. There is also climate change angle. There is also angle of reducing the resource intensiveness, reducing input cost. There is angle of, for example, in India. India is the largest producer of millet. More than 20% of the world millet is produced in India. Who are producing millet in India? There are people who are at the lowest rung within the agriculture sector. If government is able to promote this sector, means millet sector within the agriculture, then they will be able to uplift the income of these people who are at the lowest rung. That's why government is not only promoting consumption of millet within the country, government is also looking for the scope of exporting millet and millet-based product. Okay, so this is the context of why we are going for millet. Now these kind of reasons are applicable across countries also, and I discuss them from the context of India. So what they are saying, millet are smart food. Sometimes they say millet are superfood because of these kind of dietary benefits. They have high nutritional value and climate resilience. So they have been given a special focus mainly to ensure food and nutritional security, so they can act as a special component, a critical pillar of food security. 2023, I already told you, FAO has declared International Year of Millets. India's production, if you look at, is 50.9 million ton, which is 80% of the Asia and 20% of the global share. I have already told you. Average trade in India is greater than the global average. So we have inherent advantage in production of millets. Now let's look into the government measures the government is taking for promotion of millets. They were notified as Nutri-Cereals in 2018 by the government. They were added under the National Food Security Mission to provide nutritional support. There is a submission that is going on Nutri-Cereals. And also Indian Institute of Millet Research is supporting startups under Rashtriya Kisan Vikas Yojana scheme for production and promotion of millets. In fact, what the government is saying that now you should call millets not millets but Shri Anna. Anna is food grain. And what does giving the name to the millet is Shri Anna. An adjective they are adding to the name of millets. Now let's see. Means you can go through this map. It is also given in the economics only. They have given us a geographical profile of various kinds of millets that is being produced in different states. So you can just go through this. It's not that important, but just if you are interested, you can go through this, the millet map of India. Now let's look into the allied sector. We know that agriculture is not performing very well. Therefore, government is promoting the allied sector so as to increase and augment the income of farmers to various activities. Now these allied sectors are dairy, livestock, poultry, fisheries, and horticulture, and these are being identified as high growth in India. In fact, government is supporting these activities in a very intensive manner. If you look at this, especially livestock sector, so the biggest is the crop sector is still a major contributor to agriculture GVA, total agriculture gross value added. So crop sector, the conventional agriculture sector is still the largest, but the livestock sector is catching up. So within all the allied sector, livestock sector is the highest contributor of agriculture GVA. So the first is crop sector within agriculture, and then within the allied sector, it is followed by livestock sector. Okay, now you see livestock sector from 2011 to 2021. So they are given GVA of crop and allied sector from 2011 to 2021. It's been increasing. Then forestry and logging, depicted by this blue one, it has almost remained constant. Then fishing and aquaculture, its share in GVA is also almost constant. and crop sharing GVA is coming down. This drop in crop sector is being picked up by the increasing share of livestock sector. So this is how you can read this figure, and the important key takeaway is crop sector is still having the largest share in the total agriculture GVA. So it is agriculture GVA, largest share is crop sector, is followed by livestock sector. Then livestock sector grew at a compound annual growth rate of 7.9%, almost close to 8% from 2014 to 2021. Its contribution to total agriculture GVA has increased from 24.3% to 30.1% in 2020-21. Means the same thing. We have seen that from the figure, same thing they are stating in terms of statements that from around 24% to 2015, it has increased to more than 30%. Dairy sector role is that it is employing 8 crore farmers directly. So 8 crore farmers are directly involved in the dairy sector. In fact, if you look at dairy sector, it's very much in news these days with respect to the kind of controversy that is happening between Amul is the brand name of Gujarat Cooperative Milk Marketing Federation, based in Anand, Gujarat, and Karnataka Milk Producer Federation, so which is having a brand name of Nandini. So because they were saying that there is apprehension that Amul may enter Karnataka, and there is a kind of apprehension that later on government is looking for merging of both Amul and Nandini, and that's why there was a controversy that it may impact the farmers of Karnataka, especially those farmers which are employed in the dairy sector. So this kind of controversy you've seen is in news recently, and in fact, if you look at dairy sector, it's again in news recently because there has been reports that there is dairy product shortage in India, and at one point in time, we were even exploring the possibility of imports of dairy product. So a country like India, which is the largest producer of milk, was looking for imports of milk and dairy products. So dairy sector is something which is very much news, and I think if you have to prepare for mains, then this sector within the life sector becomes very important for this mains, for 2023 mains. Then National Livestock Mission Scheme has been restructured for 2021-22 to 2025-26. Its tenure has been increased. Pradhan Mantri Matsya Sampada Yojana is a kind of intervention in fishery sector. So it's again a kind of umbrella scheme in fishery sector for supporting all kind of people who are involved in fishery sector from various kinds of subsidies and loans on various inputs and also providing them the marketing facilities. Then AHIDF and FIDF. These are the funds that have been set up. Animal Husbandry Infrastructure Development Fund for support of infrastructure in animal husbandry sector, and Fisheries and Aquaculture Infrastructure Development Fund for support of infrastructure in fisheries and aquaculture sector, again to fund the activities in these particular sector. In fact, that's what I was telling you, that KCC, Kisan Credit Card, have been made eligible even for these kind of activities, fisheries, animal husbandry, and aquaculture activities. So for them also, Kisan Credit Card has now been made eligible. People can take loan, farmers can take loan, which are involved in these activities, they can take loan for these kind of activities also through Kisan Credit Card. So government is promoting cooperative in these sector, and in fact, there's one major part of the strategy of the government is that what they are doing is promoting this sector by setting up cooperatives within these allied sector. For example, cooperatives of dairy sector, cooperative in fishery sector, cooperative in animal husbandry sector. All these sectors, government is promoting the setting up of cooperatives, and we know what is the concept of cooperative. Cooperative means if people, especially small and marginal farmers, are involved in these kind of activities, they will form a group. Then they will be having more bargaining power from the input side also and from the output side also. Now, other kind of intervention in the allied sector government is taking is Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana, and this Pradhan Mantri Kisan Sampada Yojana is nothing but a yojana for promoting food processing industry. We'll deal with this yojana when I'll discuss the food processing sector, and also PM formulation of micro food enterprises. Livestock Health and Disease Control Scheme has also been promoted. In fact, if you followed the news, then there was something called LSD, not bad LSD, but lumpy skin disease. Lumpy skin disease. Cattle were being infected. Cattle were being infected with lumpy skin disease in India, and these were leading to a kind of lumps which were developing in the cattle's body, and later on they were getting burst, and many cattle died, and this was impacting the productivity of cattle, especially for example, milch cattle. So the milk output was impacted, and even when some of the cattle have recovered back, they have not recovered back in terms of the productivity. Productivity is being permanently damaged. Okay, so for preventing these kind of occurrence, these kind of diseases, or these kind of possible pandemics, government is having something called Livestock Health and Disease Control Scheme, so to prevent, control, and contain animal diseases by vaccination. Again, Fisheries and Aquaculture Infrastructure Development Fund was established for 5 years from 2019 to 2023, so to promote the fishery sector. Now let's look into the other kind of intervention that has been discussed within the economic survey that the government is taking within agriculture sector, and that is cooperation. That is following the policy of developing, instituting various kind of cooperatives within various subsector of the agriculture sector. And government is saying that this is Sahakar Se Samriddhi. It's nothing but the Hindi word for cooperation to prosperity. Means how we can go towards the path of prosperity by following the policy of cooperation. That is Sahakar Se Samriddhi. Let's first start this slide with this figure and see the geographical distribution, state-wise distribution of India's cooperatives, especially multi-state cooperative society. In fact, you must know that cooperatives is a state subject in India. Cooperative is a state subject. But for multi-state cooperative society, central government is making law. For example, cooperatives which are in more than one state, central government is responsible for making laws for those cooperatives. Now, if you look at top 10 states in multi-state cooperative society, then as of October 2022, Maharashtra has the largest number of multi-state cooperative society, followed by Delhi. Now, this is surprising. Delhi is very small, but because it's a multi-state cooperative society, so most of the cooperatives have been registering their office in Delhi. So, followed by Maharashtra, it's Delhi. Then Uttar Pradesh having multi-state cooperative societies are less than Delhi, and then we can see the 10 state last is Kerala, 28. So cooperatives provide the rural population with livelihood opportunity and financial safety net in a community-based approach. So community-based approach we already discussed twice. I discussed in this lecture only. What is the approach of cooperative? A community-based approach was to provide livelihood opportunity and financial safety net to farmers. It holds the key to rural economic transformation by following a community-based approach. They are saying there are 8.5 lakh registered cooperatives with 29 crore members. All of these data is not important. Some of the data is important. I'll emphasize on that. but some of the tests simply you can escape. Now this one is important. There's currently 19% of villages are covered by primary agriculture traditional society, and 19% of agriculture finances are through cooperative society. This is an important preliminary fact. Right? PSCs, primary agriculture cooperative societies, are now in 98% of villages in India. Now what is PSCs? That is primary agriculture traditional society. So you must be knowing that cooperative credit institution in India, cooperative credit institution in India, generally or broadly I would say, broadly they are divided into whether they are existing in urban areas or rural areas. Now within urban area, the categorization is on the basis of whether they are scheduled, whether they are present within the schedule or non-scheduled. Then within schedule and non-schedule, within urban area, within schedule and non-schedule, they are divided on the basis of whether they are single state, means having presence within a single state or multi-state. Again, single state, multi-state. So there are some single state urban cooperative bank UCB. There are some multi-state urban cooperative bank which are scheduled. Then within non-schedule also, single state urban cooperative bank and multi-state urban cooperative bank. Now this is a picture of urban cooperative credit institution. Then there is also a picture of rural cooperative credit institution, and this is divided on the basis of whether they are short-term, means giving short-term credit, or long-term. Let's start with long-term. Long-term, they are either PCARDB or SCARDB, means primary cooperative agriculture rural development bank or state cooperative agriculture rural development bank. So there are two kinds of long-term institution: long-term cooperative credit institution in rural areas, PCARDB, SCARDB. Then within short-term, they are divided into three types. One is STCB, state cooperative bank, then district central cooperative bank at district level, this is at state level, and then primary agriculture cooperative society. Now this primary agriculture cooperative society is the bottommost, you can say, in the rural area, bottommost credit institution in rural area, and also the most fundamental cooperative credit institution in rural areas. And people in villages can make this PSCs by organizing a group of 10 or more. They take loan from DCCB, and DCCBs are further being regulated by STCBs. Okay, so this is the picture of cooperative credit institution in India. Now what they are saying, that primary agriculture cooperative credit societies is now being covered in more than 90% of villages, and that is something which tells us about the depth with which cooperative credit institutions have entered in the rural area. And that's why they are saying, means if more cooperative credit institutions will be there will be more financing in rural areas, especially in the agriculture sector and the life sector also, and that will lead to prosperity. That's why Sehgal says Samriddhi Cooperation to prosperity. Okay, now let's look into the measures that have been taken so far by the government in the promotion of cooperative societies in India. So Multi-State Cooperative Society Act 2002 was amended recently in the bill in 2022 to facilitate the democratic functioning and autonomous working of the cooperatives. A full-fledged Ministry of Cooperation to provide greater focus on the cooperative sector. So now we have a full-fledged cooperative ministry at the central level. Also, the new national cooperation policy has also been notified to strengthen the cooperative movement in the country. So we have amended the law, we have set up a separate ministry, and we have also notified the policy for cooperative sector. Now let's start the discussion on food processing sector. Now, all these which we are discussing is for the intervention agriculture sector, in the light sector, millets, in cooperatives, and now food processing sector. This kind of architecture already given you, so why we are discussing them. Okay, so I think that you are able to grasp the kind of discussion we are having. And of course, we cannot have a very detailed discussion because we have to just look into the kind of notings and observation of the economic survey. Otherwise, this agriculture chapter itself will be around 6 to 7 hours. So let's start the discussion. The first point is food processing holds paramount significance, and we already discussed it has strong connection interactions, and it promotes those links between agriculture and industries. In the last 5 years, the performance is that it has seen an annual growth rate of around 8.3%. Again, a kind of impressive growth rate within the food processing sector. Now, as per the latest annual survey of industry, we have already seen annual survey of industry in chapter number 6, that is social infrastructure and employment. It says that more than 12% of people who are involved in the registered manufacturing sector are from food processing industry, are from FPIs. So we can say, in a way, that food processing industry, which is actually using the raw material from the agriculture sector, agri sector, is leading to industrialization of India. So industrialization is promoted through manufacturing in food processing industry, and the annual survey of industry says that more than 12% of people involved in registered manufacturing are from food processing industry. So agriculture in a way, because agriculture's raw material are involved in food processing industry, so agriculture in a way is promoting industrialization in India. So food processing industry can be a good gateway to go for industrialization of India. That's why I was saying that government is following this deliberate strategy of using agriculture and industry by having a middle path of food processing industry. Because food processing industry can actually give us that kind of window where we can move from agriculture to industry, or at least shift people from agriculture to industry, if not quickly, then at least at slow pace. The next point, share of agri exports means agriculture exports. In total export is around 11%. In 2021-22, share of agriculture exports in total export is around 11%. So these exports include processed food. In fact, if you can recall that in 2018, we had something called dedicated agriculture exports policy. So government came up with dedicated agriculture export policy in 2018 to promote agriculture export. And within that, government made special efforts to promote processed food exports also. Now, two most important crucial elements of this agriculture export policy was, firstly, it was going for stable trade policy regime. That is, we will not be having an ad hoc policy approach, especially when it comes to agriculture exports. So for example, agriculture exports are suffering from ad hoc approach. Now, whenever the price of rice and wheat in India rises because of shortage of rice and wheat, what government do? Usually they will put a ban on the export of this product. And this ban give a bad name to India, especially in those countries which are the destination for that agriculture export. And also, many farmers start criticizing government because farmers think that when the price increases, that is the time when we also get benefit out of that increased price realization by exporting this product. And if government is serious about doubling farmer income, DFI, then government should not follow this kind of ad hoc approach and give us the ample revenue to increase our farm income by exporting this product. First was a stable trade policy. Second is, government is again going for cooperative federalism kind of philosophy in this agriculture export policy. Government is saying that in this agriculture export policy, we will give more say to states, because ultimately all activities in India are done at state level. So states should have a greater say in framing of or in implementation of this kind of policy. The target was that from 2018 to 2022, we will increase our agriculture exports, total agriculture exports, from $30 billion, that is US dollar, 30 billion to US dollar 60 billion. And later on they said that in a few years we will increase it to US dollars 100 billion. Of course, these targets were pushed ahead because there was COVID and there was a kind of uncertainty across the world, even in India. Now, other kind of intervention government is making to promote this sector is PM Kisan Sampada Yojana, and this is something which includes everything. Now, if you look at PM Kisan Sampada Yojana, it's an umbrella scheme. And there are 7 crucial elements of this scheme. And you can understand those 7 crucial elements or 7 crucial critical pillars of PM Kisan Sampada scheme or PM Kisan Sampada Yojana by just looking into what kind of infrastructure you should require if you are going for food processing industry. So firstly, you will need mega food park. Mega food park was something which was started in 2008. And firstly, it started as a standalone scheme, mega food park, MFP. And what was there? That they were providing infrastructure for all kinds of activities like grading, sorting activity, or processing capacities. of processing activities. So they were providing a kind of infrastructure facility. So government started in 2008 by setting up these kind of mega food parks, and many mega food parks are working in various states. Then we need something called preservation capacities. If you have to promote food processing industry, we need cold chain infrastructure so as to increase the shelf life of agriculture product. Now, agriculture product crucial inputs to food processing industry, and agriculture product by default, by nature, are perishable. So definitely we need some kind of cold chain infrastructure facilities. Cold chain infrastructure facility. Then we need agro processing clusters. We also need to take steps on forward and backward linkages within the food processing industry sector. Then, if we have taken all these steps and produce some food or process some food, then also we need to ensure the quality. So quality standards, infrastructure, or you can say quality assurance facilities or infrastructure need also to be promoted. And finally, you need people and institutions to manage all these things. So human resources and institutions are required. So number one, mega food park starting in 2008. Second, preservation capacities. Third, cold chain infrastructure. Fourth, agro processing clusters. Fifth, better interlinking, forward and backward linkages. Sixth, quality standard or quality assurance infrastructure. And seventh, human resources, that is people and institutions to manage, regulate, control all these activities. Now these 7 pillars are nothing but the pillars of PM Kisan Sampada Yojana. So PM Kisan Sampada Yojana is an umbrella scheme for promoting food processing sector in India and has these 7 critical pillars. Then there is something called PM Formalization of Micro Food Processing Enterprise Scheme, that is PMFME, under which credit facilities provided to these micro food processing enterprises is to formalize. It's a part of Atmanirbhar Abhiyan and it adopts one district, one product approach. Now, this one district, one product approach, or we can say ODOP, one district, one product approach, is again being emphasized in the economic survey. Rather, for the last 5 to 6 years, it's something which isn't too much of news. Now, if you look at this one district, one product approach, the basic is simple, the idea is simple. You just identify one product from a district and then you start branding that so as to increase market value across the country and across the world. This was something which was first adopted in 1979 in Japan. Later on, many ASEAN countries, those group of 10 countries, many ASEAN countries adopted it. Then China adopted it. In India, in 2018, Uttar Pradesh first time adopted it. One district, one product approach. And then now, even the central government has adopted this strategy of one district, one product approach. And in fact, the central government is adopting this strategy not only for the micro food processing enterprises, but also for the export sector, so as to increase exports of India. They are adopting this ODOP approach, one district, one product approach. Now, Prime Minister Formalization of Micro Food Enterprises scheme is based on ODOP approach. Now, the other one is the production link incentive scheme for FPI, which was launched in 2022. The production link incentive scheme, the idea is that just to provide additional subsidy, additional benefits to industry so as to increase industrialization. So 4 to 6% of subsidy is provided to the industry on incremental output they create. So somewhere around more than 10 sectors have been identified in production link incentive scheme, and within that, those sectors, food processing industry is also figured. So government has launched production link incentive scheme for food processing industries, and this was launched in 2022. Another intervention is Krishi Udan 2.0, and this version was launched in 2021. That is a 6-month pilot project so as to promote the food processing industry in India by reducing the food wastage. Because in Krishi Udan scheme, the perishable product were given the support under Udan scheme, Udan scheme. These perishable products were being airlifted from one part of the country to the another. Then let's look into the last topic of this chapter, agriculture and food management. Now, within this topic, we are discussing the issue of food security. Then we should have discussed this issue first, but because it is arranged in the economic survey like this, so we are following that particular chronology only. Now, they are saying it's a social legal commitment to the people, and the context I've already discussed a lot. There was pandemic, and government, being a welfare state, has the commitment to the people. There's a kind of social contract with the people that they will be taking care of your essential need, and food security is one of the essential needs that government has to take care of the country and of its people. So what the government did? We had something called National Food Security Act 2013. Under National Food Security Act, you know that there is a subsidized food grain scheme where at the price of rupees 3, 2 and 1, per kg, we are getting rice, wheat and coarse grain. This is the idea of National Food Security Act 2013. It's a kind of legal commitment government gave to the citizen that will be providing you subsidized food, subsidized ration at these subsidized prices, and we will be covering 75% of the rural and 50% of urban, in total 67% of the country. So we had PDS system, we had public distribution system, subsidized ration system even before National Food Security Act 2013. But that was not a legal commitment, that was not backed by some kind of law. So National Food Security Act 2013 was a paradigm shift in the food security front in India because it gave a legal commitment to the people that the state is obligated legally to provide you minimum amount of ration at these subsidized prices, especially to the vulnerable groups. Okay, now even before we were having something called PDS, then we went to RPDS, that is Revamped Public Distribution System, which was mainly focused on backward areas. Then we went for TPDS in 1997, Targeted Public Distribution System. Then we went for something called, or we started some scheme, which was called Antyodaya Anna Yojana for the poorest who were getting additional allocation within the Targeted Public Distribution System. Then we went for something called Annapurna Yojana. Annapurna Yojana was for senior citizens from the vulnerable groups, where they were getting additional allocation at subsidized prices of food grains. So we had many schemes even before National Food Security Act 2013. But National Food Security Act 2013 was backed by law. These were not backed by law, these were just schemes notified by the government. So National Food Security Act 2013, we said, is a paradigm shift. But what happened? Came COVID in 2020. And government thought that even this is inadequate. This also needs a backup. A kind of top-up is to be provided in addition to these subsidized rates. And government said that we were providing you with rupees 3, 2, 1, at the rate of rupees 3 to 1, rice, wheat and coarse grain. We were providing 5 kg per person per month. So at these subsidized prices, we were providing 5 kg of food grains per person. And per month we were providing this kind of allocation. Government said we will have a top-up of additional 5 kg. So a person will not get only 5 kg per person per month, but additional 5 kg will be provided. So a person will be getting now 10 kg per person per month. And this additional 5 kg will be free of cost. So first 5 kg under NFSA will be subsidized at 3 to 1, but the additional 5 kg will be free of cost. So government in a way doubled the allocation of the people just to ensure food security of the people during the COVID time. And that is what is being discussed in the economic survey. Then government firstly started this scheme of additional 5 kg per person per month to each person. But later on, government kept on extending this scheme. And in fact, for more than 2 years, it was there. In fact, this is a fundamental flaw in the social policy. Means once you start subsidizing something, especially in a democratic country, it's very difficult to pull back it. So you need to subsidize it. And if at all you get some kind of realization and you have the guts, means the government has the guts to pull it back, then they have to do it stealthily, very secretively, by confusing people. And the government did the same thing. What government did, they got the realization that they are spending too much on these food subsidies. So they came up with some kind of mechanism. What they did is that they said, now NFSA, that is first 5 kg, you'll get free for 1 year. From 2023, they said that first 5 kg you'll get free for 1 year. But we are rolling back additional 5 kg. Rolling back that provision of additional 5 kg, back of additional 5 kg allocation. In fact, this additional 5 kg allocation was given a name called PMGKAY, Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana. So government got the realization that we are spending too much on food subsidy, on this food security bill. So we need some kind of mechanism to move out of this food subsidy because COVID is already over. For more than 2 years, this scheme was there. COVID and its effects are now in the past. So let's roll back this scheme, but we need to find some kind of mechanism. So they found the mechanism that first 5 kg that is under NFSA you will get free for 1 year from 2023 onwards, but the additional 5 kg of Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana we are rolling back. Okay, so that's the kind of story. So as of today, NFSA beneficiaries, the 67% of the population of the country, are getting their rations at free of cost. After 2024, no one knows what will happen. So National Food Security Act 2013 was already acting as a basic architecture of ensuring food security in India. Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana was brought in, and this was for providing additional 5 kg of food grains during COVID time. It was brought for short time period, extended medical times. For the 2 years it was existing, government realized that it is resulting in the increased food security bill. So in the roll back, government did it stealthily, secretively, by devising some kind of mechanism. And recent decision was made to make NFSA allocation free of cost for 1 year. In fact, if you look at total food subsidy which is released by the government of India since 2014 to 15, in rupees 1,000 crores they are giving, and you'll see it was very low till 2019-20. See the jump in 2020-21. So almost three times it has increased. So that is the kind of subsidy the government was forced to get because government had legal commitments. And on top of that, government wanted that this should be some kind of top up because people are suffering during the COVID time. Now, another step that was taken to ensure food security was one nation, one ration card scheme. Now, the idea of one nation, one ration card, ORC, we say in short, ORC is simple. The idea is that there are families, vulnerable families, which are beneficiaries of National Food Security Act, which are residing in rural areas. I mean, just one example, which are residing in rural areas. So, for example, if you look at a family of 5, so it might happen that one working member of the family is in other area. But if they have to access the benefits of National Food Security Act, that particular person who is not residing with the family, the other 4 members, will have to come back to access the benefits from the nearby fair shop. But this is very difficult. So, in a way, that person was left excluded from the benefits of National Food Security Act. So, government said and devised a mechanism that the details of all the 5 family members along with the ration card will be seeded with Aadhaar, that it will be connected with Aadhaar number. And now, all the beneficiaries, wherever they are staying, they can identify any fair price shop of their like, and then they can take their allocation, means 5 kg per person per month, from that fair price shop. So, in a way, it gave the portability to the benefits of National Food Security Act. In fact, 2 portals were created within this. One was Anna Vitran Portal, and another was IMPDS. Anna Vitran Portal, and another was Integrated Management of Public Distribution System, IMPDS. Anna Vitran Portal was for portability within the state and within the district. So, inter-state and inter-district portability of ration card was done by Anna Vitran Portal, whereas interstate portability was done by Integrated Management of Public Distribution System. So, government is taking serious steps so as to ensure food security of the country and citizens. So, this was a discussion with respect to agriculture and food management. What kind of intervention government is taking in the agriculture space, in the allied sector, in the millet sector, in the cooperative sector, in the food security front. Okay, now we'll start with chapter 9 of industries. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Byju's Exam Prep IAS. Welcome back to our discussion on Economic Survey 2022-23. Let's start our discussion with chapter 9, which is titled as Industry Steady Recovery. Now, in this chapter also, they are given the same kind of argument that industry is also not performing bad, whether it is on path of steady recovery. For economy, they have said that economy has recovered completely, but industry is still lagging. It is on the path of steady recovery. Now, let's first look into the kind of discussion they are dealing with this particular chapter. So, in this chapter, let's look at the kind of discussion Economic Survey has done. So, they have discussed some basics about the industry, means what is the importance of industry, what is the significance of industry in Indian economy. Then they go into looking into the performance of Indian industry, mainly on 2 important terms. One is bank credit, means how much money is going to industry through banking channels, and second is FDI inflows into the industrial sector, means how much money in form of FDI is going to the industrial sector, especially manufacturing sector. They have discussed. Now, within that, they have also discussed within the Economic Survey what are some kind of initiative government has taken to improve the performance of industry on these 2 counts, on the count of bank credit and another parameter is of FDI inflow into the industrial sector and manufacturing sector. Then they have delved themselves into some kind of sub-sectoral analysis, like analysis of MSME sector. Within the industrial sector, we have various sub-sectors. One is manufacturing, within manufacturing, we have MSME sector. So, how MSME sector has performed over the last 1 year, and what are the kind of initiative government has taken to increase the performance of the MSME sector over the last many years. Then they discuss sub-sectoral analysis of like pharmaceutical, electronics, then textiles, then gold sector, automobile. So these kind of sectors they have discussed, and we'll also discuss some of the important points that they have discussed within the chapter of the Economic Survey. Then they have discussed topics of global supply chain, innovation, because India has recently done very well in the global innovation index ranking, and that's why they have discussed that in that particular chapter of the Economic Survey, and we'll also discuss it here. Then they have discussed something about startups, some kind of observations they have made, and that is a kind of interesting discussion, and that will also take up in this particular chapter. And finally, they have discussed something called Industrial Revolution 4.0, that what the government has been doing to promote IR 4.0 or 4th Industrial Revolution in India. So this is how they have discussed the chapter, and on the same lines, broadly on the same lines, we have also created a PPT. So let's start our discussion with chapter 9, that is industry. Now, before actually going into the discussion, let's first have a basic framework of industry, very basic. So we know, and we have many times discussed within this discussion of economic survey only, that there are 3 major economic sectors in any economy, and these are agriculture, industries, and services. Normal conventional transition is the economy will move from agriculture to industry, and then it will mature and move from industry to services. So at mature stage, at developed stage, services sector will contribute most in the economy or national income. Okay. So at the mature stage, at the developed stage, services sector will contribute most to the national
evolved somewhere in the industrial sector, not in the agriculture sector. But in India, something ironical has taken place. In India, people have moved not from agriculture to industry, people have moved directly from agriculture to services. So Indian economy has leapfrogged. People moving directly from agriculture to services. And this has happened in the case of India because industrial sector in India are having some kind of major bottlenecks, major problems. And that's why they were not able to, industrial sector, or various sectors of the industrial sector was not able to absorb people from agriculture sector. And people start moving from agriculture directly to services. And in fact, not only people, if you look at the value also. So services sector contributes 54% of the total national income. But if you look at most of the people who are involved in any kind of economic activity, then most of the people are involved in agriculture sector, 45%. So most of the people are involved in agriculture sector, most of the economy or the economic output is generated in the service sector. Whereas industrial sector is very poor performing in the case of India. Poor performing in the sense that for the last 3 or so decades, the contribution of industrial sector in the total national income is just around 30% of the GDP. No more, no less. It's holding around that 30% ballpark figure. So that is a major problem that industrial sector is not doing in the case of India. They are not able to absorb people from agriculture sector. Our economy, especially in value perspective, that is in terms of income, is moving from agriculture to services. And there is, many people say that there is a kind of deindustrialization taking place in India. Deindustrialization taking place in India. But given the large amount of people, large number of people in India, if you look at more than 1.4 billion, we have already defeated China in getting this tag of the largest number of people in the world. So these many people cannot be absorbed in the service sector. There has to have some kind of avenue for them to be absorbed in the industrial sector. And that's why this problem is very serious. That if industries are not growing up, people are stuck in agriculture. If at all there is some kind of movement, that movement is happening from agriculture to services, then that is a serious problem for the Indian economy. And that's why industry become an important topic to understand, to study. And that's why this kind of initiatives have been coming up by the government or from the government side. This kind of initiatives, schemes, you'll see PLI, production initiative, Make in India. Then some people say it's not making India. Let's say it as made in India. Means the intention is same, just to increase the industrial sector share in the total GDP and make industry on some kind of footing so that they are able to absorb people from the agriculture sector. So that is the kind of seriousness of the problem is there in the Indian industrial sector. And that is what we'll see, that what is the situation, how it is performing. In the last 1 year we'll be seeing majorly in the last 1 year how it will be performing. But if you see the major initiative that we'll be studying, the major initiative will be across the years. Means in the last 5, 6 years, whatever the kind of major initiative that have been taken, having covered the economic sector, and we'll also be at least having a glance on those kind of initiatives. So with this background, basic background in mind, by looking at appreciating the kind of problems we have been having, especially in the industrial sector and because of the industrial sector, then in our economy, let's start a discussion. Now before reading these 3 particular points, let's first look at this table. Now if you look at this table, it categorizes industry on these 4 basic subsectors of the industry: mining, quarrying, manufacturing, electricity, gas, water supply, utility services, and construction. Now if you look at the share, industry share is 30%. 30% in the total GDP of the economy. But more than half of this 30%, that is around 17%, is being given by manufacturing, 17.3%. So industry is contributing 30% of total GDP, but manufacturing is contributing more than half of the industry and around 17% of total GDP. So you can from this sense the importance of manufacturing to the industry and importance of manufacturing to the total GDP. That's why when we talk about industry, mostly we talk about manufacturing. And any government discussion, any discussion you read or hear, you always see the emphasis is on manufacturing. After manufacturing, next big chunk is coming from construction, and that is around 8%. Later on, followed by 2 sectors: mining, quarrying, electricity, gas, water supply, utility services, each sharing 2.3%. So this is a broad picture. Within the industry, there are 4 broad sectors, and in those 4 broad sectors, you'll see manufacturing is the most important, followed by construction. Now let's look into these points. So they say the same thing. Industry is account for 13% of GDP, employing over 12.1 crore people. So you can look into this figure. How big is this figure? 12.1 crore people are involved in industry. Then manufacturing accounts for more than 50% of the industrial sector, followed by construction. Now this is an important preliminary fact that we can always keep in mind, that industry contributes around 30% of GDP of the economy, and manufacturing around more than 50% of the industrial sector, or you can also learn it completely like 70%, 70.3% exact figure. Then they say that during COVID pandemic and on the event of Russia war, industrial sector in India faced high input cost pressure. And of course, we have already discussed the reasons. The reasons are because commodity prices, many times in this chapter we have discussed, commodity prices increased across the board. Steel, cement, iron ore, oil, most importantly, all they went were high. And they increased, and because they are being acting as various inputs in the industrial sector, and that's why industrial sector was facing high input cost pressure. Now, if you look at the industrial sector in India, industrial sector is not only important because it will be able to absorb people from agriculture and will be able to create jobs, but also important because industrial sector can act as an important component of an export-led growth strategy. Export-led growth strategy. And that's what is planned by the Indian government. So, for example, we have initiatives like Make in India, PLI. All are not only for the domestic consumption. Means whatever the goods have been produced, we will not consume them all. Some of them will also be channelized into export sector. So industrial sector, if at all it performs well, will help in more exports. Also, it will help in reduced imports. Reduced imports. And thereby increasing our self-reliance or Atmanirbharta. So this is what has been the objective of ANBA strategy, Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. So as to increase the production within domestic frontiers, within our domestic boundary, so as to reduce our import dependence, especially on non-essential things or on things which we can produce ourselves. Okay, so industry is not only important for increasing jobs. Industry is not only important for improving our economic transition, but also important as an important element of export-led growth strategy and in reducing our imports, thereby increasing our foreign exchange share and reducing our foreign exchange outflow in second one by reducing imports. Now let's look into the performance of the industrial sector. We've already covered the basics a lot. So let's look into the bank credit first. Now here, if you look at this figure says that there has been double-digit credit growth in industries, and that has been driven by MSMEs sector. So they have given the credit growth in terms of MSME, large industry, and non-food credit. We already discussed the concept of non-food credit when we were discussing the monetary policy chapter. Now, in the non-food credit, you'll see that it has been always more than 0% first. So it is growing. Then it is especially after this time period, April 2022, it has been on high. So it has been increasing after April 2022. That's the time period we are mostly interested because this is the economic survey for the last one financial year. Then if you look at large industries credit growth, especially bank credit growth, you see it is negative, less than 0% for the till the time period of October 21. Then it is almost touching 0 for a time period from October 21 to January 2022. Then after January 2022, it started and coming in positive direction, and then started increasing, and then started continuously moving towards northern direction. Then if you look at the MSME, if you look at the growth, bank credit growth in the MSME sector, is much more spectacular as compared to the large industries and non-food credit growth rate. You see, it is much high. Even if it is going down and sometimes up, it's always at a much higher rate than the rate that is going to the large industries. So though later on it tapered down and it started coming down, but still it has been at a higher rate as compared to the large industries. So that's why they are saying that double-digit credit growth in the industry sector is being driven largely by the MSMEs. But if you look at this time period, especially especially from May 2022, after May 2022, you'll see the credit growth in the MSME sector is going down and the credit growth in the large industry sector is going towards northern direction. That means after this time period, the growth in the total industrial sector's bank credit is largely being driven by large industry. So overall, it is being driven by MSME sector. So let's look into this slide, what points they mention. Now, this say bank credit has witnessed robust growth for industries. Okay, we have seen that is the situation. Growth in bank credit kept pace with industrial growth. Last year goes to large industries, especially after May 2022, last year is going to large industries. Credit to MSMEs also witnessed significant growth because of the emergency credit line guarantee scheme. So after COVID, government started this scheme, emergency credit line guarantee scheme, where government give credit to the banks and non-banking institutions when they were giving credit or lending money to the MSMEs. So government was acting as a guarantor, and that government started through this scheme, emergency credit line guarantee scheme, and this has resulted into the better performance of the MSME sector or overall industrial sector, or increased bank credit growth to the MSME sector. Okay, now it says all segments of the manufacturing except textiles witness growth in credit offtake. So in textile sectors, we have not witnessed that much credit growth rate, especially bank credit growth rate. That is what has been observed in the economic survey. Now these last 2 points give us the reason why bank credit growth rate is increasing or has increased. They say there was volatility in the corporate bond market, and that volatility in the corporate bond market pushed these people to shift to bank capital or for bank credit. Now apart from emergency credit line guarantee scheme, this was another reason why credit growth or credit to the MSME sector from banking sources was increasing, because there was turbulence in the corporate bond market. Corporate bond market yields were going high, so they shifted to the bank capital, which was having stable and predictable rates. Then robust growth in credit demand, rising capacity utilization and investment, all these has led to optimum demand in the future and optimum growth of the industries. Now after looking into the bank credit, now let's look into the FDI flows in the manufacturing sector. Now there are some facts that have been mentioned and that are also important. So they say annual FDI inflow have been steadily on the rise in the last few years. Total FDI inflows $21.3 billion was the FDI inflow in financial 22, and you can see in 21 it was just 12.1 billion. So in 2022 FDI inflows has almost doubled. Now they say FDI fell in the first half of financial year 23 due to two reasons have been given, which we are very familiar with: Russia-Ukraine conflict and monetary tightening at the global level. Now multiple times we have discussed that how these two factors play out, how they reduce investments in domestic economy. We've already seen what kind of factors will play out in domestic economy. So I don't think we need a repetition of the discussion here. Inflows have however stayed above pre-pandemic level. So though inflows fell in the first half of financial year 23, but still they remain above pre-pandemic level. Now let's look into the various government measures to promote FDI inflows into India. And these are various measures that have been mentioned in the economic survey. Now the first one is abolition of the erstwhile foreign investment promotion board, that is a body called FIPB. Now we know that FDI in India can come from either automatic route or approval route. So there are two routes for FDI to channelize into Indian economy. One is automatic route, another is approval route. Within automatic route, we have to just report it to RBI that we are giving this much amount of money in this particular sector which is allowed for automatic route, and our work is done. In approval route, we have to take approval from the government for bringing FDI. For approval route, the earlier body was FIPB, Foreign Investment Promotion Board. It was approving the FDI in some sensitive sectors, where approval route was required. But later on, it was found out that instead of giving approval, it was acting as a stumbling block on the flow of FDI into the Indian economy. So government abolished this body and replaced it with Foreign Investment Facilitation Portal as a new online single point interface to iron out all those kinds of challenges which we were facing from Foreign Investment Promotion Board. Also, government took measures like reduce corporate tax rate. You know, comprehensive measures were taken in 2019. In 2019, corporate tax rates were reformed by bringing down them, especially on all those kinds of firms which are starting their business after 1st of October 2019. So all newly registered firms were given this kind of benefits. This has also increased the FDI inflow into the Indian economy. Then various measures governments keep on taking time and again, both central and state government, to improve the ease of doing business. And that's why if you look at the kind of tremendous jump we have seen in the ease of doing business ranking in case of India, then various kinds of FDI policy reforms have been taken by Indian government. And if you look at these FDI policy reforms, can be mainly categorized into two parts. First, by allowing FDI in hitherto or erstwhile closed sector, so sectors which are not allowed for FDI earlier were open for FDI. Secondly, by raising limits of FDI in already open sector. In already open sector, open means from the purpose of whether FDI is allowed or not. Open sector. So FDI policy reforms of the government mainly will be categorized under these two categories: by allowing FDI in hitherto closed sector and by raising limits of FDI in the already open sector. So these are the measures which government has taken in last many years to increase FDI inflow in Indian industry or in Indian economy in general. Now these measures you can directly quote in any of your question in the main examination. Directly you can just paste these measures, just go to them and directly paste. Okay, now let's look into the performance of the industry sector, especially the MSME sector. Micro, small and medium enterprises sector. Now we know MSME sector play an important role in Indian economy. Of course, this MSME sector only, or these MSME enterprises only, will later on become large industries. So they are in a way acting as a sapling for our industrial revolution, for the kind of economy we want to see. If we want to see a mature industrial sector in India, so we have to plant these kind of saplings in the economy. The impact of the pandemic reduced the share of the MSME sector in overall GDP from 30.5 in financial year 20 to 26.8 in financial year 21. So due to pandemic, in fact this is an important fact, due to pandemic, the MSME sector in the overall GDP was reduced from 30.5 to 26.8 in financial year 21. But this sector has posted a smart recovery from the pandemic, and this economic survey we can get from the kind of GST MSME sector has been paying. So GST payment, they are taking GST payment by the MSME sector as a reference to the, or as a base to the recovery of MSME sector. Now MSME, if you look at its importance, especially in terms of exports. So MSME are important not only for the industrial sector, not only for the overall economy, but also for the exports, because the share in exports from India is very large. So you can see that around 50% financial year 18, the financial year 19 reduced a bit, then again it increased, then again reduced, and then again reduced financial year 23. It's the least in the last 5 years. So MSME share in exports is reducing. In fact, in the last 4 years, 2021, 22, 23, it has consistently reduced. Whereas if you look at MSME share in overall GVA and manufacturing GVA, so MSME share in overall GVA, we can look at in financial 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. So again it has been inconsistent, neither increasing constantly, not decreasing, and in 21 it is less than 30%. Share in manufacturing GVA, in manufacturing GVA, 30% of total national income is coming from industrial sector. Then 17%, that's more than half, is coming from manufacturing. That we got the data from this second slide. And of this manufacturing, they are saying, let's look into the share of MSME in this manufacturing. So share of MSME in this manufacturing is around 35%. So around 35% of the manufacturing is coming from MSME. So 30% of total GDP is being contributed by industrial sector. More than half of that, that is 17% of the total GDP, is contributed by manufacturing sector. And within manufacturing sector, we have MSME. MSME contributes around 35% of the manufacturing sector GDP. So these are some important points you can remember it, or at least have an idea about the broad data, what are the broad kind of figures with respect to the share in the economy, within industry, within manufacturing. So these kind of figures can be remembered, they can be important in quoting whenever you are writing any mains answer. So now let's look at the initiative that the government has taken for the promotion of MSME sector. Now if you look at the initiatives, the first one is monetary support through Ask Nirbhar Bharat package, and we know one of the initiatives we have already discussed, that is emergency credit line guarantee scheme, where government takes a guarantor and the loan was going from banking non-banking institution to the MSME sector when they were struck by the COVID pandemic or the effects of the COVID pandemic. Next one is revised definition of MSME. If you look at the latest definition of MSME, it is irrespective of whether a unit is manufacturing MSME or services MSME. So earlier there was different criteria or different definition for manufacturing MSME and services MSME. Now there are common criteria, and this common criteria is on the basis of investment and turnover. So whether unit is micro, small, or medium, manufacturing or services enterprise, it can be defined on the basis of investment and turnover. So 1 crore to 5 crore, 10 crore, 50 crore, and 50 crore to 50 crore. If the investment is within 1 crore and if turnover is within 5 crore, then that will be micro, whether from manufacturing or services. If the investment is within 10 crore, means from 1 crore to 10 crore, and turnover is from 5 crore to 50 crore, then it will be small. And if it is from 10 crore to 50 crore, and turnover is from 50 crore to 50 crore, then it will be medium enterprise. So this is how micro, small, and medium enterprise definition was changed by amending Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprises Act of 2006. So this is Micro, Small, and Medium Enterprise Act. In that, changes were made, and through that, definition of a criteria of defining micro, small, and medium enterprises was changed. The government also brought something called Samadhan portal to monitor the outstanding dues of the MSME sector, either from private sector or from the government, because both of the government and the private sector, they do some kind of outsourcing from the MSME units, and most of the time we see that payments are delayed to these units. So to address that delay in the payments, they brought in Samadhan portal. Then scheme, RAMP scheme was there. It was brought in budget of 2022. It is called raising and accelerating MSME performance scheme. RAMP scheme, raising and accelerating MSME performance scheme to strengthen institutions and governance within MSME sector. That if you see, this is a central sector scheme, and it has a budget of around 6,000 crore, and more than half of the budget is being supported by World Bank. So World Bank is paying for more than half of the budget of this scheme, RAMP scheme, for the MSME sector. World Bank has said that there should be something called strategic investment plan (SIP), so as to address the challenges within the MSME sector, and these challenges should be addressed both by the central government and state government. Then only we will give our share to this scheme. So World Bank, if it is giving money, it has also put some conditions that there should be some kind of strategic investment plan. First, you identify the challenges which are in the MSME sector, and then we will have some kind of disbursement linked indicators (DLI). Within this scheme, we are discussing there are two components: strategic investment plan and disbursement linked indicators. You have seen that is a central sector scheme of more than 6,000 crore, came in the budget of 2022, and it is being supported by the World Bank. More than half of the budget is being given by the World Bank. So the entity or person who will be giving money, definitely they put some condition. So condition is that both the central and state government firstly should identify what are the challenges, what are the bottlenecks in the MSME sector, and that will form a part of strategic investment plan. And then on the basis of some indicators that whether you are addressing those challenges or not, we will have some kind of disbursement linked indicators. Disbursement linked indicators, DLI. And on the basis of these disbursement indicators, we will be giving money. Okay, so this is a RAMP scheme, raising and accelerating MSME performance. Now let's look into the other government measures, other kind of efforts government has been taking. Trade receivables accounting system is very much related to what we have just now studied, that is of Samadhan portal, to address the payment issue of MSME sector. Where I told you that governments and many large industry, they outsource some of the production to these small MSME units. Okay, so let's see how it is related to that. So if suppose there is a unit, MSME unit M1. This is a small MSME unit M1. It's micro, small, medium, whatever. It is smaller than large scale industry. And suppose there is other industry, very large industry L1. Now I have told that not all the production by L1, whatever production is required by L1, not all of that will be done by L1 alone. Some of that will be outsourced. And suppose this is outsourced to this unit M1. So they said that we need some goods or intermediates or raw material. You provide that cost. So this is outsourced. So this M1 produce those goods, whatever the quantity that is demanded, and provided those goods to L1. So goods have been provided from M1 to L1. Now suppose in production of these goods, M1 has spent 100 crore rupees. But suppose that only 100 crore was there with M1. That was only capital, only money that was available to them. And all of that they have spent on production of these goods which came as an order to them from L1, from this large industry, from this large unit. Now, in ideal case, as soon as the L1 get these goods, they should pay back money for them. But it's not a situation which is actually prevailing in the real world. The coming of money from L1 to M1 takes time. And this time can be sometimes more than 6 months. So there is a kind of delayed payments. Delayed payments for the goods that has been going from M1 to L1, from small units or MSME unit to large industry. Or even you can say government. Many times government is also sourcing the goods from MSME units. So this delayed payment, what is the consequence of this delayed payment? Suppose at the same time, when they have already given their goods to the L1, they got some another order from another unit L2. And to serve this order, they need 50 crore rupees. Suppose to provide this order, they need 50 crore rupees, but they are not having any money, any working capital, any finance with them. So to solve this kind of situation of working capital issues which are arising from the delayed payments from one party to another, especially in the MSME sector, RBI in 2014 brought in FLEX, trade receivable discounting system. And they said there can be another party, suppose this F. What this party will do, it will ask M1 or M1 will go to this party that these goods and the payments related to these goods are now your responsibility. So you take money from M1 and these goods are worth 100 crore rupees. You give me some money by subtracting, by removing your commission. So F say, yes, take 99 crore rupees, 1 crore is my commission for doing all this kind of work, of waiting for 6 months or 1 year to get the money from L1. So all these kind of dirty work I'll do, you take 99 crore rupees, and for this dirty work, 1 crore is the commission. So now it becomes the responsibility of F to take money from L1. Now this whole activity, or this whole process of taking money from L1 and giving this discounted money, 99 crore after subtracting 1 crore as your commission to M1 is called factoring business. And for doing this factoring business, for promoting this factoring business, this Flex platform has been promoted by the RBI. So this is trade receivable discounting system. Receivables because these goods are defined as receivables. Because in lieu of these goods, in lieu of this order, F will be getting money. So that right has been sold to F by M1. That's why trade receivable discounting system. And if this person M1 within a short period of time get 99 crore, so definitely they can serve this order also. So that's how working capital issue in MSME sector is being solved or resolved. But the problem is the idea is good, but it's not working very well in case of India. So TRES platform for facilitating the discounting of trade receivables of MSME through multiple financials. So multiple factors are there. Factors are those kind of financial activity which has been allowed by the RBI that they can be that F. This F. So they can act as F and they can carry out factoring business. If same kind of things, one more thing, if same kind of things are happening in export and imports, then instead of factoring, it's called forfeiting. Forfeiting. Okay. So another thing, Champions portal, it is again a single window grievance redressal portal for the MSME. So Champions, Samadhan, TREDS, ECLGS, RAM, all these kinds of measures have been taken in the recent years by the government, by the RBI for promotion of MSME sector or to improve the performance of MSME sector. Now look into this electronics industry. This has also been discussed in this economic survey in that particular chapter 9 of industry. And they say that electronics industry has a potential to be key driver of manufacturing output exports. We are going all out for digital economy, for industrial revolution 4.0. If you have to carry out these kind of activities, definitely we need a very sound electronic industrial base. And for that, government has been taking many steps. See, if you look at this electronics industry, it has been valued at 118 billion financial year 20, and economic survey says government has aimed to reach 300 billion worth of manufacturing and USD 120 billion in exports by financial year 26. So not only government is aiming to increase the production of electronics industry or the electronics industry, but also to divert some of this production for exports to earn foreign exchange. What are the major drivers within our electronics industry? These are mobile phones, consumer electronics, and industrial electronics. No hard science to understand this. Of course, mobile phones, consumer electronics, industrial electronics, all these have been propelling the growth of the electronics industry. Smart cities mission and Internet of Things are further streamlining the demand. So electronics industry is having a potential to be key driver of manufacturing and exports. Figures have been given, major drivers have been given, and also some of the missions like smart cities mission and Internet of Things, all of them, these have been acting as a major driver of electronics industry. Now, what are the kind of measures economic survey has mentioned the government has been taking for the promotion of electronics industry? One is PLI scheme. In PLI, 14 sectors are there, and electronics manufacturing was the first sector which was allowed in the PLI scheme. Large scale electronics manufacturing. Then PLI is also for IT hardware. The scheme for the promotion of manufacturing electronic component and semiconductor spec system. Apart from this, if you look at the major scheme is Semicon India mission. That is Semiconductor India mission. If you have to promote electronics industry, you have to promote various kind of appliances which are made in the electronics industry, then definitely you need a sound semiconductor base for this country. And semiconductors in India are almost 100% imported. Semiconductor chips or other integrated circuits, microprocessors, all of them are imported in India. That's why the government is promoting them, a production of them through Semicon India mission. And within Semicon India mission only, one of the components is design link incentive for display fabs. Display fabs. Other than that, integrated circuits, ICs, systems of chips, SoCs, all of them have been promoted within Semiconductor India mission only. Now, what are the measures government is taking to ease coal production? So you'll see government measures, private participation in coal production is encouraged, FDI and automatic route is allowed, auctioning of coal blocks for commercial production that we discussed, and also expansion of existing mines and opening of new mines. So all of these are measures that have been mentioned in the economic survey for increasing coal production or coal availability in Indian economy. And they are saying as a result, the coal production for financial year 23 is estimated to increase to 911 million tons, which will be of 70% higher as compared to the previous year. So because of all these measures, we are expecting that coal production in India will increase by 17%, and most probably, or at least there is a kind of possibility that we might not get the same kind of news this year of coal shortage or of coal availability. Now let's look into the textile sector. Now, what are the kind of issues they have mentioned, the kind of steps government has taken for the textile sector? So textile sector, one of the country's most significant source of employment generation after agriculture. Textile is the largest employment generator in India. Now, figure shows this particular figure. Export of textile moderated by less than uptake in revenue garment exports. And the other one, FDI equity flow in the textile. So FDI equity flow, they say in the economic survey that it is yet to recover. It is down in the last 4 years. It has significantly reduced. So in financial year 19, it was more than 100 million. In financial year 20, it was close to 200 million. Then it dipped to a very low level of less than 20 million. Then it increased next year, and again it dipped, and it is hovering around 40 million, or less than 50 million. So from 200 million, around 220, financial year 20, it has decreased to less than 50 million. So FDI, or especially FDI equity flow in the textile sector, is suffering a major blow due to COVID pandemic. Second one, they are saying export of textile moderated by less than uptake in ready-made garment export. So textiles and ready-made garment, you can see that these trends are not very important. They cannot ask directly, or they will definitely not ask directly most of the trends in the textile sector. But for the sake of information, you can see that how the export of textiles is moving. It reduced in financial year 21, and then in 22 it again saw an uptick, and then it again reduced in ready-made garments. Again the same kind of picture is there. It reduced in financial year 21, then a slight uptick, and then again a slight uptick was seen in financial year 23. Now, after digesting these two information that export of textile and ready-made garment has also suffered due to COVID pandemic, and FDI equity inflows in textile sector has also suffered due to COVID pandemic and the Russia Ukraine war. Let's look into what they have done in this slide. They are saying 4.5 crore people are directly engaged in the textile sector. Textile sector is facing the challenge of moderating exports and reduced bank credit. So exports are going down. FDI equity inflows have also gone down, and bank credit has also gone down in the textile sector. So what are the measures government has taken for the last few years to promote textile sector? One of the major, in fact, the most important measure government has taken is PM Mitra scheme. Prime Minister Mega Integrated Textile Regional Apparel Park. Now these are the hubs, in a way that they will have all infrastructure facilities which will be required for the promotion of textile sector. Everything will be there, and they have been set up as a mega, as a large park to create an integrated textile value chain. Again, textile is one of the sectors which has been included within production link incentive scheme. So two most important measures: PM Mitra scheme, and another one is textile PLI scheme. Now let's look at the pharmaceutical sector. The pharmaceutical sector plays a prominent role in the global pharmaceutical industry, and India is third by volume and 14th by value. In fact, India is categorized as global pharmacy capital. Pharmacy capital. And various events in the past, whenever there is a kind of medical emergency, India has proved that. In fact, even during COVID pandemic, we were supplying large-scale medicines and vaccines to needy countries. So we have again proved that we are the global pharmacy capital. In fact, we are the largest provider of generic medicine globally. Around 20% of the generic medicine in the global scale are being provided by India. And India's pharmacy sector is estimated at $41 billion in 2021. And economic survey says it is estimated to increase to 65 billion by 2024. So India's pharmaceutical sector has bright future as seen by the economic survey. By 2024, it is expected to increase by more than 50% from $41 billion to $65 billion. Now let's look into these two figures. First of these figures says something about growth in pharmaceutical exports. Another one, high inflow of FDI in the pharma sector. If you look at the FDI in the pharma sector, right from financial year 19 till financial year 23, there has been consistent rise. And in financial year 23 as compared to financial year 19, it has increased fourfold. So 4 times it has increased as compared to financial year 19 when seen from financial year 23. Whereas if you look at the growth in the pharmaceutical export, you see that as compared to financial year 2022, in financial year 2023, there has been growth in the pharmaceutical exports. So in 19 it was close to 14 billion. In 20, it was higher than 19. Then it again increased. Then again there was a consistent increase, and then again in 23 it increased as compared to 22. So pharmaceutical exports from financial year 19 till 23 is witnessing strong growth. Now let's look into the government measures for the pharmaceutical sector. First one is three production link incentive schemes for API, active pharmaceutical ingredients, drug intermediates, and key starting material. These all are the raw material in the pharma sector. And for the production of all of these, government has brought in PLI scheme. If you look at the figures have been mentioned here of critical KSM, DIs and APIs, of medical devices, of pharmaceuticals overall. You can read it out for yourself. They are not that important. These figures are not that important for the prelims exam and mains exam. But the idea is that government has brought in three production link incentive schemes. Of course, apart from this, government has brought in extending the pharmaceutical industry scheme, SPI scheme, to strengthen the existing infrastructure facility in pharma sector and to I'm going to ask you, what are the kind of schemes that have been running in the pharma sector in India? So one is PLI, another is SPI, Strengthening the Pharmaceutical Industry, and another one is bulk drug party scheme. To reduce the cost of bulk drug. In fact, the question related to the pharmaceutical sector has already been asked in many examinations in recent years. So pharmaceutical sector is something which you cannot ignore, and these are the kind of observations that has been made by the economic survey with respect to the pharmaceutical sector. So you can at least have a hold on this fact that we are the largest provider of generic medicine globally, 20% share, and it is estimated the pharmaceutical industry as of now is estimated at around 41 billion, and then service schemes. Now, after discussing pharmaceutical sector, let's look into the automobile sector. Now, what are the kind of observations that has been made by the economic survey with respect to the automobile sector? Now, let's first look into the figure. The first one says something about rising automobile sales, and these rising automobile sales they say in 23 as compared to 22, and moderation in automobile exports and weakening global demand again in 23 as compared to 22. So rising automobile sales, two kind of automobiles they are saying, 2 and 3 wheelers and passenger vehicles. So you can see passenger vehicles by orange and 2 and 3 wheelers depicted by blue color. So automobile sales have risen as compared to 22 and 23. So it has risen, no doubt in that. Secondly, there has been moderation in automobile exports, and this moderation they say is because of the weak global demand. Now India is also one of the major export of automobiles, but because economics say because of the weak global demand, this has reduced both in 2 and 3 wheelers and also in the passenger vehicles. From 22 to 23 it has reduced. So automobile sales domestically has increased, but exports have reduced. Now, but the economic survey says India is the third largest market in the automobile sector. India was the largest manufacturer of 2 wheelers and 3 wheelers and the fourth largest manufacturer of passenger cars in 2021. It contributes 7%, around 7.1% to the overall GDP and 49% to the total manufacturing GDP. This automobile sector contributes 7% to the overall GDP and 49% to the total manufacturing GDP. And if you look at the government measures, two most important government measures that have been running right now in the automobile sector. One is production linked incentive scheme, and another is very surgical kind of measure for electric vehicles, EVs. That is FAME 1 and FAME 2 scheme. Means FAME 1 scheme was later modified to FAME 2. Some kind of modification was done, and that's why we have second version of FAME scheme called FAME 2. Now FAME is nothing but faster adoption of manufacturing of electric vehicles, EVs, and then in bracket hybrid. Faster adoption of manufacturing electric vehicles in bracket hybrid. Okay, that is FAME. So two version 1 and 2. So these are the two most important schemes that have been running in the automobile sector.
Now, after this subsectoral analysis of various industrial sector, now another thing economic survey notes
is India's role as a key player in the global supply chain. Now we know, as of today in the modern world, goods are not produced in one particular country. Rather, the production process is very desegregated, and then later on it gets integrated in a supply chain. So raw material is sourced from one country, production takes place in another country, packaging takes place in another country, and then finally consumers are deciding in some other country. So this is a supply chain that is running. And economic survey notes that India should be a key player in the global supply chain, especially because of the recent event that has happened, like of US-China trade war, COVID-19 pandemic, or Russia-Ukraine conflict. It all shows that India has to reduce its dependence in firstly only one country. Secondly, it has to integrate itself in this kind of global supply chain so that we are an important stakeholder. They say, the economic survey notes that we cannot be an isolated player in this globalized world. We have to be a key partner, key player in the global supply chain. In fact, if you look at because of these many events, what has been happening, strategically companies are diversifying their production. So earlier they were too much dependent. Global large companies were too much dependent on China. Now they are going for China plus one strategy. China plus one strategy means apart from China, they are looking for some other major country which can be a partner in their production process. And economic survey and many experts are noting that India can be a viable alternative. But to become a viable alternative, we have to take many steps so that these companies are attracted into India. So India has a unique opportunity to strengthen its place in the global supply chain and become a global manufacturing hub because we have a opportune moment right now because companies have been going for China plus one strategy. So this was a short note within this chapter only. India is a key player in the global supply chain. Now, one small discussion within the economic survey is with respect to the innovation in India. And this is a buzzword, especially with respect to the current government. They are promoting innovation and emphasizing innovation too much. Because if there is innovation, then only the sectors like startups or research or development, all these things can be promoted in India. Now, if you look at innovation, 2022 was a special year because in 2022, if you look at global innovation index ranking, which is actually released by World Economic Organization, we were in the top 40 in the world's most innovating country. And in some of the parameters, we were in the topmost. So this top 40 ranking means 40th ranking we got across the world. Compare it with 2015 ranking, that was 81. So from 81, within 7 years, in 2022, we moved to 40th rank. And that's why this was too special for India that India is doing very well in the innovation space. Now, if you look at the government efforts to foster innovation, so government is promoting incubation, government is promoting funding, government is also promoting industry academic partnership. So government is working in a very logical way. Not only that, mentorship, IPR regime is being strengthened, legal compliance has been reduced, and promotion of women entrepreneurs and small industries in innovation sector. So all kind of multi-dimensional steps government has been taking. So for incubation, they have Atal Innovation Incubation Center, not only for the private universities, for colleges, but also at community level. So we have something called Atal Incubation Centers for the private university, for college, and also Atal Community Innovation Centers for incubation at community level. Then we have schemes for funding like startup grants and technology, incubation and development entrepreneur, Type 2.0 scheme. The industry academic partnership is being encouraged. Mentorship is being promoted through Mark Portal like Startup India. It's strengthened IPR regime. In fact, we have new IPR policy to promote innovation in India. Burden of legal compliance has been reduced, and women entrepreneurs have been encouraged, especially if you look at Niti Aayog is having something called women entrepreneurship platform. The small industries within Atal Innovation Mission only, we have one of the component called ARISE, Atal Research and Innovation for Small Enterprises. So across the board, innovation is being promoted among women entrepreneurs, amongst small enterprises. Burdens have been reduced, IPR regime has been strengthened, mentorship is being provided, funding is being ensured, incubation is being promoted, and industry academic partnership is being encouraged. So government is dealing with innovation in a holistic manner. If you look at the impact of the government measures, so there is 46% growth in the domestic filing of patents over 2016 to 21. 2016 was the year IPR policy, new IPR policy came in, which was dealing comprehensively with IPR awareness, IPR generation, then looking into the administrative and legal issues of IPR. So it also comprehensively dealt with all the issues of the IPR. In fact, fees for filing of patent was also reduced. Then India's entry among the top 40 innovating countries for the first time in 2022. Global Innovation Index, which is given by WIPO. That's an important preliminary fact. India became the most innovative nation in the lower middle income group, overtaking Vietnam and leading the Central and South Asian region in this GI ranking by WIPO. So we became the most innovative nation in the lower middle income group. That's what I was telling you. That in some of the parameters, we were in the topmost ranking. So in the lower middle income group, we were the most innovative nation. Now after this, another kind of discussion within the economic survey was with respect to startups. Now startup is another sector which is the apple like boy of the particular government, and they have been doing extremely well in promoting startups. And the performance of the startups can be seen from this particular figure. So this particular figure tells you about something about jobs created by the startups. So total number of jobs which are created in the startup, and this data is from DPIIT, means all the startups have registered with the DPIIT. They have reported that these are the number of jobs which were created. And if you see the numbers of jobs from 2017 to 2022, in thousands we are talking. So 43,000 it was in 2017, and in 2022, 269,000 jobs were created by the startups. It's a consistent increase. So in number of jobs created by the startups, we have seen a consistent increase in the last 6 years, 2017 to 2022. So India ranks amongst the largest startups ecosystem in the world. 9 lakh plus direct jobs have been created by the DIIT recognized startups. If you sum up all of them, 9 lakh plus jobs have been created. And about 48% of the startups are from tier 2 and tier 3 cities. It tells us that most of the startups are coming from the smaller cities. Unlike the general outlook we have that these startups are something which are common from metropolitan cities. So no, these are coming mostly from the smaller cities. So government measures, the government has taken many measures for the startups. In fact, in the last 6-7 years, in 2016, the Startup India Mission was started by the government as an umbrella scheme to promote the startups in India. And after that, government has taken many measures within the Startup India Mission and also apart from the Startup India Mission. And these are the measures. First, the Startup India Initiative, which government took in 2016, which is an umbrella scheme to promote startups in India. Then NIDI Initiative, National Initiative for Development Harnessing Innovation within the startups. Article Innovation Mission, again, innovation to deliver innovation, and only startups can be encouraged and there will be startup, then more innovation can be there. So startup and innovation, they have self-reinforcing effect on each other. Fund of funds for startups, as was created, this was within the Startup India Mission. Credit guarantee scheme for startups, the Startup Hub, and Type 2 scheme. Technology incubation and development of entrepreneur scheme. So these are the measures that have been taken by the government to promote the startup sector in India. And most important is the Startup India Initiative and Article Innovation Mission. Most of these schemes will somehow be included in these two initiatives only. Now, if you see these are the measures which are taken by the government to promote startups, you can directly mention because there is some question in the mains. Therefore, the measures government has taken to promote startups, directly you can quote all these measures. So this can be a good repository for your mains answer. Now, these are the measures that government took, but startups in India are also facing with many challenges. So though the challenge of incubation, innovation, funding, or patent-related issues, all of them have been solved. At least a clear has been made by the government. A willingness has been shown by the government to address these kind of challenges. But there is one particular set of challenges in which government is showing least willingness to solve it, and that is with respect to regulatory environment and tax structure related challenges of the startup. So one kind of word you will always listen with respect to startup, especially so in the recent times. It was there in 2017, 2018 also, but for the time being it got somehow faded, and later on again it's in the news, and that is the angel tax. Now this angel tax has nothing to do with the angels as such. This angel word in the angel tax has to do everything with the angel investors. Angel investors. So there is no angle of that angel here. There is only the angle of angel investors. Now, what is the issue with the angel tax and why this is so complicated an issue and so troubling an issue? So let's discuss this concept of angel tax. Now, what happens? Suppose this is a startup. Suppose this is a startup. It has some idea because startups are working on ideas for innovation. Now, it has some idea and it says that it needs some money to fund this idea, to convert the idea into some kind of business proposition, into some kind of business proposal. It needs some money. Now, there is an investor, angel investor. Angel investors are mainly those kind of investors which invest at the initial stages in these startups, especially when the startups are in the ideation stage, at the stage of ideas. And mostly they are related to friend, but sometimes they can be non-related or non-friend also. They believe in the idea and they give you money. Now, this is startup. It speaks to this angel investor. This is an idea and I need some money. This angel investor says, okay, 100 crore is given. You give me 10% stake. So 10% stake is given and 100 crore rupee you take. Now, the government has a reason to question this. Government says your startup is unlisted first. Unlisted. So how can you can say that 10% of your this idea, which is just an idea, can be worth of 100 crore? Means you are saying 100% is of 1,000 crore. You are saying that your startup is worth 1,000 crore and it's just at an ideation stage. Government says and government argues, tax official argues that it can be a channel to park ill-gotten money, to park black money. Suppose this angel investor is not that angel investor, it comes out to be devil who has black money and he has just or she has just parked this 100 crore in this startup. That black money is being parked in this particular startup. So 10%, 100 crore, park. The government says justify this value. Firstly, 10%, 100 crore, justify and also justify this value of the startup 1,000 crore. Now there are different kind of methodologies that are used in justifying the value of startups. There are different formulas. Let's avoid going to that formulas and let's have a broad discussion that there can be one way to approach the formula from the startup side and there can be another way or another formula which tax official may use. And most of the time they come on different valuation. So on the basis of one formula, the startup owner may come, suppose he may say or she may say that yes, my 100% is worth 1,000 crore. It's justified. But government says no, according to our analysis, according to our observation, according to our calculation, your 100% is not 1,000 crore, rather it's just 500 crore. So your valuation is more than fair market valuation, FMV. Your valuation is more than fair market valuation. This is the kind of word which is used, fair market valuation. You are overvaluing your company. So if you are overvaluing your company, then this 10% is not 100 crore. Rather this 100 crore, if we go by, if 500 crore is 100%, then 10% is 50 crore and 100 crore is 20%. So they are saying that this 100 crore is of 20% and 10 crore is just 50 crore. But 10% is just 50 crore. So difference of 100 crore minus 50 crore, you have to pay tax on. Pay tax on. So pay tax on this difference. Your 10% is just 50 crore, 10% is not 100 crore. So on the difference between 100 crore and 50 crore, pay tax. And that tax is angel tax. That tax is angel tax. And because of this tax, government may have their own conception. They are saying it might be black money. That's why it's been overvalued by startups because they wanted some amount of money. This person was having black money. And in the overvalued startup, which is valued more than the fair market valuation, they are ready to get this share. So we are legally obliged, or we are rightfully obliged to impose tax on this kind of transaction, which is not somewhere supported by the facts. So they are saying it's above fair market valuation, above fair market valuation. This deal is above fair market valuation. The person who is owning startup is not able to justify the valuation of startup. Therefore, we are imposing tax, and this tax is angel tax. And why this person, according to government, why this person is investing in this kind of idea, which is promoted by this startup, which is a overvalued idea? Because government is saying, or tax officials are saying, it might be the reason that this person is having the black money, and he or she wants to convert it to white, and that's why they are buying the share at overvalued proposition. But this startup may say, this is a very invalid argument, and it's very difficult to value my idea. My idea will be able to get concretized, or monetized only after 2-3 years. So how can you at the ideation stage are only saying that it is valued more than the fair market valuation? So both of them are somewhere right, but because it's the issue of startups, and they are somewhere feeling that they are being harassed by these kind of nonsense calculations, because startups are running on the back of idea innovation, and it's not always possible to quantize these ideas and innovation into these kind of mathematical valuations. So they're saying they are being harassed by the angel tax. Many startups, in fact, got shut down because of these kind of heavy angel tax, which is around 30%. So 30% of the difference between the overvalued money you have to pay tax on, and that tax will be borne by startups. So definitely they will be having heavy burden or imposed with heavy burden. So what they are doing now is, with all their assets, with all their intellectual properties, with all their patents, they are moving outside India. They are running business in India, but they are registering themselves outside India in some favorable territory where taxation rules are much more relaxed, where regulatory challenges are not not that dominating as they are in India. So they are registering them outside India. And this process of startups with all their assets in different form, money, their balance sheets, their patents, intellectual property rights, transferring them from India to outside India. Economics they say this is a process of flipping of startups. So they are saying it's a flipping of startups. So flipping is something which is being seen in case of India. Now this was just one reason why startups are flipping, why startups are registering themselves outside India in a better regulated environment in a country which has a favorable treatment to them. But they are doing business in India only, but they are registering themselves outside India. So this is just one of the reasons. There are many other reasons we have discussed in the economics survey. And they say that if Indian startups have to be prevented from getting flipped, if you have to prevent more and more startups from getting flipped, you have to take some measures. Some of the measures they have discussed in the economics survey in one of the box. Okay, so this is the discussion which they are doing with respect to startups. They are trying to tell us a new word, a word which is called flipping. So here they have explained effect on flipping on the structure of the company. So there is a company, Indian company, startup company. Earlier it was having both resident shareholders and non-resident shareholders. Resident shareholder means which are residing in India, and non-resident shareholder means foreign shareholders. Now what is happening? Both resident shareholders and non-resident shareholders, all their assets, they are transferring to some company which is registered in a favorable territory or favorable country like US or Singapore, and from there they are controlling the Indian company. So this is the flipping process. This is pre-flipping and this is post-flipping. And economic services that we have to prevent this thing, or in fact we have to bring all these children back and we have to go for reverse flipping. And then for reverse flipping, they mention some of the steps which you can take. Okay, so this was the discussion with respect to startups within this particular chapter. Now let's look at the final section of the industry chapter, and that is India and Industry 4.0. Now what they say about India Industry 4.0 means fourth industrial revolution. Now we have seen there are various industrial revolutions that have happened in the world in the last 3 or 4 centuries. So there was something called IR 1.0, then Industrial Revolution 2.0, IR means Industrial Revolution, then Industrial Revolution 3.0, and then Industrial Revolution 4.0. Right now we are experiencing something called Industrial Revolution 4.0. In India, we have not seen any of these industrial revolutions in the sense we wanted it, and that's why industry is so complicated a topic with respect to the Indian economy. Okay, so we have not fully seen the kind of industrial revolution which has been seen by other countries. That was my context. So Industrial Revolution 1.0 was seen in 18th century, 2.0 in 19th century, 3.0 20th century, and 4.0 right now in 21st century. Industrial Revolution 1.0 was mainly going for mechanized production. With machines, we started producing things. For example, like steam and all those kinds of things, they started getting used. In 19th century, we saw Industrial Revolution 2.0, where we went for mass production on the back of electricity or power. So these were used extremely well to go for mass production. Industrial Revolution 3.0 in the last century, in the 20th century, we witnessed, and that was mostly on the back of chemical technology. And now Industrial Revolution 4.0, which we are witnessing, which we will discuss here. And we'll see what economics survey tells about India and Industrial Revolution 4.0, IR 4.0. And that is a digital age, where the physical and virtual world and the defenses and the wars are disappearing. They are coming closer and closer to each other. And this is on the back of extreme use of internet, data, artificial intelligence, things like virtual reality, things like Internet of Things. So all these kinds of things have been used excessively, extremely, to feed this Industrial Revolution 4.0. Now see, after looking into this basic, what this Indian Industry Revolution 4.0 tells us, especially with respect to economic survey, it says Industry 4.0 integrates new technologies such as cloud computing, IoT, Internet of Things, machine learning, artificial intelligence into manufacturing process, leading to efficiency across the value chain. So the differences between the virtual and physical world is coming down or decreasing. Adoption of Industry 4.0 began in India also, but large scale adoption is yet to happen. That is the observation of economic survey. However, an enabling environment is leading the process in India, and this enabling environment is ensured by these kind of things: internet penetration, digital India campaign, self-reliance in semiconductor technology and production. We saw what the government is doing for feeding this semiconductor industry in India. Samarth initiative, Udyog Bharat 4.0 to enhance competitiveness of Indian business in the Indian capital sector, and government excessive focus on research, development, innovation. We saw federal innovation mission, startup. All these are focusing on research and development only. So because of all these factors, Industry 4.0 is being encouraged in India. That is the observation of the economic survey. Okay, so this was the discussion with respect to the industry chapter of the economic survey. We are done with the 9th chapter. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Byju's Exam Prep IAS. Welcome back to our discussion on economic survey of the year 2022-23.
Let's start the discussion with chapter number 10, which is titled as Services, Source of Strength. Now there's no wonder. Services in India is a source of strength for Indian economy. And time and again we discuss. In fact, multiple times within the economic survey discussion only, I told you, that services contribute around 54% of the GDP of India. And if any sector, irrespective of country, contributes more than half of the GDP or more than half of the national income of that particular country, we can safely say that that particular sector is a source of strength for that particular country or that particular economy. And in this case, services are a source of strength for Indian economy. Now, it also means that if Indian economy has to perform well, Indian economy has to grow over time, that it is but important that services also grow with high pace. So service sector is a steel frame of the Indian economy in that sense. Now, what are the kind of observations the economic survey makes in this particular chapter with respect to service sector? Economic survey says the service sector in India is experiencing broad-based recovery. Now, two important events which we are discussing time and again are COVID pandemic and Russian Ukraine war. Because of COVID pandemic and Russian Ukraine war, all the sector, including service sector, got impacted. And economic survey says the service sector is now recovering. Now, if you look at and recall the kind of categorization on the basis of contact we made for service sector in the first chapter. In first chapter, I told you on the basis of contact, service sector can be categorized into contact-based and non-contact or contactless service sector. Contact-based service sector, there I told you, can be tourism industry, hotel industry, or restaurant. Non-contact or contactless can be services like IT services. Now, if you look at the contact-based service sector, including the example of the contact-based service sector, you can easily see that for the provision of these services or for taking these services, we need to have some kind of human contact. Whereas for contact-based service sector, non-contact-based service sector, there is no such need of, or there is no such mandatory need of human contact. Now, due to COVID-induced lockdown, this particular subsector of the service sector was impacted most across the world and even in case of India. Now, economic survey says that this is now recovering. Also, this particular sector was not that much impacted due to COVID-induced lockdown or due to the fear of the spread of virus, because it was not having that much need of the human contact for carrying out its activities. But economic survey says, though it was not that much impacted due to COVID-induced lockdown, but due to COVID-induced slowdown in the developed economies, or due to slowdown due to Russian-Ukraine war in the developed economies, or due to the policies that we discussed that was followed by the developed economies, and because of which there is a slowdown in these economies, this particular sector is expected to face the brunt. Now, why economic survey is saying that this particular sector may face the brunt in the future, in the coming time, or at least saying that there are fears that it may, economic survey is saying that this particular sector may face the brunt in the future, in the coming time, or at least saying that there are fears that it may face the brunt, because if you look at IT services in India, which is of course a non-contact or contactless service sector in India, most of these IT services in India are exported. And where they are exported to developed economies, developed or advanced economies. Now, more than 80% of our IT service exports are in countries like US, UK, or European Union countries. So there's a very concentrated market for IT service export. Though we are trying to diversify it, but it's not that much possible for India's IT service exports. Now, if these economies face some kind of slowdown or some kind of recession, then definitely exports, IT service exports will also face impact. And because of that service sector will be hit. And because service sector is a source of strength for the Indian economy will also face the heat. Indian economy will also face the heat. Indian economy will also be impacted. And that is the kind of broad observation that is being made implicitly or explicitly by the economic survey. Now, how the economic survey has dealt with this chapter and how we will be dealing will be exactly following the approach of the economic survey chapter only. So first we will be looking at the overview of the service sector. Then we will be looking at the assessment of the performance of the service sector through four broad high frequency indicators. And these four broad high frequency indicators are PMI services, bank credit, FDI inflow into the service sector, and services trade. So we will look into the performance of the service sector through PMI services, through bank credit, how much bank credit has gone into the service sector, how much FDI is going to the service sector, what kind of steps government is taking to increase this FDI into the service sector, and what has been the performance of services trade. Then we will go into the sub-sectoral analysis of the service sector. Like we will look into the hotel and tourism industry's performance, how they got impacted during COVID-induced lockdown, and how they are recovering now, what are the kind of steps government is taking. We look into sectors like insurance, we look into sectors like real estate, we look into sectors like e-commerce, IT, BPM, information technology, business process management, and finally we look into the digital financial services, what are the kind of steps government is taking to promote digital financial services. Now these are the kind of things or important things which have been discussed in the economic survey, and that's why we have curated and brought them into our discussion. Now let's start with the first slide and discuss service sector overview. Now it says that India is among the top 10 services exporting countries in 2021 and have a share of 4% in the world commercial services export. Now this is an important preliminary fact that India is among the top 10 services exporting countries and India has a share of 4% in world commercial services export. Services, as we have discussed, are witnessing broad-based recovery as per the economic survey. Hospitality and tourism industry, which are content-based service sector, have fully recovered. That is the kind of observation economic survey makes. But economic survey says that there are fears, and those fears are because of the fears of recession in the developed economies or advanced economies, and these fears or these recession may impact our IT service export, IT service export may impact our service sector may impact the economy. This is what is written in these three lines, that external exogenous factors, bleak economic outlook in advanced economies may impact the growth prospect of the service sector of India through trade and other linkages. I hope this point is very clear. I discussed it twice. Now, let's look into the trends in high frequency indicators, and through these high frequency indicators, let's assess the performance of the service sector. Now, what are the high frequency indicators? High frequency indicators are nothing but some broad indicators, some macro aggregate, which are frequently released in a month or in a week, and through these indicators we can assess the performance of some sectors like service sector or industry sector. Now, here we are discussing four that we have already seen. What four we have been discussing? Service PMI, bank credit, service trade, and FDI flow. Let's start with service PMI. It says services PMI remained in the contractionary zone during 2020-2021. Now, what do you mean by the contractionary zone of services PMI? Now, PMI is purchasing manager index. Now, if PMI is less than 50 for either services or industrial manufacturing, then we can say that that is showing contractionary growth in the sector. So, if services PMI is less than 50, means there is contraction that is going on in the service sector. If PMI services is more than 50, it means expansion is going on. Expansion or growth is going on. Is being witnessed. Being witnessed. In that particular sector here for service sector. It says services PMI remained in the contractionary zone during 2020 and 2021, but it started recovering at the beginning of 2022. And again witnessed a setback with the outbreak of the Russia-Ukraine conflict because there was geopolitical tension. But since then, since December 2022, it remained in the expansionary zone. That means since December 2022, our service sector is expanding, it's not contracting, it's expanding. So you can see this through this figure. This whole story is encapsulated in this particular figure. Now you see the service sector from March 19 till March 20, it was hovering in this 50 figure, which tells you about whether services expanding or services are contracting. So it was hovering around the zero figure, then it started rising up, and then in March 20 or after March 20, it died. Then it started recovering, then again expansionary zone, then again it died, it dip, then again it recovered, and then after March 2022, that is last financial year, after March 2022, it is consistently in expansionary zone. That is what is written here. That it was intensively moving up and down, but after March 2022, it is consistently in the expansionary zone. So that is the story services PMI tells you about the service sector performance of India. Now let's look into what the other high frequency indicator bank credit tells. Bank credit, economic survey, has witnessed significant growth since October 2021. Credit to wholesale, retail trade, and industries have increased, but there is uncertain growth prospect in the global market and uneven credit allocation in the transport sector, which has led to decline in credit to shipping and aviation sector. So though bank credit is increasing overall in the service sector, but a particular subsector of the service sector, that is shipping and aviation sector, in that bank credit is not increasing, that it is increasing in decline. So that is what the story of bank credit or the high frequency indicator bank credit tells you about the service sector. Let's see this also through a figure. Credit offtake by the service sector registered double-digit growth since April 2022. So they are saying since April 2022, they have said March 2022. So after this month, March 2022, you can see that credit growth is increasing, and bank credit growth of the service sector is also increasing, but with the exception of shipping and aviation sector. Overall credit growth is increasing in absolute figure also. This is absolute figure. These are absolute figures. These bars are absolute figures. Absolute figures also is consistently increasing since April 2022. But within that, within the overall service sector, shipping and aviation sector bank credit is decreasing. Now let's look into the third high frequency indicator, which is services trade. It says world services trade volume surpassed its pre-pandemic peak. So it is talking about world services trade. World services trade is also witnessing expansion, and that expansion is now surpassed the pre-pandemic level. It is expected to remain buoyant due to spending on travel, ICT, information communication technology services, and financial services. So three most important services: travel services, financial services, and ICT services are witnessing uptick, and that's why it's expected that world services trade will also witness an increase in the coming times. But it says services trade of India may moderate due to decline in growth prospect in the major service industry economies. Again, the same thing, because major service industry economies or developed economies are witnessing decline or witnessing recession. So that's why our services export may get some kind of hit. Now again, let's see through figure. So you can see net services receipts, services export through red one, and services import through green one. Now you can see that how inconsistent the services export, services import, and net services receipts are. But in the year of 2022, from March to December, you can see the trend is towards upwards. Trend is towards upwards. So services exports remain resilient. It says amid geopolitical uncertainty. So there was geopolitical uncertainty from February 2022 to February 2022. Russia-Ukraine war started, but still though it has increased or decreased, but the trend has been towards upwards. Now let's look at the FDI in the service. That is the last high frequency indicator, which is discussed in the economic survey. It says India is the seventh largest recipient of FDI in the top 20 host countries in 2021, and FDI related information usually comes from World Investment Report of UNCTAD, United Nations Corporation for Trade and Development. In financial year 2022, it says India is the highest ever FDI inflow of $84.8 billion, of which $7 billion went for the service sector. Now what are the measures government has taken to boost investment in the service sector, especially through FDI? So government has brought in something called National Single Window System. That is the same one. That is Foreign Investment Facilitation Portal, which is studied in the industry chapter. The reconsideration of FDI and the automatic route, 100% foreign participation in telecommunication services, that is allowed, including all services and infrastructure providers. So this tells us about the story of how the service sector is performing. We are seeing that story through four high frequency indicators. Now after looking into the high frequency indicators, now let's look into the major service subsector wise performance. Let's first start with the tourism and hotel industry only. And if you see, tourism and hotel industry is a quantitative service sector, and this quantitative service sector was most victimized during COVID-19 lockdown. But the economic survey says that those kind of things are now over. Tourism and hotel industry is now recovering, and there's been robust performance that has been witnessed post-pandemic, and this is because of strong pent-up demand, that is strong latent demand that came out immediately, that burst immediately after lockdown restrictions were waived, improved confidence level, and ease restriction. Tourism sector is also witnessing high signs of revival, and India is ranked 10th out of 46 countries in the world in the medical tourism index. So now India is the preferred destination for medical tourism, and as per the medical tourism index, which is released by Medical Tourism Association, economic survey says that India is having a rank of 10 out of 46 countries in the world. Now let's look at the performance of tourism and hotel industry. So they have assessed the performance of tourism and hotel industry by looking at the indicators like hotel occupancy rate and average rate and revenue per available room. Now, if you look at this orange one, this line shows that's about the average total occupancy rate, and this blue dotted line tells you about the average 2019 level. So average 2019 levels are those kinds of levels which were prevailing in pre-pandemic times. And from pre-pandemic times, they are comparing the average hotel occupancy rate compared to the pre-pandemic times, how these hotel occupancy rates are changing or where they are as of now as compared to pre-pandemic level, whether the hotel industry has normalized or not. So you can see in Feb 20 from this pre-pandemic level, you can see it moves like average hotel occupancy rate moves like, then it again increased a bit, then again dip, then again increased a bit, then again dip. But from February 2022, it is near about hovering the average 2019 level, and that is showing that the hotel industry is recovering or almost on the path of recovery. Then if you look at the average daily rate and revenue per available room rate part, it again shows that after February 2022, if you look at average daily rate and revenue per room, it is also showing an uptake. That means tourism industry and hotel industry in India are witnessing a broad-based recovery, or at least going on the path of recovery. Then what are the measures taken by the Ministry of Tourism to reduce the impact or negative impact of the COVID on these two particular sectors within the hotel industry? So the measures are like NIDI, SATHI, and LGS CATSS, that is loan guarantee scheme for COVID affected tourism service sector. So they were given concessional loans supported by the guarantee of the government under the scheme of loan guarantee scheme for COVID affected tourism services sector. These two schemes, you can read, they are not that much important, but this is something which is relatively more important. Loan guarantee scheme. Now let's look into the insurance sector. Let's look what is the observation made by the economic service with respect to the insurance sector. The insurance sector we already discussed in chapter number 5. I would remember we discussed the concept of insurance density, insurance penetration, and various issues with respect to insurance sector. Also, the schemes of the insurance sector. Now here we'll just go through whatever kind of observation has been made in this particular chapter with respect to insurance sector. You'll find there is nothing new in these observations. So they say India will be one of the main drivers of the global insurance industry over the next decade. India is 10th largest in the world and is expected to be 6th largest by 2022. Means our insurance market is going to increase over time by 2022. Target is by 2047, every Indian will have appropriate life, health, and property insurance coverage, and every enterprise is supported by appropriate insurance solution. That is, we are planning by 2047 to have more and accessible insurance product. And some, we are trying to increase coverage of insurance and insurance product by making it more accessible. By making it more accessible. That is the sum and substance of this third point. Now, government has taken many measures. Government has brought a scheme that we have already discussed in the last chapters. That is PM Suraksham Yojana, PM Fasal Bima Yojana, Ayushman Bharat, Pradhan Mantri Jan Arogya Yojana. So there is nothing new in this particular section of the service sector. Now, let's look into real estate. Real estate was another sector which was impacted heavily by the pandemic, and it witnessed slowdown due to the pandemic. It witnessed resilient growth in the current year despite the rising interest rates, rising property prices. That is what is being observed in the economic survey. So it witnessed slowdown due to the pandemic, but in the current year of the economic survey, it says it is witnessing resilient growth, and that growth despite having high interest rate. Because we saw that because of monetary tightening, interest rates are rising across the Indian economy, across the world economies. But despite high interest rate, and interest rate I think is a cost to home buyers. So suppose we take example of home buyer only, it acts as a cost to home buyers. So despite high interest rate, the real estate sector is witnessing growth. That is what is being observed by the economic survey. What are the kind of government measures taken in this year and in last 2-3 years by the government? So interest subvention scheme under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, which is guaranteeing subsidy scheme that was launched, affordable housing fund to create sufficient liquidity in the housing sector, and National Housing Bank under the special liquidity facility of RBI ensured seamless business during pandemic. So these are the kind of schemes apart from the some other government measures which are low interest rate in housing loans, reduction in circulation stamp duties, and policy intervention by the government including housing for all and Atmanirbhar Bharat, which are in a way providing support to the real estate sector in India. Now let's look into another subsector, that is IT industry, that is information technology, business process management. Now this service sector, this subsector of the service sector is a major exporter of service in India. And we discussed most of these services are going to developed economies, US, UK, European Union countries. Now these points related to IT industry are very general. For example, this huge growth, and that growth is supported by digitalization across the region. IT industry was resilient during the pandemic because it's the first quantitative service sector, and also because of technology, because of accelerated technology adoption and digital transformation. And revenues growth year on year are witnessing 15.5% during financial year 22 as compared to 2.1% financial year 21. That is, revenues have witnessed a huge spike in the IT industry. Now these are very common points with respect to IT industry. What is important in this slide is this one, and that is the most important. In fact, important both for prelims and mains. In mains, if service sector questions there, we can quote these kind of figures, but we will study here. And also in prelims, these kind of questions are expected to be asked. See, figure 12 and figure 13. Figure 12 tells you about geographical distribution of IT DTM exports, excluding hardware, and figure 13 tells you about the segment-wise breakup of the revenue of the service sector. Now, if you see that 62% of the destination of our IT DTM service export is USA. So the major part, more than half of our IT service export, IT DTM service export is going to US, followed by UK, then European Union, then rest of the world, and then Asian Pacific region, APAC region. So you can see the 62 US, 17, 62 plus 70% UK plus 11% European Union. So it is around 79 plus 11, 90%. So 90% is concentrated to these developed economies. 62% US, 70% UK, and 11% European Union. So if there is any kind of recession or recessionary fear also in these developed economies, then our IT services exports will get impacted because of which our service sector performance will get impacted, because of which our economy will get impacted. That is what I was trying to tell you in the introduction part. Now, if you look at some segment-wise breakup of revenues, you can see that 51% is IT services, means overall service export, 51% is IT services. Then business process management is next one, 19%. Then research and development is 16%. Then software product is 6% and hardware is 8%. So overall service export, mostly it is being led by IT services export, followed by business process management. So just remember the kind of conclusion we are drawing from this particular figure, these two figures, they can be important for the prelims exam. Now, let's look into the e-commerce sector. Now, e-commerce is growing in India, but still if you see the total sale that is happening, whether it's e-commerce or any kind of commerce, e-commerce just constitutes only around 4%. So of total commerce of India, total buying and selling, e-commerce is still 4%. So there is a huge potential to increase e-commerce in India. Now, what economics are saying? E-commerce witnessed a renewed push in sharp increase in penetration, especially post-pandemic in India, and government is pushing e-commerce sector through digital economy, and measures are like growing internet penetration, because internet penetration is there, definitely e-commerce, which is nothing but electronic commerce, will increase, rising smartphone adoption, innovation in mobile technology, increased adoption of digital payment. All these have accelerated the growth of e-commerce sector in India. Another kind of points mentioned in the economic survey, or these are the kind of facts only. India's e-commerce market is projected to grow at 18% annually by 2025. So compound annual growth rate, which is expected in India's e-commerce sector according to the economic survey, is 18%. That is around 20%, double-digit growth rate. And expansion in consumer base is expected due to the expansion of e-commerce to newer segments like grocery, fruits, vegetables, general merchandise. If you see, right now everything is being sold through e-commerce, electronic commerce. So definitely more and more products will come under the neck of e-commerce. That means our base for e-commerce, growth of e-commerce is expected to be high in the coming years. Also, adoption of e-commerce and procurement by MSME. Even MSMEs are now procuring their goods and selling their goods through e-commerce channels. So this was the discussion of kind of observation that the economic survey makes with respect to the e-commerce. And finally, the last kind of subsector within the service sector discussed is with respect to digital financial services. Again, most of the points we've already discussed, but just for the sake of comprehensiveness, we are discussing all of them again. Now, it says pandemic had fintech companies to reach the underserved employee cost-effective financial services. Fact is, India is leading with a fintech adoption rate of 87%. World average is 64%. But in India, fintech adoption rate is 87%. So you can see that how a so-called less developed economy is very fast in adoption of fintech, financial technology. Now, what are the government measures that are speeding up fintech adoption? You can see account aggregator framework, account aggregator are nothing but NBFCs which are engaged in the business of providing the service of retrieving or collecting financial information pertaining to the customer. CBDC, that has been launched by the RBI last year, central bank digital currency. Then certified digital banking units announced in the budget 2022-23 because 2022 was 75th year of India's independence. So government, to increase financial inclusion, says that we will be setting up 75 digital banking units in different central districts of the country. Then general Aadhaar number 3, we have multiple bank, unified payment interface. So all of these are promoting digital financial services in India and increasing our fintech adoption rate. So this was the discussion with respect to the service sector. If you see, even the economic survey, this chapter is not that long and not many concepts are there. some facts. And the only key takeaway from this particular chapter of the service sector is you have to remember those things, especially those things which are mentioned in the figure. Those two figures, which is telling you something about the service sector export, the destination of India service sector export, and what are the destination, especially US, UK, European Union, which are constituting around 90% of our total IT service export, and then the segment-wise breakup of our service export. Those are the key takeaway of this particular chapter. Apart from them, most of the things we already discussed in multiple chapters in other chapters, so those are not that important. But that particular figure, those two figures, you have to remember. That can be important for your prelims exam. Okay, thank you. We'll meet again in another chapter, that is chapter number 11. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to Byju's Exam Prep IAS. Welcome back to a discussion on the economic survey of the year 2022-23. Let's start the discussion with the next chapter, that is chapter number 11, which is titled as External Sector. Now, if you look at the kind of discussion the economic survey had in this chapter, or we are going to have in this particular chapter, it's not going to be much different from the kind of topics or concept or the discussion you had in your two modules, one of international trade and another of international financial institutions. So all those kinds of concepts and discussion, we are going to use it again in this particular chapter of external sector. Now, I'll tell you the kind of discussion we are going to have here, but I'll tell you through some of the basics. So let's first refresh our basic of the kind of discussion we had in those two particular chapters or those two particular modules. From that, you'll be easily able to anticipate what exactly we are going to discuss in this particular chapter, what exactly economic survey has discussed in this particular chapter. So let's start our discussion of the basics first. If you look at the external sector, that is how a country is dealing with the other parts of the world or the other country. That we can, especially in terms of economics, that we can understand through something called balance of payment. Balance of payment. Now, balance of payment is nothing but an account or a statement of the transaction of the economic transaction of a particular country. So, for example, in this case, with the rest of the world, that is with all other countries. So, it's simply a statement of transaction of India with the rest of the world, or with the rest of the world. Now, if you look at the balance of payment, we have studied that broadly it is divided into two accounts. One is current account, and another is capital account. And sometimes capital account is financial account, but for the sake of simplicity, we'll just say capital account. Now, if you look at the transactions which are in current account and transactions which are in capital account, how they differ from each other. So, all the kind of transactions which are not leading to further obligations, which are not creating any further obligation on the country, or which have finality in them. So, for example, if a country, for example, India had exported some goods worth suppose $50 billion, so all that money in terms of foreign currency will come to India, and India will not have any obligation to pay it back. So, all those kind of transactions which have finality in them, which have no claim further on them by any other country or any other party, will form part of the current account. Whereas all the kind of transactions which are still not finally settled, or under which the country have further obligation to pay it back later on, will come under the capital account. Now, to actually look at the difference between the transactions of the current account and capital account, let's take an example. So, for example, if there is a migrant labor who has moved from India to a Gulf country, and if that migrant labor sends some money, remits some money back in the US dollar, suppose $10,000, he or she remits back to the country to some of the members of his family. So, that kind of transaction will form part of the current account because that particular labor was remitted back, has no further right on that money. Whereas, if the same labor, the same migrant labor, transfer that $10,000 into an NRI bank account, so he or she has every right to claim it back from the NRI bank account, and that will form part of the capital account. So, these are the differences between the nature of the transactions which are in the current account and in the capital account. Let's look into the detail. What are the further components of the current account? So, in the current account, you have two more distinctions. One of trade account, which is also called merchandise account, and another invisibles account. So, if you look at the trade account or merchandise account are those kind of things that are tangibles and which you can touch and feel. So, for example, goods. Those are merchandise and those will form part of the trade account. Now, invisibles are those kind of transactions or those kind of items which you cannot touch and feel. So, for example, services. We cannot touch and feel services just like goods. Also, for example, incomes. Also, for example, remittances, which will form part of transfers. So, all these will form part of invisibles. So, let's see. In the trade account, we'll have exports of goods and imports of goods. So, trade account mainly merchandise goods. Whereas in invisibles account, we'll have three further divisions. We'll have services, exports of services, and imports of services. Whereas in invisibles, another kind of distinctions we'll have with respect to income. And income from mainly three sources, three major sources, whether in terms of profits, or interest income, or dividend income. So income can come from profits, from interest, from dividend. It can come into India also, it can go outside India also. So finally, we'll have net income. So whatever has come into India and whatever has gone out of India, we'll adjust it, we'll subtract it, and then net, we will write it there. Similarly, in the services, we have net services exports. And the third one is transfers, which can be in terms of remittances, the kind of example I took for the migrant labor moving to the Gulf country, or donations. So suppose a developed country donated some amount of money to India. So that can be part of donation, and that will come under transfer sections of invisibles account of current account of the balance of payment. Then any kind of gift, a gift income, a gift that is coming into India, that will form part of transfer. Similarly, we'll have net transfers. That is all kind of transfers that are coming into India, or transfers that are moving out of India. And here later on, net service exports, net income, net transfers, we will have net invisibles. Okay, similarly, exports and imports. So whatever goods we have exported out of India and whatever goods we have imported into India, we will have net of that. So net of trade account, and that is nothing but trade balance. Trade balance. If we sum up both of these, net invisibles and trade balance, we get nothing but current account balance. So this is something called current account balance. This is current account balance of the current account. Similarly, capital account has different components. So for example, three most important components of the capital account are investments, which are further mainly FDI and FPI. Again, net of FDI and net of FPI we can do. So FDI is called direct investment, FPI is called portfolio investment. Then bank capital. For example, NRI accounts or NRI deposits. Account for NRI deposits. And the kind of example I took when I was telling you about the distinction between the transaction of the current account or the capital account. So when a person will send money to an NRI bank account, so that will form part of the capital account within this particular component of bank capital. And the third is loans. So all kind of loans that are taken by the government of India or taken by the private sector or given by the government of India or given by the private sector, that will form part of this loan section of the capital account, and it will be therefore can be sovereign or government loan, or external commercial borrowing by the private sector. Again, net of investment, net of bank capital, net of loans. So we get something called capital account balance. Capital account balance. Okay, so we have got current account balance, whatever net we are earning from the current account, and capital account balance, whatever net the transactions are there in the capital account. And when we sum up both the current account and the capital account, we get nothing but the balance of payment. And ideally, the balance of payment should be zero. That is, the current account transaction, capital account transaction should somewhere be settled, at least settled. That is, whatever we are trading in the current account, we should be able to balance that with the capital account. So for example, if current account is suppose minus $500 billion, that means current account is in deficit with minus $500 billion as the magnitude of that deficit. Then we should have a positive entity at least of $500 billion. So as we are able to balance our payments, we are able to balance this balance of payment, this statement of the transaction with the rest of the world. If we are not able to do that, that means we are in a throes of the crisis. We can get into the crisis mode because we do not have enough money to pay for current account transactions.
discussed about sports, imports, trade balance, they have discussed about services, export and import services, they have discussed about income, they have discussed about transfers, they have discussed about current account balance, they have discussed about capital account, investments, bank capital, loans, FDI, dividends. All this kind of discussion is the only kind of discussion that has been done in this particular chapter. And now, if you are dealing with the transactions with the rest of the world, then definitely most of that transaction will be held in foreign currency. And if you are dealing in foreign currency, one of the concepts that comes is exchange rate. So exchange rate is the another kind of discussion that has been done here. Apart from that, we'll look into foreign exchange reserves, we'll look into the discussion of external debt, and we'll look into this kind of initiative that has been taken by the government so as to promote the exports of goods and services. So this is a brief about the kind of discussion we are going to have in this particular chapter. Now I'm confident that we are able to anticipate the things which we are going to get in this chapter. So let's start a discussion. Let's first look into the scenario. Now, scenario of external sector of India is nothing different from what we have already discussed in all other 10 chapters which we have already dealt with. So for example, there is COVID, there is Russia-Ukraine war. Because of that, there was a simply expansionary monetary and fiscal policy earlier. Then authorities realized that this expansionary monetary policy is leading to inflation, which is sticky. So they started going for contractionary monetary and contractionary fiscal policy, especially contractionary monetary policy so as to contain the inflation. Now, if they are moving for the contractionary monetary policy, so it will definitely depend on the pace of the contractionary monetary policy between the developed and the developing country. Now, developing especially US was much faster in terms of going for contractionary monetary policy. So there is interest rate much faster than US. So interest rates in US rose much faster and greater than in other parts of the world. So for example, here we'll say the interest rate raised in India. Now, if interest rates in US are rising faster and greater than interest rate in India, definitely money will go out of India to US because these people who have investments across the world, especially those who are coming from US, that is the financial capital of the world, they will always go for chasing high interest rate because that interest is income to them. So if they are getting the high interest rate in their home country itself, why will they come to India or other developing countries which do not have that kind of parameters as compared to US, especially financial parameters of financial performance as compared to US? So they will definitely go to the safe country like US, especially from the financial perspective. Okay, so they will move their money out of India to US, and this is what actually happened. So when money, especially in terms of US dollar, was going out of India to US, so what we saw depreciation of INR, of Indian rupee. So there was depreciation of Indian rupee. Then RBI came in and they started supporting through foreign exchange reserves this kind of movement outside of India, especially foreign started supporting by selling foreign exchange reserves so as to increase the supply of US dollar. So interest rate rose. RBI started supporting the Indian currency by increasing the supply of US dollar or by reducing the supply of INR, and thereby our forex reserve started going down. So this is the kind of scenario which was prevailing in the last 1 year and still being prevailing somehow even today. So the fallout of the COVID and fallout of the Russia-Ukraine war was manifested in this way: depreciation of INR, money moving. When I say money, money in terms of US dollar. So US dollar moving out of India, INR depreciating, and RBI sharing foreign exchange reserves to support the fall of the or to contain the fall of the INR. So this is what actually happened in the last 1 year. So let's see in the external sector what was the kind of scenario buffeted by shock and uncertainty which was being manifested in the elevated global commodity prices, especially because of Russia-Ukraine war. Now they are saying it is easing now, it is somehow being controlled now, tightening international financial conditions, mainly because of the rising interest rates across the world, much more faster and in much more greater in terms of magnitude in developed countries like US as compared to developing countries. Heightened financial market volatility, which was nothing but a fall of this condition only, international financial conditions or tightening of financial conditions only. Reversal of capital flows from developing countries just like from India, followed by currency depreciation. Of course, it's natural we have international trade volume that whenever foreign currency will move out of India, especially US dollar will move out of India, and there is a pressure on the foreign exchange reserve, then the home currency depreciates. And looming global growth and trade slowdown. And this is largely because of the recessionary conditions that is prevailing across the world, including India, and because of which the growth and the trade is slowing down, and definitely it is looming concerns for across the world, including India. So this is the kind of scenario which is prevailing under which we were working in the last 1 year. So let's start with this figure only. It shows us something about India's trade, and they are saying it is catching up with the global trade level. So what is the parameter they have used here? They have used the trade to GDP ratio. So in y-axis they have used the parameter of total trade as a percentage of GDP, and in x-axis they have used the time period from 1991. They are showing us the time period till 2021. Now you see the 1991 the trade to GDP ratio was somewhere under 20%, and from that it has been increasing over the years. Sometime picking up, going more than 50%, then falling down, then again going up, and then falling down, and right now it is around 45%. That is 45.20. So India's trade as a percentage of GDP of India is around 45%. That is a figure which you should remember, and it is coming from less than 20% in 1991. So if you have to tell that whether 1991 reforms have paid us well, especially in terms of opening of the economy, we can put this kind of argument. Yes, they have paid us well, and we have been open, or we have opened much more as compared to what we were in 1991. So let's look at the trade to GDP ratio. It was less than 20% in 1991. Now it is more than 45%, 45.3%. Whereas if you see the world, it was under 40% in 1991. It is also increasing, and now it is somewhere around 56%. That is 56.5%. So world trade to GDP ratio is 56.5%, and India's trade to GDP ratio is 45.3%. Both India's and the world trade to GDP ratio has increased as compared to 1991. That means India, as well as the world, is opening up, is going for more exports and imports of goods and services as compared to 1991. So India is somewhere catching up with the world. It is just near about the world trade to GDP ratio, world average trade to GDP ratio of 56%, because we are somewhere around 45%. So let's see the points. So it says India's trade openness has been increasing. Definitely, we have seen the trade to GDP ratio increased from 40% in 2005 to 45.3% in 2021. So they are saying in 2005, 40% in 2005 to 45.3% in 2021. Financial year 2022 saw the highest merchandise export in the history of India at $422 billion. So financial year 22, that is year 22 to 23, has seen the highest merchandise export. Merchandise exports in trade account, we saw visibles. So highest exports in the history of India, more than 400 billion. And services exports, they are saying, has also remained robust. Now let's look into some of the key aspects of India's trade, and not all of them are important, but some of them we at least can have some idea. So for example, if you see India's export performance, so import performance and India's rank in world trade. Now the most important here is looking at the share in the world merchandise export. India's share in the world merchandise export, total world merchandise export, is 1.8% in 2021. Share in world commercial service export 4%, and overall merchandise plus service export is 2.2%. So we can remember this rate, 2.2%. India's overall share in the world merchandise plus service export is 2.2%. Import figures are not that important. Again, India's rank in world trade, we can see services exports is 7, service import is 10, merchandise exports 21, merchandise imports 14. The figure we should remember there is merchandise exports, that is 21. So a country which is third largest in terms of GDP has a rank of 21 in merchandise exports. That means though we have performed very well in the last 1 year in merchandise exports of exporting more than 400 plus billion US dollar goods, but still a rank is something which is not commensurate to the size of a country. So we should improve on that. So the only two key takeaway from this particular table is, one is share in world merchandise plus service export, which is just 2.2% of the world, and second is a rank in merchandise exports, that is 21. Merchandise export performance in a little more detail. So again the same point, all-time high annual merchandise exports in financial year 22 was seen, but in financial year 23 we are expecting a slowdown and moderation in exports, and mainly due to headwinds and the effect of the global trade slowdown. That is why in this scenario there is an expectation that the global trade will slow down because of the recessionary conditions across the world and even in India. Top exports, if you see the top export item in the last 1 year have been petroleum products, gems, jewelry, organic and inorganic chemicals, and drugs and pharmaceuticals. So this is something which we should remember. That can be important for the prelims examination. And top 3 export destinations are US, UAE, and Netherlands. If you are able to remember top 3, that is enough. Now let's go to the mechanized import performance. Now mechanized imports, if you see, again have seen strong import growth. Now this is not due to dependence on other countries for imports, but because with the revival of domestic demand, if there's a revival of domestic demand, then more and more inputs are required to cater to that revival. Because if you are importing more inputs, then you'll be able to export more final commodities, final goods. So this is something which is a good sign for the reviving economy, that is a strong import growth. Mechanized trade deficit, if you see for April December 2022 is given here of US dollar 180.9 billion as against US dollar 136.5 billion in April December 2021. Actual figures are not important. Just remember that has increased. Top 3 imports: petroleum crude, gold, and petroleum products. Whereas top 3 import sources: China, UAE, and US. Now, if you look at China, UAE, US, Russia, and Saudi Arabia, you'll see these 5 countries are the most important countries with respect to India's imports because more than 40% of India's total imports are sourced from these 5 countries. Now, let's look at India's trade account. So we have seen mechanized exports, we have seen mechanized imports. We know when mechanized exports get adjusted against mechanized imports, we get trade balance. And the account which is telling us about the exports and imports of mechanized goods is a trade account. So let's look into India's trade account. Now, if you look at the blue one, orange one, and yellow one, they are respectively telling us about the imports, exports, and mechanized trade balance. Trade balance you have to read from right hand side. Now, you see quarterly data is given for 2021, 2022, 2023. Just look at the trends. Absolute figures are not important. Now, if you see in the 2020-2021 financial year, you'll see that imports are higher than the exports. It's something which is quite natural for India. Then again, in 2021-22, again, imports are higher than exports. And again, 2022-23, imports are higher than exports. So, what we can get, the idea we can get is that our trade account in the last 3 years, 2021, 2022, 2023, is persistently in deficit. In fact, for most of the years of Indian history, you'll see India's trade account will be in deficit. But for the last 3 years, with data, we can conclusively say that it is persistently in deficit. If you look at the kind of deficit, mechanized trade balance, mechanized trade deficit, you can see from 22, 21, 21, 22, and 22, 23, you can see how it's been increasing from 9.8 billion US dollar. It's been consistently increasing. Here, there was some bit of inconsistency here, 41.2, it improved to 31.4 billion. I'm saying improving because it is negative. Then again, you'll see it is increasing, and right now in the quarter 3, the latest data, 2023 quarter 3, you'll see it is more than 70 billion US dollars. So it is worsening. It is continuously increasing. Trade deficit continuously increasing means trade account is worsening. Now, after looking at the situation in India's trade account, now let's look at the next section. So we saw balance of payment, current account, capital account, within current account, trade account, and then invisibles, within invisibles, we saw services, income, and transfers. Let's look at the services first. So if you see services, they are saying India's maintaining strongest in the world services trade in financial year 22. And we saw the data. We saw the data that in India's share in the world service exports is the 7th largest. So we are the 7th largest country in the world service exports. That we have seen in the data just now we saw the table in the previous slide. Now, if you look at the software and business services, they together constitute more than 60% of India's total service exports and have exhibited strong growth during the quarter 2 of financial year 23. So this part you can easily ignore. Exhibited strong growth during quarter 2 of financial year 23. Just remember, software and business services are the most important services component of India's services. The services import, they are saying, has risen by 25.1% between financial year 22 as compared to financial year 21 on account of payment for transport services, travel, and other business services. Now, if you see, all the services which are either exported and imported can be categorized into these various categories. Now, you don't have to remember all these services, all these categories. Just remember few important ones. One is the software services and business services, which are the most important from the export side for India. Now, if you look at these services, the most important services which you can remember, that they can be just look at the figure which are most important. This one, and this one. Then again, from the import side, this one can also be there, and this one. Okay, so these 4 you can remember. So the most important is telecommunication, computer and information services, and business services. So if you see the exports, the highest export is going from telecommunication, computer and information services. These are nothing but the software services. The next highest export is business services. That is what we get in the last slide. Software and business services are the top most performing service sector in India. So you can see it's 2.6 billion US dollar, 26.9 billion US dollar in the April to September 22 period. Then again, you can see the import figures are not that important. But the next important ones are transport and travel services. So software services like IT services, then business services, followed by transport and travel services. These are the 4 most important services. And if you want, you can just remember 2. And if you are much more willing to remember 4, then you can remember these 4. So software services, IT services, business services, followed by transport and travel services. Now, if you look at the performance of services, so look into this figure. Again, 2021, 21, 22, and 22, 23 data is given here. Green telling us about the service exports, blue service import, and net of services. Or we discussed about net of services in the introduction. Now I was giving you the brief about the balance of payment. So service export, service import, and net of services. Y is US dollar billion and X is 99. So you can see service exports are always higher than services import, and our net is always positive. And just contrast this with the multi-net account, the trade account, in that exports were always lower than the imports, and our net was always negative. That is, we were in a persistent deficit in the same 3 years in each of the quarter. Whereas in services, we are persistently in surplus. So the conclusion is, trade account is negative in case of India, and services account is positive, generally positive in case of India. So in the last 3 years, we can conclusively say on the basis of the data we are getting from the economic survey that trade account and mechanized account is in deficit and service account is in surplus. Now, after the services story, let's look into the overall invisibles. We know in invisibles, not just services are there, but there is also a component of income which is further divided into, brought into profits, profit income, interest income, and dividend income. And the next one is of transfers, which is mainly remittances, or in terms of donations, or in terms of gifts that are coming to India. So let's see the composition of net invisibles. Net invisibles we are talking about. I've already given you the concept of net invisibles in the first slide. So net invisibles we are talking about, and if you see net invisibles, so again the last year data 2020, 21, 21, 22, and 22, 23, you'll see orange one is telling us about services, yellow one about transfers, and green one about the income. In Y axis we have US dollar billion, and in X axis we have time and quarter wise variance here. Now you'll see that of the total invisibles, of the total net invisibles, services contributes the most. So orange one is the largest share in the total net invisibles, followed by yellow, that is telling us about the transfers, then income, which is persistently negative. So the conclusion from this data, this particular figure of composition of net invisibles is, on net basis, we are getting positive foreign exchange flow, foreign exchange inflow from the services. So services are aiding us in earning foreign exchange. Transfers are also aiding us in terms of foreign exchange, whereas incomes are having net outflow from the India. So incomes are having net outflow from India. They are drained in our foreign exchange results, and that you can see incomes are less than 0, always negative in each of the quarters in the last 3 years. So this is the conclusion which you can draw from this particular figure. So you see the type of points that net services receipts increase on account of roles, computer and business services receipts that you have already seen. Net private transfer receipts are also on the rise. You can see they are on the rise. 13, 22, 24, 27, 35, 38, 41, 45 are not consistent in the last 3 years, but they are on the rise. There is an uptick rising crude oil prices and the appreciation of INR seems to have boosted remittances flow into India. So crude oil prices, as they're rising, are boosting the net inflow, remittances inflow in India. We know within transfers, I told you, there are three important components. That is remittances, donations, and gifts. Now transfers is positive, and this positive, they are saying the economic survey is driven by the large positive that is coming from remittances. There is large inflow that is coming from remittances. And the reason they are giving is that crude oil prices have risen recently, and that's why it is leading to high remittances income and therefore high transfers or increasing transfer income into India. Maybe the reason can be, which is of course not written in the economic survey, but if we apply some kind of logic, because most of these people who are sending transfers are based in the Gulf countries where most of the crude oil is found, and because the crude oil prices are increasing, their incomes are also rising, and that's why they are able to transfer more money back home or remit more money back home. That's why you are seeing high remittances and therefore high transfer. That can be one of the reasons, but the reason exactly is not given in the economic survey, but that is the important point in the prelims examination. They can ask this as one of the points in one of the question. The net services, exports, and remittances contribute to the surplus on the invisibles account, which cushion the merchandise trade deficits. Of course, merchandise trade accounts on deficit, and that is somehow been cushioned, that is somehow been supported by the net invisibles, net positive invisibles account. That is what is the meaning of the last 4 point. Now, after looking at the invisibles, now let's look at some of the export promotion initiative. Now we have seen that merchandise account is in deficit, services account is positive, and within the current account, if the government has to improve the position of the current account, the account balance has to be positive. Then they have to increase exports of both goods and services, and also they have to somehow reduce or contain imports of the goods and services. So what are the kind of measures that the government is taking, especially to increase exports? So let's see that some of them we have already studied in the economic survey and somewhere outside the economic survey. I'll keep on telling you where we have studied that, and you can go and refer to that particular section, that particular discussion. So I won't be going into detail into this kind of government initiative in this particular chapter. So let's see, focus on agriculture exports. I've already discussed within the economic survey in the agriculture chapter, agriculture export policy of 2018. So focus on agriculture exports is the first point that the government is keeping forefront so as to increase the agriculture exports or to overall exports from India. Interest equalization scheme to give benefits in the interest rates being charged by the banks on exporters on the pre and post shipment to be exported. We have already discussed something called export trade guarantee corporation, through which government is doing this particular thing. Then road scheme, revision of duties and taxes in export products. So what happens in India and what is the general philosophy is that we have to export goods and we don't have to export taxes. So all the taxes which are levied at the local, at the state and the central levels are limited back to the exporters. So this particular scheme is for those remission of taxes or faster remission of those taxes which are levied on the goods which are destined to be exported. So road scheme, remission of duties and taxes, remission of duties and taxes on export product scheme is for remission of central, state and local duties, taxes, levies from exporters. They get their money back, whatever the money is collected from them on these goods, if they are for exports. Then export trade guarantee scheme to provide export trade for insurance services. Krishi Ugani scheme to assist farmers, especially in the perishable category of agriculture products. So for that, government has come up with Krishi Ugani scheme. Now the other initiative, trade infrastructure for export scheme, we know that we'll be able to facilitate our exports more if we have good infrastructure on those ports. Good facilitating infrastructure in these ports from where goods are exported or from where goods are imported. So government is creating appropriate infrastructure for the growth of export, as we mentioned in the economic survey, and then we are using districts, focusing districts now as export hub. I've already discussed with you something called one district, one product scheme, and that is also being leveraged by the government for exports. So from the states, now we are targeting districts as exports hub. Now, some other important trade related measures are mentioned here, and before economic survey itself, we have discussed these measures in a current economic themes. So if you go to our economic section, and within the economic section you go to current economic themes, you will find a detailed discussion on the free trade agreements, all the kind of details which are mentioned in the economic survey with respect to free trade agreements. In that particular section, there is a video titled free trade agreements. There are 2 parts titled free trade agreements. You'll find all the information, in fact, much more detailed and qualitative discussion there. So you can see the kind of steps government has taken, free trade agreements government has signed, and government has recently been moving much faster in signing more and more free trade agreements. And the example they have given here, and they have detailed there, is of UAE and Australia. So the recent agreement, free trade agreement with UAE and Australia, apart from the other agreements which we have signed, like 30 free trade agreements, 6 preferential trade agreement so far. Then international trade settlement routine. Again, we have a very detailed discussion on this particular topic. In the same, within the economic section, we have to go to current economic themes, and there you'll find a detailed video, again divided into 2 parts, discussing international trade settlement routine. The time when it was announced, then only we had this kind of discussion in that particular section, so you can go and see that. So I'm not discussing these 2 particular topics here within the economic survey because much more qualitative discussion is done there. The idea is very simple. We have to promote INR, Indian rupee, as international currency, starting with trading in Indian currency, and this is somehow linked to the de-dollarization debate that is happening right now. So you'll see both of these topics have been discussed within this particular video in that current economic themes, which is titled as trade settlement in rupee. Now the other one is foreign trade policy. When economic survey was written, foreign trade policy, especially the recent one of 2023, was still not launched, but now foreign trade policy 2023 is there. It has been already announced and it is being operative from 1st of April 2023. Now what has happened in the recent foreign trade policy? As you see that this policy is different in the sense that it is not launched with the sunset clause. So right now the kind of foreign trade policy which is operational in India from 1st of April 2023 is not having any sunset clause, and particularly the sunset clause of 5 years. So after 5 years, we are not going to see the revision of the policy. That's what the government has said, that we will not be changing this foreign trade policy, but the schemes within the foreign trade policy, those will keep on changing. What the government has said, that we are targeting for this foreign trade policy exports of $2 trillion by 2030. Within that, they are targeting $1 trillion exports of goods and $1 trillion exports of services. So it's quite ambitious in the targets the foreign trade policy has set. And in the financial year 23, that is year of 2022 to 2023, that is particular which just ended, we had exports of $760 billion of goods and services. So from that, they are saying we will, in a way, increasing size. That is the tune of $2 trillion. Now, apart from this, they are saying that we will also go for e-commerce exports. So all the kinds of benefits which were earlier for goods and services now will also be given to e-commerce exports. Apart from that, they are also saying that we'll again, the same kind of concept, we'll again target districts as export hub. We'll go more for remissions, rather direct incentives. They have increased the towns of export excellence. So 4 more towns of export excellence. There were already more than 30 towns of export excellence. Now 4 more towns have been added. So 4 towns of export excellence have been added. And if you look at these towns of export excellence, these are those towns which have a production of goods and services which is beyond a certain threshold. So for example, India is 750 crores. So if a town is having a production of goods and services which is more than 750 crores, and especially it is catered to the export market, then it is categorized as towns of export excellence or TEE by the government of India. So these are some of the important features of the foreign trade policy which has just been released. Foreign trade policy 2023. The kind of discussion of foreign trade policy 2023 you will not find in the economic survey because at the time when it was written, when the economic survey was written, foreign trade policy was still at the stage of discussion. After the release of economic survey, foreign trade policy has been released. So let's look into the pillars of foreign trade policy. So it is based on 4 pillars. So moving from incentives to remission that I've told you, export promotion through collaboration. Collaboration means collaboration with states and districts especially. So districts have been targeted as export hubs. Ease of doing business, especially using technology, so as to facilitate exports. facilitate exports in much more hassle-free manner, and emerging areas, especially I told you about e-commerce exports. So e-commerce is acting as an emerging area. So these are the four broad pillars of the foreign trade policy of 2023. Just remember the target is $2 trillion by 2030 in terms of both goods and services. Okay. So this is foreign trade policy of 2023.
Now, after looking at the kind of steps government has taken or is being taking for the promotion of exports of goods and services, now let's look at the final consolidated picture of the current account within the balance of trade. So we have discussed all the elements of the current account. We discussed the trade account, we have discussed the invisibles and its further three categories. Now we'll discuss the current account, consolidated picture of the current account. Current account is performing. Let's start from this figure. So it tells you about the current account balance. The idea we have already discussed. So let's look at the magnitude and composition of the current account balance. Now you will see in the y-axis US dollar billion value, in the x-axis again timeline goes 3 years. I'll not repeat it again. And quarter-wise data. This blue one tells you about the current account balance, and you'll see that how in the quarter 1 and quarter 2 current account balance was positive. That is where the current account surplus again, because exports were performing the same, but imports were somehow which were contained mainly because in this particular year due to lockdown, oil imports, which we have seen are the major component of import within the current accounts, is steeply fell down, and that's why we were able to have some kind of surplus in these 2 quarters. Later on, we again, with some exception here, we again came back to a usual nature of the economy, that is having a persistent deficit in the current account balance. And the other one, if you read from the right hand side, this is giving you about current account balance to GDP ratio, not that important. Now let's look into the B part. That is telling us about composition of current account balance. This is something that's important. If you see the same time period, quarter-wise data is given in the x-axis, and then y-axis we have given values in terms of US dollar billion. Now, if you see the light green tells us something about net merchandise trade balance, dark green about net income, yellow about net transfers, and blue about net services. Let's look into the quarter-wise performance of this current account transactions, and you'll see, and not something different you'll see here. The same kind of discussion which we have seen till now is something which has been consolidated here. So you'll see that this dark green is in negative, less than 0. Okay, less than 0. So this is 0 line, less than 0. So it's negative. Dark green, and this tells us about net income. We already discussed the net income within the current account in India. There are 2 accounts, trade account and the invisibles. In the invisibles we have income transactions, and net income in case of India is less than 0. That is income is flowing out of India. So net income is less than 0. Consistently you'll see it's less than 0, less than 0, less than 0, less than 0. All the quarters last year less than 0. Then light green, net merchandise trade balance. We already know it's in deficit in case of India. We already discussed, you've seen the figures, you've seen the numbers. So again, same kind of picture will be reflected here. Negative, rather increasingly negative. Then we know net services is something which is giving us a foreign exchange. So service is something which is giving us foreign exchange. So you see services is positive, more than 0. Whereas net transfers, we already know, we have already seen the data. We had the discussion that it is positive, it is more than 0. But for most of the quarters, if you see this quarter, this quarter, this quarter, this one, for most of the quarters in the last 3 years, because this negative territory or this negative value is more than the positive value, that is the merchandise trade balance and the net income in negative terms is more than the positive value of the net services and net transfer. And that's why we are having a persistent trade deficit, persistent current account deficit in case of India for most of the quarter in the last 3 years. So that is the consolidated picture of the current account of India. It's reflected in this particular economic survey. Current account, let's move to the capital account. Capital account again, let's hark back to the discussion we had. Capital account dealing with loans, investments, and bank capital. So all those kinds of things we'll discuss here. They are saying foreign investment consisting of FDI and FPI is the largest component of the capital account. Again, important preliminary fact, within the capital account, most important component is FDI and FPI. There has been declined net capital inflow of the financial year 23 due to FPI outflows. This is something which we discussed in the monetary management chapter. That is FPI were flowing out of India in the financial year 23, that is 22 to 23. FPI recorded a net outflow leading to currency depreciation and forex losses. This is what I discussed again in this scenario. And as discussed in the first slide, after the introduction, that interest rates were rising in the US, so definitely this FPI is nothing but a hot money, which will easily move in and out wherever interest rates will increase or decrease. So they recorded a net outflow. That is what they have here. So foreign investment consisting of FDI and FPI is the largest component in the capital account. That is the first key takeaway. And the second key takeaway from this particular slide is that FPI has recorded a net outflow in India. And in the monetary management chapter, I told you that the outflow of FPI was somewhere compensated by domestic institutional investors. So when the FPI moved out of India's stock exchange, domestic institutional investors, they moved into the stock exchange. They started investing into the stock exchanges in India, and that's how somehow they compensated the negative impact of the outflow of FPI from India's stock exchanges. Let's look into some of the important points in the capital account. You'll see computer software and hardware, this particular sector attracted the highest share of FDI equity inflow in the last 1 year. So another important fact for public exam, that is computer software and hardware is attracting the most FDI equity inflow into India. Whereas if you look at the source from where the FDI is coming, so Singapore is the most important country. So Singapore was the top investing country, having a 37% share, followed by Mauritius, UAE, and US. So these 4 countries, you can easily remember, Singapore and Mauritius are usually followed by UAE and US. So these are the 4 most important countries which are having the largest share in India's FDI equity inflow. Now, after looking at the 4 most important fact with respect to the capital account dimension in the economic survey, now let's look at the net foreign direct investment, net FDI. Okay, so FDI inflow minus FDI outflow. That will give us net FDI number, net foreign direct investment. If you see net FDI, blue one, telling us about net FDI, and the orange line tells us about something about net FDI to GDP ratio. So if we read from the right hand side, we'll get the figure of net FDI to GDP ratio. Let's look at the net FDI. Again, same 3 years and US dollar in billions. Now, you'll see for the quarter 1 it was negative, that is FDI was flowing out of the country, then coming to the country. Otherwise, generally, in all the 3 quarters of this particular year, 2021, and in most of the quarters of all the 3 years, except with this one, this quarter 1 of 2021, FDI inflow is much more than FDI outflow. That is, net FDI, net foreign direct investment in India, is positive. So you can see the figure 24 billion, 17 billion, 3, 12, 9, 5, 14, and 6. FDI is coming into India more than going outside India. So we can say that in the year 2021, 2021, and 22, and 22, 23, economic survey tells us that we are attracting FDI more than we are sending FDI outside. Now, within the capital account only, now let's look into the net foreign portfolio investment position. So net concept is same. Whatever FDI is going out, subtract that from whatever FDI is, whatever foreign portfolio investment is coming in. You'll see that it has shown us something of a mixed picture. So foreign portfolio investment is not that stable as compared to FDI. Looking into the FDI, you'll see FDI is mostly in positive territory.
hard money. It moves in and out much faster than the FDI. So absolute figures, of course, for fund portfolio investment are not important. What we have to remember is that fund portfolio investment is a type of hard money. It moves in and out with respect to short-term changes in interest rates. And this was something which was visible in the last 1 year when interest rates were raised. Fund portfolio investors move money out of India. At the same time, discussion we had in chapter of monetary management, and again, a few slides back, that when fund portfolio investors move money out of India, domestic institutional investors try to compensate that kind of outward movement by investing more money in these stock exchanges in India. Okay, so that is important. And from this you can see the trend. But the absolute figures, especially fund portfolio investment, is not important. Now, after looking into the net FDI and FPI position, now let's look into the consolidated picture of the capital account, just like we saw the consolidated picture, consolidated position of the current account. So this is the consolidated picture of the capital account, which is telling us about the capital account balance in terms of magnitude and in terms of composition. Now, if you see the capital account balance, you'll see surplus is narrowing. So they are saying narrowing surplus amid global uncertainty. So how the surplus is narrowing? Surplus is narrowing in the sense that you see in the quarter 2 of 2021-22 year, the surplus have moved, that is the capital account balance have moved from around $40 billion to around $20 billion. Now, figures are not that important. Just find the trend and how to read them, how to get some idea from the trend which are issued in the economic survey. So from $40 billion, they are moving to $20 billion. In the quarter 4, they move to negative territory, then again move upwards, and then again down. So overall, it is moving down. That is capital account balance is also suffering because of the global uncertainty. That is what this particular picture, this quarter-wise data of these 3 years is telling us. Then if you look into the composition of the capital account balance, just like we look into the composition of the current account balance, you'll see that 4 important components they have given. Green one by net foreign investment, blue by net loans, yellow detecting net banking capital, and the brown one net other capital. You will see that the trend is mixed. So we cannot come to a conclusion from these quarter-wise data. But in the last 2 years, if you see the last 2 years, that is 21 to 22 and 22 to 23, only 2 quarter data is there for 2023. You will see that net foreign investments were higher in these 2 quarter 1 and quarter 2. And in the quarter 2, the other capital was much more than the net foreign investment. Whereas in the last 2 quarters, the data which is presented here, you'll see that net foreign investment in the quarter 1 of 22 to 23 is negative, whereas net banking capital is far positive, much more positive. Whereas in the quarter 2 of the 22-23 data, you'll see a mixed picture is there. Then other capital negative, net banking capital also going to negative territory, then net foreign investment is positive, and net loans is positive. So from this kind of confusion in this composition of capital account balance, the only key takeaway is there is no key takeaway from this particular picture because the data is too much mixed. Okay, so we don't have a particular key takeaway from this particular section of this particular figure. So part B, composition of capital account balance, there is no key takeaway from this picture. Now let's look at the overall consolidated view of the situation of India, which is represented by both the position of the current account and the capital account. Now you will see that what is expected out of the Indian economy is generally current account is negative and generally capital account is positive. So whatever negative values in the current account, it is somehow compensated or more than compensated by the positive capital account. But I'm saying generally. So if someone asks you especially in terms of the quarter-wise data which is presented in the economic survey this time, so there is an exception. There are some quarters in the last 3 years, the data which is presented in the economic survey in this particular figure also, where the current account is positive, and there are quarters in which capital account is negative. That is something different from the general trend that is expected for Indian economy. You'll see that blue one is represented by current account, green by capital account, and yellow dotted line is telling us something about balance of payment with respect to GDP. That is, if you read from right hand side, you'll get the balance of payment balance to GDP. So you'll see that in the quarter 1 and quarter 2 of the year 2021, current account is positive. Again in the quarter 1 of the year 2022, current account is positive. So for most of the quarters, current account is negative, something which is expected of the Indian economy because we are net importing country. But there are exceptions because of some special factors, because of some special kind of situations prevailing in these 2 particular quarters. But exceptions are there. Now let's look into the capital composition. You'll see the capital account for most of the quarters is positive, but not for all the quarters. Quarter 4 of the year 21-22, capital account is negative, and current account is also negative. So whole of our balance of payment is negative. And when the balance of payment is negative, that means we are losing foreign exchange reserve. Okay, and there is a limit to which forex reserve can support the negative BOP, balance of payment. And when that limit is crossed, that is something which is called economic crisis. Economic crisis, especially balance of payment crisis. This is something which happened in 1991 because we were having just $5 billion. That is just 3 weeks import. So import is the number of months for which you have the foreign exchange reserves. So we had just $5 billion in 1991 to cover just for 3 weeks imports, and we were continuously losing our foreign exchange reserves. So we had the capital account negative and also the current account negative in the quarter 4 of 2022. Again, quarter-wise data is not that important, but because they have presented only quarter-wise data, so we have to do anything in this. So we have to read the quarter-wise data. So you can see current account position is presented by blue and by green capital account position. So you can see the trend how the current account is positive for some of the quarters and capital account is positive for most of the quarters this particular. And then again you can see balance of payment ratio. It has been presented by this yellow dotted line. Okay, now the part B is telling us about the foreign exchange reserves and import cover. The kind of discussion I had slightly when I was discussing this economic crisis. Now import cover tells you the amount of foreign exchange reserves you have to support your import. So usually import cover is in number of months. So you'll see in the right hand side of this particular figure, number of months are given. And if you see the import cover of India from quarter 1 of year of 2021, it was increasing and then it is consistently decreasing. So we can say this situation is not quite good for Indian economy because India's import cover is decreasing, especially after this peak. Now if you see the picture of foreign exchange reserves in India, you'll see that they increase first in the first quarter of 2021 consistently, then decrease, then increase, then increase, then decrease, and then they are decreasing, and then a slight increase in quarter. So mixed picture is there for the last 3 years. A mixed picture. And because foreign exchange reserves have decreased, that's why the import cover has also decreased. And foreign exchange reserves, we have already discussed why they decreased. They decreased because RBI, Reserve Bank of India, was supporting Indian currency by selling more and more foreign exchange reserves, especially dollars. And that's why there was a depletion in the foreign exchange reserves of India. Okay, so this is a particularly important figure. If you want, you can keep it in mind. It can be important for the Now, let's look into the issue of adequacy of forex reserves. So we know there's something called forex reserve, and we have discussed in the international trade module and also in the international financial institution module that what all are the components of foreign exchange reserves. So the 4 major important components of foreign exchange reserves are foreign currency assets, FCA, spatial drawing rights of IMF, gold, and RTP. That is reserve, tranche, position of IMF. So these are the 4 most important components of the foreign exchange reserves. And we know, and you must have read recently, that gold is something which is gaining sales across the central banks of the world. So most of the central banks of the world, what they are doing right now is they are increasing the gold component of their foreign exchange reserves, of the forex reserve, mainly because gold is a stable asset, and whenever there is a loss in the confidence of any foreign currency, especially those kind of hard currency, which are usually there in the basket of the foreign exchange reserves of any country, or in these kind of currencies like SDR or IMF, SDR technically is not a foreign currency, but these kind of assets like SDR, special bank like IMF, then most of the people or most of the central banks or most of the countries move towards gold, and that is what is something which is visible right now in the world economy. Most of the central banks are increasing their foreign exchange reserves by buying more and more gold, and that is something which also tells us that recession is something which is very much near in time. So we are expecting a recession. That's why the moment was. Now, let's look into the need for foreign exchange. What is the need for foreign exchange at first place? Need for foreign exchange to maintain exchange rate with a certain range and maintain liquidity. That's something what I did. That's something I've been discussing time and again and again, saying that RBI supporting Indian currency by buying more of Indian rupee and selling more of foreign exchange reserves. So whenever any central bank or RBI in India has to support the Indian currency, that is currency is depreciating more and more, and RBI has to support it. So it can increase the supply of US dollar or foreign currency by depleting foreign exchange, by depleting foreign exchange. So foreign exchange reserve is very important to maintain the stability of the exchange rate in the economy, also to allow time to absorb any economic shock. So if foreign exchange reserve support is there, foreign support is very high, that is foreign exchange reserves are very high. So it is time to the central bank and the authorities or monetary authorities in that particular country, so as to evade the crisis, any crisis, for example, balance of payment crisis. If there is a balance of payment crisis, there is consistent negative balance of payment. That is the current account which is negative, for example, investment account is negative and capital account is positive. But suppose both the current account is persistently negative, money is moving out of India in the capital account and also to the current account, that is importing more and more as compared to exporting. So balance of payment will be persistently negative. So there is a limit to which forex reserves or foreign exchange reserves can support this persistent negative balance of payment. But if you have more of a foreign exchange reserve, we can evade this kind of crisis. At least we can buy time to actually get into the crisis situation. So that is what is mentioned in the second point, to allow time to absorb any economic shock, and I took the example of balance of payment. Let's explain this. Now, how much foreign exchange reserves should be there? That is another question. So we know more and more foreign exchange reserves something which is desired, but there's also cost to holding foreign exchange reserves, because if foreign exchange reserves goes high, there is a fear that currency may appreciate. Now, this might go into too much technical discussion, but just remember this, that if foreign exchange reserves is going high, there is a fear that currency may appreciate, and the appreciated currency may have inimical effect to or negative impact to our exports. So there is a cost of accumulating foreign exchange reserve. So what is the optimal level of the foreign exchange reserve? That optimal level we can get from three important indicators which have been mentioned in the economic survey. And because they have mentioned in the economic survey, that's why it's important, at least for this year or next year. So these three measures, they are saying a ratio of reserves to imports, whatever reserves you are having, divided by imports. So reserves supposed in US dollar and imports in US dollar, value of imports in US dollar, value of imports in US dollar. That gives us something called, if we are calculating those per month, import cover. That we have always import cover. This is something which is falling off late in India. Import cover is falling off late in India. That we have seen in the last slide. We have discussed that import cover is falling in India. Then ratio of reserves to monetary indicators. Again, one other indicator is used, and not so often in India, but outside India. That is reserves supposed in US dollar divided by broad money. If it is higher, then we can say we are in a comfortable position with respect to our foreign exchange reserves. Then third one is ratio of reserves to short-term debt. So what we discussed in the fiscal policy chapter, the concept of debt and debt sustainability. I discussed that in detail in that particular chapter. In that, I also discussed a maturity pattern of debt. I discussed something called short-term debt, long-term debt, and India's maturity pattern is elongating. That is, we are comfortably placed in a debt position, external debt position, especially because our short-term debt is very less than the long-term debt. That is, whatever obligations are, whatever we have to pay, will come in later years, not immediately. So third measure is telling us about reserves, foreign exchange reserves supposed in US dollar again, divided by short-term debt of the country. Short-term debt again supposed in US dollar. So this is one particular indicator. This is the another one, which is called monetary aggregate, and this is the third one, which we can say is the import cover. So this is import cover. This is monetary aggregate, means measuring foreign exchange reserve optimal position, optimum value from the monetary angle, because divided by broad money. We know there is broad money, narrow money, that kind of things we have discussed in the monetary policy module. And the third one is the reserves in US dollar divided by short-term debt in US dollar, and this is called as Guidotti Greenspan ratio or rule. Guidotti Greenspan ratio. This is something which is mentioned in the economic survey this time, and that's why it becomes important. So this is something which is mentioned here in this particular point. It says a novel method derives from, that's a new method, derives from Guidotti Greenspan IMF rule, and what is Guidotti Greenspan IMF rule that I have already explained to you, that countries' reserve should at least be equal to short-term external debt. And how they are explaining the short-term external debt, that is a debt external debt of 1 year or less maturity. So what they are saying, if reserves, that is forex reserves, supposed in US dollar, are divided by short-term external debt, again supposed in US dollar, so at least it should be 1. It can be higher, but at least it should be 1. That is, we have the enough foreign exchange to pay back a short-term obligation. That is the idea of Guidotti Greenspan IMF rule, and it is intuitively quite logical. Means you should have enough foreign exchange reserves. If you bought in foreign currency, so you should have enough foreign exchange reserves. You should have enough reserves in hard currencies to pay back your short-term external debt. That is that which is again contracted in hard currency or in foreign currency. So you should be at least able to pay back your short-term debt. So foreign exchange reserves in US dollar divided by short-term external debt should be at least equal to 1. That is what the idea of Guidotti Greenspan rule. So we have seen the adequacy of foreign exchange reserves, how we can find out what is the amount of adequate foreign exchange reserve. Now let's look into this table. This has been mentioned here, so that's why we have extracted it, and we found that it can be useful, especially when you compare India's foreign exchange reserve as compared to other countries. Especially let's look into this 2021 data. Not all, you have to see, just look into 2021 data, and you'll see that India's foreign exchange reserves is around 600 billion US dollar. And I told you that in 1991 we had just 5 billion US dollar foreign exchange reserve. That is more than 100 times. We have increased our foreign exchange reserve from 5 billion to around 600 billion. That is around 120 times. More than around 120 times. So that shows that we have improved much when we compare India's position in terms of foreign exchange reserves. Yeah. Now compare it with Russia, Brazil, United States, exception. Less than half of our foreign exchange reserve, and that's something which is quite natural because they are not under compulsion to hold foreign exchange reserve because they are themselves printing the US dollar, which is a major component of foreign exchange reserve of any country. So if they have to increase the foreign exchange reserve, they don't have to do anything. They don't have to export things. They just have to print more dollars and they can accumulate foreign exchange reserve. Then United Kingdom, almost a third of the foreign exchange reserve of India. Indonesia, South Africa, Australia, you can see this figure. Just to get the idea of where India stands as compared to other countries that are important countries. Now let's start with the exchange rate movements. Now when I was discussing the basics of balance of payment account, I told you that most of the transactions in a balance of payment or in the current capital account are happening in foreign currency, especially US dollar. So if these transactions are happening in foreign currency, so whenever we deal with foreign currency, so domestic currency dealing with foreign currency, so concept which becomes very important is the concept of exchange rate. And what is exchange rate? Exchange rate is nothing but the amount of domestic currency which you will give to buy 1 unit of foreign currency. This is something which is the idea of the exchange rate. So for example, in terms of US dollar, if you say that exchange rate is 80 rupees, suppose, that means to buy $1, $1 USD, we need to pay 80 rupees. That is the exchange rate. Now, if we have to pay 85 rupees to buy $1, that means value of Indian rupee has gone down. That is depreciation is there. On the other side, if you have to pay 75, from the position of 80, I'm talking from the position of 80. Now, if you have to pay 75 rupees to buy $1, that means rupee's value has increased. That is, rupee has become or is appreciating. So that is exchange rate, and that is appreciation concept, which is different from the devaluation concept, because devaluation is something which another word for the appreciation they are happening in the fixed exchange rate regime. But when the coming up of value or lowering of value of domestic currency with respect to foreign currency is happening in the market-based regime, that is where the exchange rates are determined by the market, supply and demand. Then we use words like depreciation and appreciation. Otherwise, in the fixed exchange rate regime, we use words like devaluation and revaluation. Now, exchange rate is something which is very important, but do you think that the exchange rate with respect to all the currencies is important? So, for example, in one of the data we saw that how five countries were the most important for India because these were the countries from which around 40% of our import was coming into India. So definitely those five countries are much more important than all other countries. So not all countries and not all exchange rates are important, but only few countries and few exchange rates are important. And those countries and those exchange rates are important with which we are having most of our trade. So whenever we take this kind of perspective into account while evaluating exchange rate movements, that we will give importance to those countries and those exchange rates with which or in which we are having most of our trade. Then we get to the concept of something called effective exchange rate. Effective exchange rate. Or EER. So EER is not looking into all the exchange rate. EER is not looking into all the countries. It is only looking into those countries which we are having most of our trade. And further it is divided into nominal effective exchange rate and real effective exchange rate. So what first EER do? EER gives more weightage to those countries with which we are having more trade. And in India, effective exchange rate is something which is calculated by Reserve Bank of India. And effective exchange rate, another important in fact, has a base year of 2015. So we compare all the effective exchange rate as of today from the base of 2015. So what was the exchange rate in 2015 of those important trade partners of India? And we calculate effective exchange rate for a basket of country or basket of currencies. And in India, it is calculated for 6 countries or currencies, you can say, or 3 countries or currencies. So 2 baskets are there. One, a basket of 6 most important trading partners of India, and another basket of 40 most important trading partners of India. So we calculate effective exchange rate with respect to these 2 baskets of currencies or countries. Now, this I told you, this basket of 6 countries or currencies or 40 countries or currency can be calculated either in nominal terms or real terms. So in nominal terms means we are not accounting for inflation. Whereas in real terms means we are also accounting for inflation that is happening in our country with respect to the other countries, other 6 countries or currencies or other 40 countries or currencies. So when we account for the inflation and then come to some value of the effective exchange rate, then we have real effective exchange rate. Otherwise, without accounting for inflation, we get nominal effective exchange rate. Now, these 6 countries or currencies, 40 currencies do not give us 40 different exchange or 6 different exchange rate. Okay, this gives us something called an index. So we calculate an index for 6 countries or 40 countries or currencies. We don't get 40 different exchange rate or 40 different currencies. So effective exchange rate, I told you the idea. We are looking at the exchange rate of the most important trading partners of that particular country, and for the sake of our discussion of India. In India, 2016 is the base year. RBI is calculating it, and it is calculated for 6 countries or currencies or 40 countries or currencies. 2 different baskets are there. Okay, now let's look into the movements of the exchange rate. So India exchange rates, first point is market determined. RBI has a stated policy that will allow the exchange rates to be determined by market, that is market forces of supply and demand, unless there is excess volatility. When there is excess volatility, then you will intervene to contain that excess volatility, but to allow the Indian rupees to get the fair value. INR has depreciated by 10.8%, whereas the US dollar has depreciated by 6.4%. So in the last 1 year, what we have seen that FPI was going out of India, foreign portfolio investment was going out of India because the interest rates were rising, especially in US. So our Indian currency depreciated against US dollar. Now the important factor is that Indian currency is depreciated, but only against US dollar. We'll see in the figures in the next 1 or 2 slides. You'll see that with respect to other important currencies, Indian rupee or Indian currency has appreciated. So whatever the depreciation has been seen in case of India in the last 1 year, it is mostly owing to its depreciation with respect to the US dollar. So with respect to US dollar, we have depreciated, but with respect to other important currencies, we have appreciated. That is an important preliminary fact. That is an important preliminary point for the preliminary exam. So we have to keep that in mind. In fact, with respect to this topic of depreciation of Indian currency, again there is one very qualitative discussion in the country market that again refer. So the point is INR has not weakened, but it is the US dollar that has strengthened. So firstly, INR has only depreciated with respect to US currency. That is the conclusion. But the point is, it is more owing to the strengthening of US dollar as compared to the weakening of INR. That's why INR has not depreciated with respect to other currencies. Had INR been weakening, it would have depreciated against other currencies also. But it has not depreciated against other currencies, rather only against US dollar. That means US dollar has strengthened and INR has not weakened. Otherwise, it would have depreciated against other currencies also. Okay. Now, so we are saying INR appreciated against select major currency by the US dollar. For example, average exchange rate of INR against the pound sterling of UK appreciated by 6.7% from 21 to 22. So in the year that has passed, we have appreciated against the UK pound sterling. So the key takeaway is exchange rate is something important if you are dealing about external sector. Not all the exchange rates are important. Exchange rate only few selected major trading partners of a country are important. And if you have to calculate our currency's position with respect to those trading partners' position or the position of those trading partners' currency, that we can gauge from and that we can get idea from the effective exchange rate concept. Effective exchange rate concept give us 2 kind of exchange rate, nominal effective exchange rate and real effective exchange rate. Nominal effective exchange rate do not take into account the factor of inflation, whereas real effective exchange rate also takes into account the factor of inflation. That is, it is much more qualitative as compared to the nominal effective exchange rate. Then in the last 1 year, the economic survey tells us that Indian rupee, Indian currency has weakened against US dollar, but it says it has not weakened against other currencies. So the conclusion is that Indian currency rather has strengthened or remained stable, but the US dollar has appreciated. So US dollar has appreciated, Indian currency has not weakened. So if you say that Indian currency has appreciated, so it has appreciated only against the US dollar. That means it has not weakened overall. Rather, US dollar has appreciated because with respect to other currencies, if you see, the data tells us, economic survey tells us, Indian currency has rather appreciated. So that means it was more of a story of strengthening of US dollar than the weakening of Indian currency. And this was because money was moving out of India to US. Okay, so we have seen the exchange rate concept. Now let's look at the exchange rate movement. And these movements we can see from this particular figure, and you'll see it shows the movement of US dollar, pound sterling, green by Japanese yen, and brown by euro. And rupees per unit of foreign currency, that is nothing but exchange rate. exchange rate, and the data is Jan, Feb, March, April till December 22, and so on RBI. So we can question that data. Now you will see that US dollar is trending. You see constantly it's moving upwards in the last 1 year, January 22 till December 22. Whereas you will see this green line depicting value of 100 Japanese yen is moving down. So trend is towards downside. That means the amount of INR, amount of rupee that is required to buy 100 Japanese yen is going down. That is, our currency is appreciating against Japanese yen. Whereas here, the amount of money or amount of INR, Indian currency, that was required to buy US dollar was increasing. That is, our currency was appreciating against US dollar. Or rather, you can say US dollar was appreciating against our Indian currency. Whereas again, if you look into this one, euro, we are standing against euro also, and we are of course standing against pound sterling. Later on, it started appreciating, but still far from this particular value of January 22. So we have appreciated against other currencies, and US dollar has appreciated against our currency. So the story is more about appreciation of US dollar rather than depreciation of INR. Okay, that is the conclusion. Now let's look at the movement of index of 6 currency, 40 currency, need and trade. So you can see the base here is 2016. You can see 6 currency trade base indicator and 40 currency trade base indicator, which is represented by need and fee. The blue one by need and green one by read, and you already know the takes into account the inflation factor also. Okay. Now, one of the things I didn't tell you in the last slide with respect to the need and read is that need and read behave differently from the normal exchange rate. So, for example, normal exchange rate, if the exchange rate are going high. So, for example, for 1 unit of US dollar, suppose you need to pay 80 rupees. Now, in the other situation, you need to pay 85 rupees. That means the value of rupee have come down. That means your currency has appreciated. Whereas, with respect to 80 rupees, now suppose you have to pay 75 rupees. That means the value of your currency has gone up. That means it has appreciated as compared to the US dollar. But it is not something which happens in need and read. In need and read, if need or read is increasing, it means your currency is appreciating. In normal exchange rate, in bilateral exchange rate, that will mean your currency is depreciating. But in need and read, the difference is if need and read index is going high, the value is going high, that means your currency is appreciating. Whereas in the reverse position, in the reverse situation, it is depreciating. So what happens in need and read? How we read the value of need and read? If need or read is 100, the index value is 100. That means your currency is a effective value. If it is more than 100, suppose 104, that means your currency is appreciated. Real value of your currency is 4% more than what it should have. That means your currency is overvalued. Otherwise, if it is 96, need or read value is 96. That means your currency is undervalued by 4%. So normally it's 100, and then if it is 104, your currency is overvalued. Otherwise, it is undervalued. That is how we need or read. Now, this data is not important. You can go through and look into this data and find out some sense. But these concepts are important, and using these concepts, you should read this data. Okay. So that was the discussion with respect to exchange rate movements. Last section of this particular chapter, that is external debt. Now we have already in a detailed fashion discussed something about debt, internal debt, external debt, debt contract against public account, external debt, all those kinds of things we already discussed in the physical policy chapter. Now there is some important information with respect to external debt extension in this external sector chapter, chapter 11 of economics that you'll see. So basic thing is the same. They are telling us the same picture or same story. That is, India is very comfortable in the external debt situation in the sense that sovereign debt is less as compared to the private sector debt. So we saw in the capital account something called loans. In that, loans can be taken by government or private sector industry, commercial body. So what they say is that loan taken by the government or the debt taken by the government is less as compared to the debt that is taken by the private sector, external commercial body. Now, what another thing they are saying or telling us in this particular section is that short-term debt in India is lower. Then this also tells us something about India's maturity pattern. External commercial body. Now, what another thing they are saying or telling us in this particular section is that this particular chapter, need or read. Now, this data is not important. You can go through and look into this data and find out some sense. But these concepts are important, and using these concepts, you should read this data. Okay. So that was the discussion with respect to exchange rate movements. Last section of this particular chapter, that is external debt. Now we have already in a detailed fashion discussed something about debt, internal debt, external debt, debt contract against public account, external debt, all those kinds of things we already discussed in the physical policy chapter. Now there is some important information with respect to external debt extension in this external sector chapter, chapter 11 of economics that you'll see. So basic thing is the same. They are telling us the same picture or same story. That is, India is very comfortable in the external debt situation in the sense that sovereign debt is less as compared to the private sector debt. So we saw in the capital account something called loans. In that, loans can be taken by government or private sector industry, commercial body. So what they say is that loan taken by the government or the debt taken by the government is less as compared to the debt that is taken by the private sector, external commercial body. Now, what another thing they are saying or telling us in this particular section is that short-term debt in India is lower. Then this also tells us something about India's maturity pattern of debt. That means India is very well placed in having a good maturity pattern, in having a positive maturity pattern of our external debt situation. We have gone to the discussion of debt sustainability in our physical policy chapter. So you should hark back to that discussion and then apply your mind why I'm saying that maturity pattern is something which is favorable to India, because short-term debt in India is lower as compared to long-term debt. That is, we are under very little obligation to pay our debt immediately as compared to obligation which we have to fulfill in later years. So let's see the specific points what they are telling us. So they are saying external debt ratio to GDP fall to 19.2% as of September 22 from 20.3% a year ago. That is, external debt is falling. In case of net debt levels are coming down when compared to GDP, especially external debt. They are telling us about external debt. That is, we are improving the position of external debt. Second, they are saying optimal threshold for India's external debt is around 23 to 24% of GDP. So optimal threshold is 23 to 24%, and we are far lower than the optimal threshold. We are around 20%. So it's again a good favorable situation for India. Then they are saying share of short-term debt is lower compared to long-term debt. Again, the same kind of situation which I was telling you. The share of sovereign debt is lower than non-sovereign debt. Again, favorable point. And the most important point for this is that after the US dollar, 55.5%, the Indian rupee denominated component occupies the second largest position in circulating debt from currencies. That is, if you look at our total external debt, this one says the maximum debt we have contracted in US dollar, followed by Indian rupee, INR. So the maximum debt, more than 50% we have contracted in US dollar, but followed by Indian rupee. So Indian rupee, or the debt contracted in Indian rupee or denominated in Indian rupee, is more than 30%. That shows that we don't have that much of currency risk in our external debt. Now these all points tell us something, that a debt profile or debt position, especially external debt position, is very favorable to India. Firstly, we are far lower than the optimal threshold of debt, which is 20 to 24%. We are just at 20%. Then short-term debt is lower, much lower as compared to long-term debt. Then share of sovereign debt is much lower than the share of non-sovereign or private sector debt. And after US dollar, a significant chunk of external debt is denominated in Indian currency, Indian rupee. That means we are not facing that much of currency risk. Okay, so a debt profile, debt position is very comfortable, very favorable as given in the economics. Now let's look into some of the external debt indicators. Not all of them are important. You can go through them and you will see the same kind of picture. You will witness the same kind of stories there. Ratio of external debt to GDP is given. External debt in figure is given. And one important thing you'll see that external debt in absolute figures is increasing from 2017 till 2022. But if you see the debt service ratio has decreased. 2017 it was 8.3%, and as of end of June of 2022, it is 4.9%. It's around 5%. So debt service ratio has decreased. Now, what is debt service ratio? Debt service ratio is nothing but your principal plus interest payment, for some external debt divided by foreign exchange reserves. So as compared to foreign exchange reserves, our principal interest payment that are going for debt obligations, are coming down. That is something which is positive, favorable for India's external debt situation. That is, our debt service ratio has decreased from 2017 to 2022. I think this question debt service ratio or the question debt service ratio has been asked in the exam. So that is something which is important. Concept is important, figures may not be that important. Then ratio of foreign exchange reserves to total debt, you will see what is the kind of situation. So ratio of foreign exchange reserves to total debt, both short and long term, is around 97% as of today. Ratio of concessional debt to total GDP, total debt, not that important. Ratio of short term debt to foreign exchange reserves is something which is giving us the idea of BOT Greenspan rule that we discussed. That is ratio of short term debt to foreign exchange reserves. You'll see it is just around 20%, 21.20%. Okay, that means our short term debt as compared to foreign exchange reserves is just 20% of foreign exchange reserves. So that again tells us that in terms of BOT Greenspan, IMF rule, we are in a favorable situation. Then ratio of short term debt to total debt, again, it is around 20%. So it gives us some idea about the debt position of country. Absolute figures are not at all important. Concepts you should keep in mind. And lastly, debt ratios for other countries are also given. If you have time and interest, you can go through them. So just compare India's debt ratio in terms of short term debt as a percentage of total debt, total external debt as a percentage of gross national income, and foreign exchange reserves as a percentage of total debt as compared to other countries. You will see how India is positioned at, how India is performing as compared to other countries. Not that important from examination perspective. It's just important for your knowledge and for your inquisitiveness. Otherwise, not that important. Okay. So that was a discussion with respect to the external sector. I hope that you have understood well the external sector and the India's external sector position or situation. If you are able to go through these lectures, I promise that you don't even have to read the economic survey. This is more than enough. More than enough for the economic survey. We are in this chapter. Now we'll start with chapter number 12, which discusses something about digital infrastructure, digital public infrastructure. So let's meet in chapter number 12. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to Byju's Exam Prep IAS.
Welcome back to our discussion of the economic survey for the year 2022-23. Let's start our discussion with chapter number 12, which is in fact last chapter of this year economic survey. And this chapter is titled as physical and digital infrastructure. Now, if you look at this chapter, the economic survey is not telling us anything new in this particular chapter. Rather, what the economic survey has done in this particular chapter is that it has just brought all these schemes or all the initiatives or the steps that have been taken by the government over the last 7-8 years with respect to physical and digital infrastructure, and they've just put them in that particular chapter. So nothing new is being told in this particular chapter of the economic survey. Now, we've already discussed something called social infrastructure in chapter number 6, and we dealt social infrastructure exhaustively there. And after social infrastructure, two other important kinds of infrastructure discussed in this survey is physical and digital. So let's start discussing this particular chapter. In fact, there's no discussion as such. It's just a mention of few schemes which are with respect to physical digital infrastructure. So let's see what the discussion is. Now, if you look at infrastructure, infrastructure is something which is paramount and important for assuring the long-term economic growth of any country. If you have to assure long-term sustainable growth of the country, then at the bedrock of that will be the infrastructure. And that's why government is focusing too much on infrastructure and infrastructure financing. In fact, if you look at the budgeted allocation for the infrastructure sector or for capital expenditure, that's something we saw in chapter number 1 also. We saw how the trends are positive towards the capital expenditure over the last many years. We saw one of the figures in chapter number 1. Now, if you look at the budget figures, so in the budget of 21-22, it was somewhere around 5 lakh crore. Then in the next year budget of 22-23, it became somewhere around 7.5 lakh crore. And then later on, in this particular budget of 23-24, the absolute figure is around 10 lakh crore. So consistently, the budget figures in the absolute terms and also as a percentage of total expenditure that is going out from the budget is increasing for the capital expenditure. So capital expenditure spending in India is increasing, and capital expenditure spending is nothing but the spending for the physical infrastructure and somewhat for digital infrastructure. So we'll start first with physical infrastructure. We'll see the kind of initiative government has taken over the last many years in this particular realm of infrastructure, and later on we'll go to the digital infrastructure and initiative that has been taken by the government for the building up of digital infrastructure. So let's start. Let's first see some common points related to infrastructure. So we know infrastructure plays a critical role in the long-term growth of the country because it lays the foundation of sustainable long-term growth. Then it has implication and positive spillover effects on the productivity of firms, poverty reduction, and promotion of rural and agricultural development. So when you say infrastructure, so infrastructure can be for many things. So infrastructure can be for rural area, infrastructure can be for urban cities. So infrastructure can be for promotion of industries or industrial development. So all of these perspectives will keep in mind. So we can say so infrastructure has positive implication on the productivity of firms. It also has positive implication on poverty reduction because if you build more and more infrastructure means more and more people will get job, more and more people will have high disposable income, and they can come out of poverty. And also it will lead to the promotion of rural and agricultural development if the infrastructure is especially for the development of infrastructure in rural area. Then government has invested heavily in infrastructure by increasing capex. Now this is something which I've already told you how capital expenditure has been increasing over the last many years, especially if you see the budget figures or the budget allocation for the capital expenditure. Now let's first look into the physical infrastructure and let's look into the kind of initiatives government has taken in the physical infrastructure and those initiatives which are mentioned in the economic survey. So this is something which you will not find that it's completely new to you. They've already discussed these initiatives somewhere in the core lecture, also in the current economic themes of current affairs. So we have been discussing it time and again. Within the Byju's exam prep also we have been discussing these initiatives time and again. So let's recap them. There's nothing new as I've told you in the economic survey, especially with respect to this chapter. So let's start with the first, promotion of PPP project. So what this point says is that the government is promoting the PPP project. PPP is public-private partnership. Now infrastructure financing is something which not only is huge in terms of the amount of money that's required, but also they are the projects which are having a long gestation period. That is the projects which require a lot of time for them to become fruitful. So for such a long period of time, if the government puts the money there, definitely it will be something which will be clogged there. So what the government is doing, government is taking the help from the private sector, not only in terms of financing, but also in terms of operations of these infrastructure projects. So this is what this point says, that government is promoting the participation of private sector in the infrastructure, and that government is doing through various PPP projects, various public-private partnership projects. And we know various PPP models are there. So build, operate, transfer, build, own, operate, transfer, design, build, finance, operate, transfer. They all have read in a core infrastructure module of the economic section. Also some new models like hybrid energy model, HM, also all of these things we have been studying. Now second one is national infrastructure pipeline. Now government what it did in 2019 is that for the next 5 years, that is from 2019 to 2024-25, we will have infrastructure projects of 100+ lakh crore. And these infrastructure projects on various sectors were identified that these will be infrastructure projects, and each year this much of investment of these many infrastructure projects will be built up, or the financing will go for these particular infrastructure projects. So it was something which was decided in national infrastructure pipeline, but because COVID came and all those plans come someday to standstill. The national monetary pipeline, here what the government did, government identified some of the core assets from the public sector which will be sold on lease to the private sector, and these assets will be somewhere around 6+ lakh crore. So this much amount of money will be garnered to selling these projects on lease, and whatever money will come will be further recycled to create new infra projects. So what government did in national monetary pipeline, not only monetizing the existing infrastructure these sectors belong to the government, but also using the money realized to create new infrastructure project. And this process of selling old infrastructure project, that is monetizing old infrastructure project, and then parking that money or putting that money into the new infrastructure project was nothing but the process of asset recycling. So asset recycling was the core concept which was used in the nationalization pipeline. Then government last year came up with national logistic policy, and the purpose was very simple, so as to reduce the logistic cost in India. Now, some of the private studies says that in India logistic cost is somewhere around 14 to 18% of the GDP, and government said that we will reduce it through this national logistic policy, we will reduce it to around international benchmark of 8%. So this was the purpose of national logistic policy, because if we have to make our economy competitive, if we have to make our economy competitive, especially not only in the domestic sector but also from national perspective, then we have to reduce the cost of logistics sector in India, and to reduce the cost of logistics sector in India, building of infrastructure is very important. Now, next big thing that happened for the same time period was PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan. This is something which has already been asked in the last year means PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan, and this question was asked in GS paper 2, that is for political governance. Because what happens in PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan, all the departments, ministries, all the institutions, government institutions, all which are dealing with the infrastructure space are coming under one platform, are coming under one umbrella. So that is a proper intersectoral, interministerial, interdepartmental coordination. And not only that, also the coordination between the states and center for infrastructure related projects. And this last one, that is the coordination between state and center for infrastructure related projects. This perspective was asked by the UPSC in GS paper 2, and they asked this PM Gati Shakti National Master Plan from the perspective of federalism, what the implication it has for federalism. Now the last one is the National Bank for Financing Infrastructure Development. In fact, you can say this is something the most important one, because it is ensuring the financing of infrastructure. Now, if you go into the economic section of IU's example, IAS app, within the current economic themes, you will find a dedicated lecture on this particular institution, National Bank for Financing Infrastructure Development, which is nothing but the DFI, principal DFI of India, principal development financing institution of India, because there is something called asset liability mismatch. So, for example, in infrastructure, as I told you, money is required for long time period, whereas usually in India, this infrastructure financing is being done by commercial banks, and these commercial banks are having short-term liabilities. So, short-term liabilities are supporting long-term assets. So, this is something which is called asset liability mismatch. And to do away with this asset liability mismatch, to do away with ALMs, that is asset liability mismatch risk, government set up DFI, Development Financial Institution, so that these kind of institutions can bring in funding through long-term liabilities and then can support long-term assets. Okay, so this was the purpose of National Bank for Financing Infrastructure Development. So these are the principal steps which not over the last 1 year only, but over the last many years have been taken by the government for the support of physical infrastructure, or for the promotion of physical infrastructure. Now we can also read the kind of steps or the kind of developments that have been taking place in the infrastructure sector from sectoral wise. So for example, what is happening in road sector, what is happening in railway sector, ports, inland waterways, civil aviation, multimodal connectivity, and power sector. Now if you look at particularly the civil aviation, see in civil aviation the most important thing that is running is Uday Deshna Amnavi, so as to make the civil aviation as a sector much more accessible to the common people. Not only that, government is also developing many greenfield airports and air strips, so as to make the civil aviation market much more accessible, and also in a way to reduce logistic costs. So this is something which is also related to the logistic cost. Then steps have been taken in the port sector, especially if you look at the port sector, then around time taken by the ships to offload and then time taken by the ship to load the goods. That is something which is decreasing, and government is doing everything possible so as to reduce the turnaround time in the ports. Also, what the government is doing, government is digitizing most of the process, and this is something which is helping the government to reduce the TAD, that is turnaround time in ports. In the power sector, you can remember that we had a scheme in which started somewhere in 2015, which was called Ujjwala Discom Insurance, so as to reduce the burden of distribution companies in the states. If you see again in the power sector, again refer you, because in the economic sector nothing much substantial is given with respect to the power sector. But if you have to understand the issue of the power sector, then you can again go back to video in the current economic things, where electricity amendment bill 2021 has been discussed, and in that all the issues of the power sector, whatever is going to the power sector, have been discussed exhaustively. So if you want to have a sense of that, you can go to that particular video. I will redirect you, I advise you to go to that particular video. Now, two important sectors, roads and inland waterways. Let's see them also. Now, if you look at the developing digital infrastructure sector, especially roads, the first point is increase the construction of national highways for roads over time. Now, we know we have national highways, state highways, then we have rural roads, district roads, all these types of roads are there. Now, if you look at the national highway particularly, and if you read the news, you'll be able to get the idea that government is focusing too much on the construction of national highway. In fact, in the COVID time period, the per day construction allocation of national highway in terms of the number of kilometers is spiked heavily. Later on the next year, it decreased, but again, government has set an ambitious target so as to increase the number of kilometers of the national highway constructed per day. Then, if you look at the total budgetary support for investment in the sector has been increased in the last 4 years. That is for the construction of national highway. And NHAI, that is National Highway Authority of India, which comes under the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, has launched its Infrastructure Investment Trust in financial year 22, that is last year, not only to facilitate the monetization of roads, but also to attract foreign and domestic institutional investors to invest in the road sector. Now, what is this concept of InvIT? That is Infrastructure Investment Trust. It is similar to REITs, REITs. That is Real Estate Investment Trust. And both InvIT and REIT, that is Infrastructure Investment Trust and Real Estate Investment Trust, are very much similar to mutual funds. So, money is collected from individual subscriber of the units of InvITs and REITs, and then that money is invested in infrastructure related assets. So, for example, in InvITs infrastructure related assets, so once it can be national highway, and in Real Estate Investment Trust, it is invested in real estate projects. Okay, so that is the purpose. Now, if you see this particular figure which is given in the economic survey, it shows the same thing. That is, we are putting huge stress on the infrastructure, especially in the national highway within the road sector. Now, you'll see this cycle as national highway or road construction has increased since 2016, hitting unprecedented levels in 2022. That is the peak time period of COVID. That is what something I was telling you. So, you see this particular first figure in kilometers. In y-axis, they are given us, that is the kilometers of the national highway that has been constructed in these years, which are given the x-axis. So, you can see in 2016 around 6,000 kilometers, in 2016 around 8,000, in 2018 around 10,000, then it's increasing. Then a blip was there in 2019-20, and then a significant increase. That's something just mentioned, a significant increase was there, and then again a drop down. And now government has set up, means in the next year government has set the new ambitious target for the construction of national highway. And the national highway constructed per day, that is the number of kilometers of national highway constructed per day, is now set up at more than 40 kilometers. So that is the kind of ambitious target that the government has set up. Now, let's look into the April to October 2021 and April to October 2022 time period. So here you see how much of the national highway is constructed, and they have again given this figure, we can compare it, but this is something which is much more important. Now let's see the another important sector, that is the inland water transport. Now, under the National Waterway Act 2016, 106 new waterway have been declared as national waterway. Earlier there were just 5 national waterway, and then when 106 were added, it became 111. 26 national waterway are viable for cargo movements having priorities. And the Inland Vessel Act 2021, which is amended the Inland Vessel Act 1970, is giving a new sucker, new push up to this inland water transport sector. If you look at this inland water transport sector, it is not that as significant in case of India as of now. But government want to promote this sector, especially because if you look at all other large economies, for example, US or China, the inland water transport plays a major role because it has some inherent benefits. So, for example, cost of transporting per kilometer through inland water transport is much lower as compared to the other modes of transport. Also, it is much more environmental friendly mode of transportation. So that's why, because of these two core benefits, government want to promote this particular sector of the transport, inland water transport. Because if you look at the cost of transporting of freight comes down, definitely it will reduce the logistic cost in the long term. So that's why government wants to promote this inland water transport sector. If you look at the navigable length of the waterway in different states, so this can be particularly important for the exams. And this is given that West Bengal has the largest navigable length of waterway in all these states. So West Bengal is something which is the largest one. It's around 4,500 kilometers, followed by Assam, Kerala, and Odisha. Okay. So these are the kind of initiatives that have been mentioned in the physical infrastructure part of this particular chapter, chapter number 12. Now, after looking into the physical infrastructure and the related initiative, now let's look into digital infrastructure, or rather digital public infrastructure, and the kind of initiative government has taken to promote this particular sector, that is digital infrastructure, digital public infrastructure, or DPI. We should say DPI, digital public infrastructure sector. Now, if you look at the kind of steps that government has been taking for the digital public infrastructure, now these steps that mentioned in the economic survey are not something which were taken last 1 year only. Rather, they are the steps in the process. So for the last 1 decade, these steps, the ground for these steps have been made. So for example, in India, the most important problem, and in fact the critical issue, firstly was telecom access. So after 1991 reforms, and then in the first decade of 2000, and then later on, in the second decade of 2000, that is in the 21st century, this telecom access issue was solved. So now telecom services are much more accessible. And these telecom services are something at the root, or are the foundation of all the digital public infrastructure. So unless your citizens don't have the accessible telecom services, accessible at a low cost, then you cannot think of any kind of digital public infrastructure. So this issue was solved. The next issue came of how to identify people. That is the issue of identity. So government brought in a project of UIDAI, Unique Identification Authority of India, and through that government brought in something called Aadhaar card. And this solved the issue of identity. So biometric and demographic information was seeded in an Aadhaar card, and all the citizens of the country were given this Aadhaar card with Aadhaar number, so that they can be distinctly identified. Then the other issue came is of payment. Government tried to solve it through UPI. It was a huge success. Then the issue came of credit, especially if you look at the MSME that we have already discussed, like how the government tried to solve the issue of credit to MSME, especially when it's related to working capital financing. So we have already discussed it was something called trade receivable discounting system that was brought in. Then how to allow people to access all the kind of schemes of the government. So government brought in something called My Scheme portal. Then government brought in something called Umang app. So various initiatives have been taken by the government over the last many years for building up of digital public infrastructure. And these initiatives have been mentioned in this particular chapter. Nothing more is there in this chapter. Just these initiatives have been offloaded here. Now let's look at the slides. What they are telling us? They are telling us something about synergy between the physical and digital infrastructure will be one of the defining features of India's future growth story. So if you have to grow sustainably for a long time period, then we not only need physical infrastructure but also combine it with digital infrastructure. Focus areas include availability of high-speed internet as a core utility for the delivery of services to citizens. That's why all this debate about 4G, 5G, and then now 6G discussions are on. Then unique digital identity, which forms the bedrock of all the kind of digital public infrastructure that we are building, and that is something called Aadhaar card. Then enabling citizen participation in digital financial space. So in the financial space, many kind of digital innovations have been tried, and we'll see some of them. Shareable private space on the public cloud. So for example, DigiLocker, where you can easily store your documents in the public cloud. Then safe and secure cyberspace. This is something which is very important if you have to build up a robust digital infrastructure. So this is something which is the background to the digital infrastructure or digital public infrastructure (DPI). Now let's look into the kind of initiatives that have been taken for the building of digital public infrastructure, and what are the kind of initiatives that have been mentioned in the economic survey. So My Scheme is the first one which is mentioned, and this is nothing but an e-marketplace scheme. If you want to know what are the kind of schemes which are there run by the government for you, then you can easily put some of your credential on this platform, My Scheme, and all these schemes which are somewhere related to you will be reflected in the platform that these are the schemes for which you are eligible from the government side. So this is something called My Scheme. Then Umang app, unified mobile app for new age governance, which is nothing but enabling citizens to access e-government services. So all the e-government services a citizen can access through this app, Umang app, which is a unified app, means super app of the government services. Then there is something called Open Network for Digital Commerce, and this is a step which the government has taken to revolutionize the digital commerce in India, especially supporting the small shopkeeper or small e-commerce retailer, but also taking into account the interest of the buyer. So both the buyer and the small retailer, and even the big retailer, all of them will benefit along with the platform providers. So all the platform providers which opt to come into ONDC will be getting benefited by large pool of customers. So what will happen in the ONDC? So usually, for example, if you take an example of app like Amazon. So in Amazon, there are buyers, people like me and you, and there are sellers. Those are listed in the platform or have some kind of association with the Amazon platform. So when you buy goods through the Amazon, we'll be able to see only those sellers which have association with the platform of Amazon. We'll not be able to see the goods of other sellers which are not somewhere listed in the Amazon platform. But if Amazon decides that Amazon is going to be on Open Network for Digital Commerce, which is built by the government, then if we go and buy something from Amazon and we search something that we need this particular thing from Amazon, then we'll be able to see not only the goods which are provided by the sellers which are listed in the Amazon platform, but also all the sellers which are listed on other platforms. So all of them will be able to see here. So suppose, for example, Flipkart, those sellers which will also be reflected here. So the consumer will have better choice. So as to opt from the sellers of Amazon and also from Flipkart. That is the basic or the core idea, very basic idea of the Open Network for Digital Commerce. So it is somewhere moving from the closed loop model, where only the buyers and sellers who are interacting in the Amazon platform, those buyers and sellers which are in association with this platform of Amazon, to an open loop model. That is, all the buyers and the sellers of all other platform will have access to each other. If this particular platform, Amazon or Flipkart, decides to onload themselves in the Open Network for Digital Commerce. Okay, that is the basic idea of ONDC. Now, if you want a detailed discussion of ONDC, again, I will direct and advise you to go to Economics, where we have discussed ONDC in particular only in much more detail. Okay, now then there is something called trade receivable discounting system. It is to facilitate the discounting of trade receivables of Amazon from corporate buyers. This I have already discussed in the chapter of industry, and I told you how TREDS operate. What are the kind of things that are there in the TREDS which helps the MSME or small MSMEs to solve the issue of working capital financing. So we have already discussed this in detail. Now there is something called Open, and Open is Open Credit Enablement Network, and this is again which people are saying will be acting as UPI of small credit. So for example, this is a problem in the credit market, especially when the credit is in small size. Now the problem is that the cost of small credit, or the cost of the credit is small size. So for example, 3 lakh or 5 lakh is too high for the person or the institution which is providing the credit. Now if the process is digitized, process of providing small credit is digitized, then we'll be able to reduce the cost of providing credit and also increase the access of credit to people who are needy, especially the small shopkeepers or MSMEs or the people from the lower ranks of the society who do not have that kind of access to the credit or people living far from areas. So if this whole process is digitized, then we'll be able to increase the access and we'll also be able to ensure the long-term inclusive growth of the economy. So that is what something is being done by Open Credit Enablement Network. It is democratizing the lending operation, ensuring that small borrowers avail of credit whenever need arises. Then there is something called UPI, and we know there is no kind of discussion that is required UPI, that is Unified Payment Interface, that is being steered by National Payment Corporation of India. And National Payment Corporation of India is a body which is being set up under Payment and Settlement System Act. Now, this is something which you should know, Payment and Settlement Systems, that is PSS Act of 2007. Now, this act gives statutory backing to National Payment Corporation of India. And National Payment Corporation of India has done phenomenal work in bringing up something called UPI, Unified Payment Interface, which has revolutionized the digital payment, boost digital payment in India. Now, then there is something called Account Aggregator. It is a framework that enables individuals to share their financial data quickly and securely. So, through Account Aggregator framework, individuals can share their financial data quickly. Now, if you look at the Account Aggregator or AA, when it works with Open, and in fact, in reality, it is working with Open. So, AA, which enables you to share your financial data, and then when combined with Open Credit Enablement Network, it can in fact revolutionize or transform the credit market in India. And this is something which is going to happen in the coming years. So, AA combined with Open, one, sharing your financial data quickly, and another, providing credit quickly on the basis of this financial data. So, this has the potential to revolutionize or transform the credit market in India, just like UPI has transformed the payment sector in India, payment system in India. The other initiative that Economic Service mention is Digital India Bhashini Portal to enable all Indians easy access to internet and digital services in their own language. So, Digital India Bhashini Portal is nothing but an AI tool of the government which can translate the text into various languages. Then, one other initiative they are mentioning is EUP. Now, EUP is nothing but a digital voucher. And it is very purpose specific. That is, if you want to send or provide some kind of subsidies or benefits to a particular person for a particular purpose, then you can use EUP. Again, this EUP is being steered by National Payment Corporation of India, and it uses the UPI infrastructure only. So these are the kind of initiatives that have been mentioned in the economic with respect to digital public infrastructure. So we are done with the physical infrastructure, digital infrastructure. We are done with the chapter number 12, and with this, we are also done with the discussion of the economic survey. Now we will take some of the questions of the economic survey. Chapter-wise, we will take some of the questions, some of the prelims question, and also give you some of the main question for which you have to write the answers. Okay, because those main question are important for the main examination. And you know that from the economic survey, there is a high possibility that question can be asked in the main exam. So what we have done, we have created some prelims question chapter-wise, and then one or two main questions will also be there chapter-wise. Okay, so that is the kind of discussion that we will be doing in the next video. So for chapter number 12 and the discussion of the chapters of the economic survey, the discussion is over.